Meet Han Song-hyun. He's a recluse with enough eye bags to carry groceries. The government checks in on him like he's a Suicide Watch NPC, but Seong-hyun is done with the outside world. People call him pathetic, a basement dweller, a complete L. But he's a victim of a world that went full main character syndrome. See, people started awakening powers, but there's a catch. The moment you get powers, you get forcibly snatched to another dimension. So, naturally, these people decided to commit as many crimes as possible in their last 24 hours on Earth. Song-hyun lost his family and his leg to one of these random arsonist bums. Now he just rots, wondering if life would be different if he wasn't so weak. Then, the screen pops up. He awakens a unique skill. The timer starts. 24 hours until he's sent to the meat grinder. He packs his bags, shaking like a leaf. He knows he's dead meat. He can't even walk without a crutch. How is he supposed to survive 10 years of monsters? He decides to test his skill. A blue clone of himself pops out. It's weird, it's dizzying, and it feels like he's playing a character with high lag. He realizes the skill is basically useless, unless the portal opens. Seong-hyun doesn't step in. He sends the clone instead. The system is confused, but it registers the avatar as him. The clone lands in the fantasy world of Auterica. Seong-hyun is seeing through its eyes, while his real body is safe at home. He shouts, "Cancel summon!" And just like that, he's back in his bathroom, throwing up his soul. But the system just got its brain fried. It thinks he traveled dimensions, completed a quest, and returned to Earth all on his own merit. The reward? 1.9 million karma. That's like winning the lottery because you forgot how to use a door. He's not complaining. He dumps points into recovery power. Blue light floods his body. The scars vanish. The bone mends. For the first time in 2 years, he stands up without help. He keeps going. He turns his room into a gym, buffing his stats until he's built like a Greek god. Then, he upgrades the avatar skill. He gets a new passive. He punches his own clone and feels absolutely nothing. No pain, no fear, just pure data. He realizes he can now control multiple clones at once. He needs names for his new workers. He looks at his desk and chooses the two most legendary warriors he knows, Hans Coffee and Heinz Ketchup. I'm not kidding. The author really named the Vanguard after condiments. He sends Hans back into the portal to finally start the main quest. Seong-hyun steps out of his apartment to throw away the trash. The Mind Hub filters out his social anxiety. He's finally free, while Hans lands in a dark, rainy forest. A shadow panther jumps out of the trees. In any other story, this is a life-or-death struggle. For Seong-hyun, it's a quick-time event. Hans takes a bite to the arm, but Seong-hyun just sighs because he can't feel a thing. He channels mana into his blade and cleaves the beast in half. Hans keeps walking until he finds a cozy-looking village. The village chief, Malcolm, welcomes him with open arms. He's impressed that a traveler survived the woods. He offers Hans a room and some drinks at the tavern. Back on Earth, Seong-hyun is tucked into bed, watching Hans fall asleep in the village. He's eating chicken, drinking a beer, and feeling bad for his clone who has to actually do the walking. He even has the second clone, Heinz, doing crunches in the corner to level up his durability. This is peak efficiency. He's the ultimate couch commander. But then, the vibe shifts. The screen turns blood red. Avatar dead. This is the ultimate gamer nightmare. You finally get your build together. You enter the tutorial village and the friendly old man who gave you a beer actually poisoned the drink. Seong-hyun is feeling the mental backlash. He was too careless. He treated this like a casual RPG. But then, something weird happens. The connection doesn't drop. He's seeing through a new perspective. He hears voices. It's Chief Malcolm and some underling, talking about him like he's yesterday's trash. And when the camera pans down, we see why. Hans isn't Hans anymore. He's a literal pile of bones in a hoodie. The system confirms it. Species changed to undead. Special skill acquired. Corrupted heart. Most people would be panicking about their lack of skin. Hans is just checking his stats. He looks around and realizes he's in a warehouse packed with the rest of the village. They didn't just kill him. They turned the entire population into a zombie storage unit. One of the cultists walks in, looking bored. This guy is a low-level necromancer, complaining about being stuck in the mountains. He notices Hans sitting up and stops dead. Hans is staring him down with empty eye sockets. The cultist tries to use a command spell. "Move over there!" Hans feels a tiny tug on his soul. It's like a toddler trying to pull a parked car. He decides to play along. If they think he's a mindless skeleton, he can scout the whole place. He follows the guy out, but his gamer brain is already calculating. He realizes the power they're using to control the undead is identical to how he controls his own avatar. With his magic affinity, he doesn't just feel the power, he understands the source code. He thinks, if they can control me, why can't I control them? 1 week later, Hans is sitting on a crate looking like he's about to drop the hardest emo album of the year. He's been practicing. He channels his mana, and another skeleton in the room starts twitching. It's working, but it's clumsy. The skeleton is moving like it's lagging on 500 ping. He can only handle one at a time. It's the limit of his current elite skeleton rank. Suddenly, a noise. A rat is chewing on his heel. Hans grabs it mid-bite. This little guy has been annoying him for the past week. But then he looks at it. Small, fast, unobtrusive. The perfect scout. He channels a spark of dark energy into the rodent. The rat squeaks one last time as the corruption takes hold. It dies. Then it wakes up. Eyes glowing red. Total obedience. He names him Alfred. Because every king needs a loyal butler, even if that butler is a zombie rat. Rats hear the night is a go. Alfred slips through a crack in the wall. He finds one of the necromancers, Zephy, heading to the main warehouse. The guy is carrying a key. Hans is watching everything through the rat's eyes. Alfred follows him inside. The air in the room is thick with purple miasma. It's so toxic even the hub is sending warnings. Hans knows if he gets too close, he's cooked. But he needs to see what's in the center. Outside, Zephy meets another guard. They're talking about maturation. Apparently the master has been in there every day. They think they're safe because of the barriers. Hans has heard enough. He's seen the artifact, the fragment of the immortal king. Alfred starts sniffing around for more intel, but a shadow looms over him. A boot comes down. It's Chief Malcolm. He's not smiling anymore. He picks up the dead rat and realizes it's filled with dark energy, but not his own. He figures it must have formed naturally from the leaks in the warehouse. He drops the rat and steps on it again, just to be sure. He calls the guards, demanding to know who was on duty. Back in the cell, Hans is vibrating with rage. You don't kill a man's rat. That's a mistake you only make once. The guards burst into the warehouse, looking for the leak. Zephy points at one of the zombie villagers sitting in line. He starts beating the undead man just to vent his frustration. He pulls the zombie up by his hair. He recognizes him. This was the village blacksmith. The guard mocks him, reminding him that he already ripped out his tongue. He throws the blacksmith's head against the floor. Hunting you guys down one by one was the most fun I've had in years, he says. He kicks the blacksmith toward a female zombie. Go be happy with your wife. Hans has seen enough. He doesn't care about optimal play right now. The blacksmith's jaw unhinges as a screech rips through the room. Every zombie in the warehouse stands up at the exact same time. Zephy panics, trying to cast a spell, but a pair of hands clamps over his mouth. It's the wife, and she's hungry. In the back of the room, one skeleton stands apart from the rest. Hans lights up his eye sockets. The revenge of the tutorial village begins now. At the village gate, a human traveler is causing a scene. It's Heinz, our guy's second avatar. He's demanding to see his twin brother, Hans. The guards are about to get violent when Chief Malcolm walks out. He looks at Heinz and sees a perfect physical specimen. Heinz gives him a smug smile. I know my brother is here. Inside the warehouse, skeleton Hans is literally beneath the floorboards. The distraction worked perfectly. All the heavy hitters are at the gate. Hans stands before the fragment of the immortal king. He can feel it. It's not just mana, it's a living consciousness of pure spite. The elite undead guards in the room start to wake up. These aren't village rejects. These are level-capped monsters. Hans looks at the fragment and makes the most main character decision possible. Let's see how this junk food tastes. He eats the crystal. Back at the gate, Heinz is still stalling, feeding Malcolm a fake story about twin intuition. The chief is amused. He's already planning how to turn this new guy into a super zombie. Then, Malcolm's face goes pale. The connection to the fragment just snapped. He screams for his guards to kill the intruder. Heinz doesn't even move, because a massive explosion just leveled the warehouse behind them. Inside the smoke, Hans is screaming. Millions of souls are trying to overwrite his personality. Kill everything. Hate the living. Even with Hup, the pressure is insane. A pillar of purple light erupts into the sky. The notification pops up. Evolution complete. Meet the new Hans, immortal mage, Demi-Lich. He just unlocked evil wisdom, absolute talent in dark magic. Jeffy, one of the elite necromancers, runs into the ruins to see what happened. He sees a skeleton in a cloak sitting on a throne of rubble. He tries to report back to the chief, telling him the warehouse is gone. He's shaking. He knows he's dead if he fails. Jeffy, do you hear me? A flash of light. A green, rotting hand reaches through the bars of a cell and grabs Jeffy's throat. Hans walks out of the shadows, surrounded by the resurrected villagers. The weather's nice today, isn't it? Jeffy is losing his mind. Undead aren't supposed to talk. They're tools. He tries to cast a spell to banish them, but Hans just waves a hand, and Jeffy's magic dissolves into smoke. The villagers swarm him. Hans walks past the screaming deadpan as ever. Ignoring a greeting hurts my feelings. He looks at his hand. He doesn't even need to study. He looks at a spell and he knows the counter curse instantly. He levels the entire sector of the village with a casual blast. Come forth, undead. He isn't just a survivor anymore. He's the general. The village is burning, and the cultists are becoming the very things they used to store in boxes. Chief Malcolm finally arrives, stepping over the bones of his underlings. He identifies himself, Marcos Giocali, Elder of the Vow of Defiance. Hans tilts his head. It's been a while, Chief. You remember me? Thanks to you, I lost my heart. Hans points to the purple glowing crystal inside his ribs. So I picked up a new one. Malcolm is livid. He spent a year maturing that fragment, and a lowly skeleton just ate it. He casts In of Death. A beam of pure necrotic energy tears through the ground toward Hans. Hans catches it with his bare hand. Old man, it's polite to wait until I'm done talking. Malcolm loses it. He pours every drop of mana into his next attack. He can't accept that his life's work resulted in a demi-lick he can't control. Massive spikes of obsidian erupt from the earth. Hans just sighs. That's like putting a high-tier enchantment on a beginner's club. He walks through the spikes like they're tall grass. Malcolm tries one last desperate spell, Ectoplasm. Hans dodges it casually. Announcing the skill name every time is seriously annoying. Malcolm realizes he's outclassed. He asks if Hans knew about the village from the start. Hans doesn't answer. He's already behind him. He slams his hand into Malcolm's back. The chief feels his mana being sucked out. Hans is adapting to his magic in real time. Malcolm plays his trump card. In the center of the village, the remaining dark mages scream. Their bodies turn to purple smoke. Their souls are being forcibly drained to power up the chief. A crown of dark energy forms above Malcolm's head. The Round of the Broken! He's sacrificing his entire cult for one shot at survival. Hans watches the mages wither away. Malcolm gathers a massive sphere of soul flame. He fires. Hans stands there, looks at the explosion, and checks his watch. He licks his teeth, or his lack of them. Thanks for the lesson. Malcolm looks down. There's a hole where his chest used to be. He collapses into the dirt. Futile. Hans looks up at the moon. Rest in peace, Alfred. Cut to a different part of the continent. A massive white cathedral. A woman with silver hair stops mid-prayer. Her eyes widen. Bishop Martin runs in, asking what happened. She's trembling. This is Saint Restar, and she has a message for the world. The signature of the Immortal King has been detected in the west. The bishop panics. The meeting of the High Council is called immediately. The Immortal King, the one who nearly destroyed the world hundreds of years ago. The saintess stares out the window, her golden eyes glowing with resolve. I won't let it happen again. The dust is settling. Our guy is looking at the wreckage of the village and thinking like a true gamer. If your troops are wiped out, you just go find more corpses. But first, Hans has a slight missing limb problem. He finds a spare arm on the ground. Gamer logic. If it fits, it sits. He activates super recovery and the new bone snaps right into the socket. Good as new. Now, time to start the recruitment drive. He stands over the body of the village chief. He tries to use wicked wisdom to bring the old man back as a high-tier thrall. He's channeling the fragment's power, trying to scrape together whatever fragments of the guy's ego are left. And nothing. The casting fails. The village zombies are just standing there, buffering. Hans is confused. He's getting the hang of the mechanics, but the chief isn't responding. He checks the body again. Wait. The old man doesn't have a soul. There's a magic circle etched into his skin, a security measure. Someone artificially extracted his soul the moment he died. Basically, the master the chief was working for had a kill switch to prevent data leaks. Whatever. Hans doesn't need his memories. He just needs his stats. He gathers the remaining thoughts and plants a new ego. Boom. The Death Wizard is born. A skeleton with a beard. You love to see it. Hans tests the loyalty with a quick slap to the skull. The chief doesn't remember his life, but Hans is still going to treat him like a punching bag for what he did. Hey, Malcolm. Hans notices the chief's old staff. That's mine now. He looks at one more zombie, the young guy who helped him earlier. He can't bring them all back. He gives the kid one final gesture of respect. Then he burns the whole place to the ground. No evidence, no problem. Back on Earth, Seong Hyun is finishing his own meal. He's checking the price of gold on his phone. The village was a gold mine. Literally. Warlocks always have the best loot. He decides to test the limits of his skill. He tries to summon Hans directly into his living room. The air starts cracking. The pressure is too much. He cancels the summon before his apartment implodes. Bringing a demi-lich to Earth is a bit much for a level 1 apartment. He opens the karma shop. He's sitting on nearly 800,000 points now. He buys an upgrade for his unique skill, and he picks up a new passive. It protects his mind from mental attacks and external stimuli, which is perfect, because now he can stand next to Hans without feeling like his soul is melting. He starts bagging the gold bars. Time to go make some real-world gains. He drops a bag of gold coins on a jeweler's counter like it's nothing. The jeweler looks like he just saw a miracle. Song Hyun just wants it in his bank account. As he leaves, he realizes he can hide Hans in his shadow using dark magic. He even puts a traditional mask on him just in case he has to summon him in public. He thinks he's in the clear until a literal werewolf smashes through a storefront right in front of him. A group of villains, awakened criminals, just hit the jackpot. They're making a run for it with bags of loot. The werewolf is their muscle. Song Hyun is just a civilian in their way. These guys are the bottom of the barrel, using powers to rob people. Song Hyun has a choice. The werewolf hits him with a shockwave that levels the street. He takes a punch to the face. He's bleeding. He's on the ground. The internal monologue is dark. He's thinking about how he can't do anything. The villains think they have 3 minutes before the Guardians arrive. They're laughing. They're heading for a portal. They find their getaway driver, Portal, unconscious on the floor. The werewolf stops. A shadow is standing in the middle of the room. Song Hyun might not be able to do anything personally, but he's not alone anymore. Hans is out of the shadow. While our guy is out for a stroll, the local authorities finally decide to show up. Meet the Guardians of the South Korea Returners Association. They arrive ready for a boss fight, only to find the scene looking like the aftermath of a natural disaster. The werewolf is out cold, looking less like a threat and more like a rug. The ninja is currently reconsidering all his life choices. The Guardians are scrambling, trying to find the mysterious hero who did their job for them. Too late. The hero is already a shadow in the distance. Specifically, Hans is back in the shadow, and Seong Hyun is just a guy walking home. He looks like he just finished a light gym session. Turns out, using a demi-lick to process your trauma is actually great for the mental health. But enough about Earth. It's time for the tank to make his debut. Meet Heinz. Seong Hyun's second avatar, currently spec'd entirely into "I can't believe I'm not dead yet" stats. He's following the intel he got from Malcolm, that old necromancer he turned into a servant. The destination is a town that actually looks civilized for once. Clean streets, nice buildings, no immediate piles of skulls. But there's a vibe. That specific video game vibe where the town is too quiet. No guards at the gates, no checks, no one asking for ID. Heinz isn't the only one noticing something is wrong. He rounds a corner and finds the local flavor, the classic pay up or else scenario, involving a couple of thugs and a kid. Song Hyun's initial thought? What a tiring cliche. Not my problem. He tries to walk past, but the universe decides he's participating in this quest whether he likes it or not. The girl, Diana, bumps right into him while apologizing to the bald guys. Heinz looks down at her and realizes he actually does need a guide for this weirdly empty town. He pulls out 2 silver coins, the exact amount she owes the thugs. Just like that, he's not just a tourist, he's an employer. Diana is thrilled. She's found a literal silver lining in her day. She starts dumping the backstory. Dead parents, sick sibling, struggling to survive. Heinz just nods. He's heard this NPC dialogue before. He checks into an inn and tries to get some rest, feeling like a good person even if he's getting ripped off on the guide fee. Night falls over the town of Azanthu. Heinz is currently fighting the real final boss of this world, a terrible mattress. Then he hears a sneeze coming from right outside his window. He looks down to find Diana just sitting there. She's been waiting for him since dawn because she's that dedicated to the job. Heinz tells her to go get some actual sleep and meet him at lunch. Then he watches her eat like she hasn't seen food in a week. He lets her finish his bread. He's a billionaire on Earth, he can afford the extra carbs. Diana smiles, and for a second the story feels like a wholesome slice of life anime. Then the world building gets real. As they walk through the town, Heinz starts noticing the decorations on the walls. It's a symbol, a mouth with fangs. And it's not painted with red ink, it's dried blood. Heinz stops. He can smell it. Actually, he can smell everything, including exactly what Diana had for dinner yesterday. Diana explains the symbol belongs to Varkalak, the group that runs the town. Suddenly, she stops dead in her tracks. Her nose twitches. She's got a sense of smell that puts a bloodhound to shame. Her face goes pale. She claims it's just the smell of freshly baked bread. She runs off to get some, but Heinz is watching her back. Something is shifting in the shadows of the alleyways. A trail of blood leads into a doorway that wasn't there a second ago. A few days pass. Everything seems fine, except it's clearly not. Heinz is waiting at their meeting spot, but Diana is late. She's never late. Instead of the girl, the Varkalak thugs show up to greet him. Heinz plays it cool. He hands over some silver to help the public order. He's buying information. He notices the fangs tattooed on the bald guy's neck. He remembers Diana's warning, don't lurk in the back alleys. As the thugs walk away, he overhears them laughing about a little kid they just captured. Every red flag in his head just went off at once. He stops them. The passive player mode is off. He checks his menu. He's ready to cancel the summon if things get too spicy, but for now, he's going in. He demands to know about the kid. The thugs turn around looking like they just found a new donation. They think they're the predators here. Heinz puts on a fake nervous smile and asks if the silver he gave them was enough. Diana appears, running toward him, crying her eyes out. She tells him the news. Her little brother, Aaron, he's gone. Heinz looks at the thugs. The little kid they were talking about. He realizes the Varkalak isn't just a gang. He tells Diana he'll pay the ransom, but she stops him. Horror beat. It's not about money. She explains the truth about Azanthu. It's a food storage for vampires. Somewhere above the town, a figure in a cape is watching. He has long silver hair, red eyes, and a thirst that silver coins can't fix. Our guy just wanted a guide, and he walked into a literal blood farm. Diana is a mess. She knows that once someone is taken by Varkalak, they don't come back. She's been working herself to the bone just to keep her sister and brother alive, and now the cattle are being harvested. Heinz grabs her shoulders. No more crying. He asks for the location. Diana can't believe it. This mister is actually going to fight? Heinz gives her that specific grin. The I'm about to exploit the game mechanics look. Save the NPC is officially active. We cut to the thugs' hideout. They're gambling with the silver Heinz gave them. The door opens. The outsider is back. The bald guy thinks this is a sequel to the shakedown. He starts talking trash about how the guards must have let him in for a price. Heinz doesn't waste time. He asks for the kid. The thug laughs. He thinks the durability avatar is just a punching bag. Heinz moves. Steel hits flesh. He's done being the nice guy. He looks at them like they're the trash they are. 1 down, 2 to go. The thugs realize this isn't a payout, it's an execution. Heinz activates his passives, toughness and rapid recovery. He's not dodging, he's tanking everything. A thug stabs him right in the side, and the blade doesn't even break the skin. Heinz punches him. He casually mentions his gear, a Korean-made anti-kickbox suit. The thugs are bringing knives to a modern body armor fight. It's not even fair. One of them tries a magic artifact, a blue barrier shield. Heinz stabs right through it. He brought his own magical items, from a modern billionaire's budget. He sighs. He didn't even use half the stuff in his inventory. The rest of the gang comes pouring down the stairs. It's a mosh pit, and Heinz is the only one with a ticket. 6, 7, 8. He's counting them off like he's doing chores. He actually loses count because there are so many. He pins the leader to the ground with a boot to the face. Where is the boy? The thug tries the "you'll regret this" speech. He says the master is coming. Heinz thanks him for the info and puts him to sleep permanently. He finds the cellar, finds the kid, Aaron. The boy is curled in a corner, waiting to become a meal. Heinz kneels. Your sister sent me. He's ready to leave, but the vibe in the room changes. A bat flies through the window. A pale hand with claws reaches out from the mist. The vampire lord has entered the chat. He's looking at Heinz with pure disgust, calling him food that's messing with his restaurant. Heinz tries the "I'm just a guy who got extorted" defense. The vampire isn't buying it. He creates a sphere of blood. He tells Heinz he can die now. Heinz grabs Aaron and dives. The blood attack shatters the floor. The impact is massive. Heinz is shielding the kid with his own body. They land in the brewery area. Everything is covered in spilled beer. The vampire is actually impressed. Most humans are dead by now. He starts moving with that "I'm a boss" fight speed. He's enjoying the warm-up. Heinz tells Aaron to run and not look back. Steel meets claws. The vampire is too fast. He rips through Heinz's shoulder. The difference in raw stats is too high. Heinz's toughness is good, but the vampire is a higher tier. The vampire licks the blood off his fingers, calling Heinz a delicacy. Heinz is struggling to stay up. He knows if the vampire gets serious, the avatar is toast. The vampire grabs him. He's ready to debone him before eating. He tells Heinz that resistance is pointless. He leans in for the kill, and that's when he notices something in Heinz's mouth. A grin, and a small, glowing red bead. It's a fire magic tool. Heinz remembers the spilled alcohol on the floor. He had it in his back pocket the whole time. He grabs the vampire and pulls him close. The madman play. He headbutts the vampire. You said I was a tough delicacy, right? Well, I'm a spicy one! He bites down on the tool. The vampire's eyes go wide. He realizes too late that the whole room is a powder keg. The brewery is currently a very expensive bonfire. And Heinz? Yeah, he's still standing in the middle of it. Turns out being too sturdy is a double-edged sword. He's alive, but he's basically a charcoal briquette at this point. Help the unfortunate girl is technically a success, but the cost was one entire human avatar. Diana is outside hugging her brother, watching the building melt, probably thinking her hero just became a permanent part of the architecture. The system confirms it. Avatar Heinz has left the chat. 7-day respawn timer starts now. Back on Earth, Song-hyun isn't even sweating it. He's just cleaning his shoes. The gold he looted earlier is already turning into a mountain of cash, but he can't leave Diana hanging for a week. She's his best source of intel. Time for a new build. Diana is at a tavern, looking depressed, when a familiar face walks in. She tackles him with a hug before he can even sit down. Our guy just laughs it off. Did I look like I'd go down that easily? Yes, actually. You literally died. The author just gave him a new game plus. Seong-hyun realizes he can't wait for the respawn, so he just burns some karma to spawn a third avatar. Meet Heinz the 2. Same face, new flavor. This one is spec'd into acceleration. He's basically traded his HP bar for a turbocharger. He's worried Diana might notice the vibe shift, but she's just happy he's not a pile of ash. She closes her eyes and smiles. She says the scent of his soul is the same. That is a very specific, high-tier tracking skill she's got there. File that one away. She warns him that the vampires are going to be hunting him for the brewery incident. Heinz II just pats her head. He's got it all figured out. With Hans the Demilich chilling in his shadow, these vampires are just extra XP waiting to happen. He checks his menu. 10 days until he can transfer items between worlds again. It's a bit of a wait, but he's got time. Or so he thought. A hand grabs his throat from behind. Lord Weirach has entered the room. He didn't even wait for a dramatic entrance. The silver-haired pureblood isn't happy about his murdered underlings. He looks at Heinz like a gourmet chef looking at a piece of frozen steak. Heinz can't move. The stat check here is absolutely brutal. Weirach sniffs him. He's confused because Heinz doesn't smell like a normal human, but he definitely isn't a vampire. Heinz plays the "I was just sleeping" card. It fails immediately. Weirach smiles. He bites down. Hard. He tells Heinz he won't be able to lie now. Our guy is panicking. Getting turned into a vampire wasn't exactly in the walkthrough. The system glitch kicks in. Race value. Change to vampire. He acquires Blood Remnant. He's officially part of the Fanged Club. Weirach activates his authority. It's an aura that forces lower vampires to submit. Heinz feels his blood literally screaming at him to kneel. But then, he remembers who he is. Mind Hub is acting as a filter, deleting the submissive instinct like a spam email. Weirach thinks he's successfully broken him. He tells Heinz to follow him. Heinz II just grins. He's got a VIP pass to the vampire headquarters now. They arrive at the Azanthu Branch HQ. It looks like a gothic mansion with an electricity bill that's definitely too high. The other vampires are gossiping about Weirach's new bloodling. They're calling him a lowly creature, disrespecting the MC in his own recap. Bold move. A girl named Rosilica stumbles over, looking like she's had 3 bottles of typo negative. She's the drunk aunt of the clan. She thinks Heinz is cute. She offers him a glass of freshly squeezed. Heinz has to drink it to keep the cover. The second it hits his tongue, his instincts go haywire. The vampire race value is trying to take over. He has to manually block his sense of taste and smell just to finish the glass. Rosilica is impressed. Most new bloodlings can't handle the vintage stuff. Heinz asks her about the hierarchy. He's fishing for the meta. She explains the latter. Bloodlings are the grunts. Purebloods like Weirach are the nobles. True bloods are the royalty. And then there are the sacred bloods, the progenitors, basically the gods of this world. The party is interrupted by Weirach stepping onto the balcony. Business time. He announces that the fragment of the Undying King is missing. Meet Pirita. She looks like she's about to start a fashion blog, but she's a pureblood. And Tiapol. He's the muscle. They're both freaking out because the fragment vanished without a trace. Heinz is standing in the crowd, listening to them describe exactly what Hans stole. He realizes the vampires were the ones working with the Oath of Heaven reversal mages. The meeting ends with a search order. They're going to tear the city apart. Heinz and Rosilica head out into the daylight. The sun is frying their skin. Rosilica is complaining like a gamer forced to go outside. Then she drops a bomb. She mentions our fragment. Heinz stops. Wait, you guys have another one? She lets it slip. They have a second fragment, and they were planning to fuse it with the one Hans took. Heinz realizes the opportunity. The purebloods are out searching, leaving their own fragment vulnerable. He asks where it is. Rosilica laughs. She's just a grunt, she doesn't know the coordinates. But someone else does. Heinz meets back up with Diana at the tavern. She looks him dead in the eye and says, I think I know where it is. Song-Hyun almost drops his controller. Diana is proving to be the MVP of this arc. She used to clean the tombs a year ago. She saw the Varkalak goons visiting a specific stone chamber every Friday. She says there was a terrible and evil smell coming from inside. That's the dark mana. She's been warning her brother to stay away for months. Heinz tells them to stay hidden. He's going in solo. The kid grabs his sleeve. Hey, uncle! Diana leans in. She whispers that his smell is different. Heinz flashes his new fangs. Well, that's how it turned out. Diana's face is a core memory of pure shock. She gets serious. She grabs his arm and offers him her blood if he gets hungry during the fight. She's terrified, but she's willing to let him eat her just so he survives. Heinz just gives her a no-horny bonk on the head. That's enough. Just tell me where the chamber is. We cut to the graveyard. The air is thick with screaming. Inside the chamber, Lord Tiapol is bored. He's currently playing with a human sacrifice. The guy is covered in blood, holding a sword like his life depends on it, because it does. Tiapol gives him the classic villain deal. Hit me once, and I'll let you go. The guy lunges, total despair in his eyes. He swings with everything he's got. Tiapol doesn't even move. He just manipulates the blood in the air. The guy is wrapped in red tendrils before the sword can even touch a hair. It looks like a scene out of a horror movie. The tendrils enter his eyes and mouth. In seconds, the man is a shriveled husk. Tiapol calls it boring. He tells his servants to bring a sturdier one. He's trying to power up the fragment. The servants move to grab the body, but a shadow at the door stops them. Suddenly, the room is full of bones. Skeletons are pouring through the gates like a Black Friday sale. Tiapol is confused. How did these filthy corpses get in here? Hans, the demi-lich, is leading the charge. He unleashes a wave of dark spikes that tears the servants apart. Tiapol assumes Hans is a necromancer from the Vow of Defiance. He demands to know how Hans found this place. Hans doesn't talk. He just starts charging a purple fireball. Tiapol loses his patience. "I'll ask your head after I rip it off!" He lunges. He's a pureblood, so his speed is insane. He cleaves through the skeletons like they're wet paper. Bones are flying everywhere, but Hans is just standing there, cold and unmoving. He summons more bones from the floor. Tiapol realizes this isn't a normal skeleton. Dark hands reach out from the shadows and grab Tiapol's ankles. Outside, Wirok's underlings are arriving to help. One of them enters the chamber to support Tiapol. He tells Tiapol to stall for reinforcements. Tiapol agrees, but then he feels a sharp pain in his neck. It's the underling, Heinz II. He's biting his own teammate. Heinz isn't just biting, he's draining. Tiapol realizes the truth. The bloodling and the demi-leek are on the same team. He screams at Heinz to stop. Drinking the blood of your own kind is a grave sin that taints the mind. Heinz just lets the body drop. Mind tainting? That doesn't work on me. I have Mind Hub. The system pings. Heinz inherits the blood and acquires blood magic. He looks at the blood barrier guarding the fragment. He doesn't have time to unlock it properly, so he's going for the force quit method. He smashes the entire altar. The dust clears. Hans is looking down into the pit. There it is, the second shard of the Immortal King. Hans reaches out his skeletal hand. The moment he touches it, the room explodes in purple light. The negative energy is overwhelming. Even with Mindhub, Song-hyun feels the strain. He funnels every ounce of his mental power into Hans. Outside, Wirak and the other purebloods arrive just in time to see the stone chamber erupt. Wirak looks terrified. "Am I too late?" A figure rises from the smoke. The vampires try a coordinated blood strike. They hit the target dead center. But the figure doesn't fall. It just stands there, glowing with blue and purple fire. It unleashes a shockwave of dark mana that sends the purebloods flying back. Wirak stares up, shaking. He recognizes that pressure. The system screen is going crazy. Regeneration has evolved into immortality. Hans is gone. In his place stands an Archlich. The surge of dark mana from Hans's evolution is so loud it's basically a flare gun for every paladin in a 50-mile radius. Outside the city, the local paladin scouts stop their horses. The air is literally turning into ash. The lead scout realizes this isn't a forest fire. It's something much worse. He orders a retreat back to the cathedral. The Saintess needs to hear about this immediately. Back at the tomb, the vibe has shifted from dungeon crawl to endgame raid. The vampires realize the Immortal King isn't just coming back, he's already here. Lord Wirak is staring at Hans, realizing the skeleton just got a 10 times multiplier to its power level. System check, Hans is now an Archlich. With evil wisdom and forbidden knowledge, he's basically a walking Wikipedia for every dark spell ever written. He's inherited every secret of the Immortal King. He's not a summon anymore, he's a disaster. Hans raises a hand, and the shadows in the room start to have a life of their own. Wirak is panicking, trying to figure out if this is a trick or a smokescreen. One of his pureblood underlings suggests a tactical retreat. Bad suggestion. A shadow hand snatches him mid-sentence. Wirak realizes he's trapped in a room with a being that treats purebloods like snacks. He tries to fight back, but the dark mana is pinning him to the wall. Hans looks at him with zero emotion. He tells Wirak that right now, he's nothing more than a blood bag for his other avatar. Wirak is losing his mind, wondering how a skeleton can endure that much malice. The answer? Our guy isn't alone. He's got multiple brains processing the load. Heinz II steps out of the shadows to finish the meal. The system pings, Heinz has met the conditions. Rank up. He's a pureblood now. He looks at the remaining vampires like a guy looking at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Outside the city, the vampire survivors are fleeing. Rosilica is crying, realizing that their invincible Lord Wirak just got deleted. Pirita, the female pureblood, is analyzing the remnants. The power gap was just too wide. They decide to head back to the main base for reinforcements. Little do they know, they're just leading the MC to the next boss. Back in the city, another survivor is trying to make a run for it. He's cursing the vampires for being weak and getting wiped out so fast. He thinks he's safe. He thinks he's far enough away. Then a skeletal hand taps him on the shoulder. One scream later, and the city of Azanthu is officially under new management. While Hans is busy cleaning up the trash, Heinz is playing the role of the Good Samaritan. He's hired a merchant group to escort Diana and Aaron out of the death trap. He's currently at a campfire, seasoning a steak like he's on a cooking show. The kids are loving it. It's the first time they've smiled since the vampires took over. Heinz watches them eat, feeling a weird sense of satisfaction. He asks about their uncle in Eastern Lapellis. Diana is worried their uncle won't want 2 more mouths to feed. Heinz just shrugs. If the uncle says no, he'll just drop a hefty amount of child support and make it a yes. Our guy realizes he's actually getting fond of these two NPCs. Diana stops eating and looks at him with those big green eyes. She asks if he's okay, or if he's low on blood. Hines just laughs. "I've already eaten my fill." Yeah, he ate the entire local vampire government. He's full for the week. Back in the city, Hans is grinding. He's using his new subspace skill to store corpses like a twisted game of Tetris. Seong-hyun is already theory crafting. If he can open subspace in Auterica, can he do it on Earth? The grind is interrupted. A circle of blood magic surrounds the room. Something heavy hits the floor. A new player has entered the lobby. Meet Ovore Varkoslak. He's a true blood, and he's got that "I'm the main character of a different anime" vibe. He thinks Hans is part of the vow of defiance. Hans just rolls with it. Sure, let's go with that. Ovor pulls out a massive red scythe. He's not here for a chat. He's here for the fragment. The scythe splits the air, missing Hans by an inch. Hans dodges, realizing this kid is on a completely different level than the purebloods. The speed gap is real. Hans admits that a true blood is actually a challenge. Ovor activates a secondary blood barrier. He's locking the room down. He tells Hans he's going to personally extract the fragment from his skull. Hans checks his mana. He could break out, but he's still getting used to the Archlich controls. Ovor lunges again. Hans puts on his best villain voice. He's really leaning into the roleplay now. "I may retreat for now." He calls it the villain's trademark dramatic exit. Hans vanishes into pixels. Ovor is left standing in an empty room looking like an idiot. His guards are confused. What did he just say? That was seriously lame. Ovor is fuming, but he doesn't have time to be mad. A silver arrow pierces the chest of one of his guards. The paladins are here. An entire army of the Church of Supreme God is closing in. Ovor realizes he's been bait. Hans didn't just run away, he timed his exit perfectly to let the good guys clean up the bad guys. Ovor vows to kill Hans, but he's currently got 1,000 paladins to deal with first. Our guy is currently replaying his villain speech in his head, and the secondhand cringe is hitting him like a physical truck. He's literally rolling around on his bed, wondering if he's losing his mind. But then he stops. He did just solo a vampire clan and save a city. He's starting to feel like a hero, even if he speaks like a chunibyu. Hans is back in the shadow, probably judging him. Time to check the loot. Seong-hyun opens the karma shop. 700,000 karma points? The system rewarded him massively for causing discord among the factions. Apparently, being a professional hater is a viable build. He decides to dump the points into his unique skill. The avatar limit increases again. But that's not the big one. New skill, unlocked. Persona. Song-hyun reads the description and goes quiet. A skill that uses a vessel to contain one's emotions. The system is growing in the direction the user needs. He realizes why he got this. In Auterica, he's building connections, cooking steaks, and acting like a human. But in reality, he's still the same kid who's been cooped up in a dark room for 2 years. He's been treating his life like a game to avoid the fact that it's real. The isolation, the trauma of losing his family, it's all still there, just buried. He looks at his reflection. He's been avoiding reality by living through his avatars. He decides to use the skill. He looks at Hans. He transfers all his stagnant, rotting feelings of loneliness and anger into the Archlich. Blue energy flows out of his chest and into the skeleton. For the first time in years, he feels refreshing. The emotions haven't disappeared, they're just in a drawer. Hans speaks. His voice is different now. "Pain and despair are my companions. They don't bother me." Seong-hyun realizes the tone of his avatars is changing. When an avatar is filled with specific emotions, it gains its own personality. He's created a literal shadow self. A sudden explosion shakes the apartment building. Seong-hyun runs to the window. The city is on fire. Again. His first instinct is to pull the curtains and let the guardians handle it. Not my problem. Then Hans speaks from the shadows. "Do you need a reason to eradicate evil?" Song-hyun stares at his avatar. He realizes his avoidance is just a lack of courage. He wants to hunt these villains more than anyone. He's just been making excuses. As the world descends into chaos, lawless people are rampaging. Song-hyun puts on a mask. "Now, I will become their law." We cut to a back alley. A group of thugs is celebrating a terror attack. They're laughing about the lack of police reinforcements. A voice comes from above. Unfortunately, this situation has already come to an end. A blue eye opens in the darkness. Song-hyun, dressed in a tattered coat and mask, releases his eyes in the darkness. Dozens of spectral eyes fly through the city streets. In another alley, a thug is using a human ashtray. He's burning a defenseless man while his friends laugh. A blue eye floats behind him. Elsewhere, a mother and daughter are cornered. A thug is about to attack with a belt. He tells them not to lie about where they hid their money. A crowbar smashes through a window. A masked man steps into a grocery store being looted. The thief thinks he's got a full bag of loot. "I can see everything." Our guy is moving like a ghost. He grabs a thug by the throat. "Your punishment will be trauma." He's not killing them. He's engraving fear into their very souls. He looks the lead thug in the eye. "When your evil sprouts once again, you will meet me in the darkness." The thugs scream as they're tossed through the air. Seong-hyun is breathing heavy. He's getting accustomed to this power. He releases more eyes. He's tracking every crime in the district. "I will purify this city." Morning in Seoul. Our guy is finishing up his night shift as a self-appointed urban renewal project. The Eye of Darkness has been putting in work, but it's got one major flaw. The second the sun comes out, it evaporates like a gamer's social life. He needs a tracking system that doesn't quit at sunrise. He looks at some pigeons and considers making them minions, which is honestly a terrifying thought. A pigeon that's always watching you? That's just standard bird behavior, but now he can actually see through their eyes. He's found the new meta. Back in Out Erica, Hans is doing some R&D. He's researching familiars, dark magic enslavement for animals. He's currently covered in birds like a skeletal Disney princess. The problem is, the spell isn't sticking. If the magic is too strong, the animal dies. If it's too weak, they don't follow orders. Every programmer watching this just felt a physical pain in their chest. He tests it on a black cat. The cat turns into a multi-eyed nightmare and runs off. 3 weeks of research, and he's still debugging the animals. He tries one last bird. The blue energy finally settles. The bird doesn't explode. Progress. It looks normal on the outside, but it's got that red-eyed, "I work for a lich" energy. Now he just needs to see if the infection spreads. One touch from the familiar, and the other birds go red. Success. He's created a viral surveillance network. He sends them out to find his enemies. Meanwhile, the Paladin Order is actually doing their job for once. Archbishop Ladius is looking at a memory of Hans's "I am your death" speech. Sir Tuscan arrives with the interrogation report. Turns out the vampires weren't allies of the Lich, they were just the appetizers. Ladius is worried. The immortal king's presence is growing too fast. He pulls out a glowing holy artifact. The saintess herself is on the line. She's tracked the Lich to a cave in the northwest. Ladius vows to meet her expectations, which usually means someone is getting smited. Back at the cave, Hans is waiting for a signal. His familiars are supposed to ping him when they see a monster, but the feed is weird. The birds are flying away from something. They're scared. An entire battalion of paladins is charging the cave. Hans realizes he's been ambushed. They manage to hide their presence until they were right on his doorstep. An arrow takes out one of his bird cameras. Sir Tuscan steps out of the brush, calling out Hans by name. He tells the Lich that no evil can escape the gaze of the divine. Tuscan draws his sword, and the thing is glowing like a lightsaber. Hans recognizes the emblem from his vampire hunting days. Divine power is the hard counter to dark magic. This is going to be a Souls-like difficulty spike. Tuscan lunges. The impact sends a shockwave through the cave. He's not interested in a villain monologue. He just wants the kill. Hans calls him narrow-minded, but he's actually thinking about his escape route. He tries to push back with dark magic. Tuscan scoffs. Clumsy tricks. The paladin is a messenger of God, which in gamer terms means he has 100% holy resistance. Tuscan's blade pierces right through Hans's ribs. He tells the Lich that laying hands on forbidden power was his last mistake. He raises his fist for a finishing blow. Hans realizes his magic is being interfered with. Something unpleasant is jamming his mana. The paladin priests show up at the cave entrance. They start the hymn that's draining Hans's strength. He could kill the priests to stop the song, but he's still got that "don't harm the innocent" moral code holding him back. Low. He looks at the choir members. Tuscan doesn't give him room to think. He stabs him again. The priests throw out holy silver chains. They wrap around Hans's arms and neck. Hans admits he let his guard down. He's pinned. The Arch-Lich is officially in bondage. He can't move, can't use magic, and he's being serenaded by a choir that wants him dead. The paladins put an insane amount of effort into this capture. Tuscan looks down at him, satisfied. No evil has ever escaped this confinement. Famous last words. Hans realizes there's no room for negotiation. He tells them this is where they part ways. Tuscan readies another attack to end it. He thinks the Lich is bluffing. Hans vanishes into thin air, leaving the holy chains to hit the dirt. Tuscan is left staring at an empty spot, probably wondering if the devs are going to patch that out. Back in his apartment, Song-Yoon is huffing. He's realized he's drawing way too much aggro. The vow of defiance, the vampires, and now the Grand Divine Order. Then it hits him. The karma shop. The reason his rewards have been so huge lately? It's not just the kills. It's because he's making the entire continent furious. Aggro is karma. He decides to think about that later and focus on Earth. It's time to harvest the results of his pigeon research. He's using cats now. They spread the dark magic when they meet each other. Soon, his surveillance network will cover all of Seoul. He gets a ping. One of his cats has spotted something suspicious. The first signal. We cut to a dark basement. A woman is begging for her life. She sees a man in the shadows, a man with glasses. She begs him to save her, thinking he's just a bystander, but he just walks past the window. She screams, but it's useless. The killer behind her is laughing. He has a sound suppression field. No one can hear her. He tells her she's going to be the top 3 addition to his collection. A sudden impact shatters the sound barrier. The killer is shocked. His ability was supposed to make him invisible to the world. The purifier, Seong-hyun, steps through the dust. He tells the killer that his disgusting deeds end today. The killer panics and grabs the woman, using her as a shield. He threatens to kill her if Seong-hyun comes closer. Seong-hyun doesn't even blink. He uses a shadow hand to yank the woman away. The killer is fuming. He decides to try and take down a returner. He lunges with a knife. Shadows wrap around his arm like iron. Seong-hyun notes that this clearly isn't the guy's first time doing this. He places a hand on the killer's forehead. Necromancy, the wail of the dead. The room turns red. The sentence is death. The killer's eyes roll back as his soul is shredded. Seong-hyun says death is too merciful for a guy like this. He drains the blood from the body. The system pings, intermediate undead. He stores the new minion in his subspace. He leaves the woman and calls the police. The scene is crawling with cops a few minutes later. Enter team leader Park Han-chul. He's looking at the footage from the scene. It's the serial killer they've been chasing for months, but the body is missing. Only a massive amount of dark mana remains. Park looks at the execution on the ground. He calls the returner a lunatic bastard who's drunk on power. He wants to see the face of the guy playing judge and jury. Welcome to the South Korea Returners Association, where the high-stakes world of supernatural management meets a manager who is currently losing the battle against her own desk. Meet Yoon Ji-yoon. She's the branch manager, she's exhausted, and she's currently being briefed on the Purifier case. A dark mage in a ha-ho mask who's been treating the city's criminals like a seasonal clearance event. The public safety situation is basically a dumpster fire, and Ji-yoon's solution? Just put a leash on the masked guy and make him their dog. Her assistant thinks that's a terrible idea because, he's a murderer. But Ji-yoon doesn't care. She just sees a pile of paperwork that needs to disappear. She wants these villains smashed, and she doesn't really care who does the smashing. Meanwhile, the guy she's talking about is having a great day. Seong-hyun is currently feeling very refreshed after his latest vigilante run. He's developed a very specific merciful system. If you're not a serial killer, you just get a lifetime of trauma-inducing curses. Win-win. But he knows the villain organization is still out there causing chaos. However, Earth is mostly under control for now. Back in the fantasy world, it's time for some emotional damage. Heinz II is finally handing Diana and Aaron over to their actual family. The uncle seems like a decent guy, which is a relief for our MC, because if he wasn't, Seong-hyun was fully prepared to start making threats. It's a clean handoff. The kids are safe, the quest is done, and Diana is giving him the big emotional goodbye hug. He promises to visit, but Diana notices something. She tells him he's a good person, but his personality has been changing. She's sensing the persona skill. See, every avatar gets a slice of his psyche. Hans got the edgy attention-seeker vibes. Heinz II got the cool and composed liar traits. But now that the vampire gig is over, Diana asks where he's going. His answer? He's going on a pilgrimage. Straight to Thalaria, the capital of the Thalia Kingdom. It's the headquarters of the Church of the Goddess. The absolute lion's den for a guy whose other main body is a lick. He finds a quiet alleyway to execute a pro-gamer swap. Avatar number 4, Heinlich. This build is specialized for one thing, Warrior's Spirit. He gets massive EXP buffs for training and combat. He hands the vampire gear over and steps out as a fresh-faced hero. The plan is simple. He walks right into the recruitment office. And he doesn't just apply. He dumps an entire fortune's worth of gold on the table. He claims he wants to dedicate everything to the goddess and become a holy knight. Think about it. He's had a lich, a dark mage, and a vampire. Now he's going for the most respected, shiny, light build possible. Instructor Marco sees the spirit, and is immediately on board. The scribe is a bit worried about accepting a random rich guy with zero background, but Marco isn't worried. He figures the wicked will always reveal their true nature during training. Song-hyun just smiles. Challenge accepted. Training montage, 1 month later, and our guy is currently reconsidering his life choices. The training isn't just hard, it's lifting giant metal-wrecking balls while praying hard. He thought the Holy Knights were noble and cool. Turns out they're just a giant group of muscle perverts. He's sweating, he's struggling, and he's being screamed at to never stop praying. If his focus slips even for a second, Instructor Marco is right there in his face. The logic is that praying while your body is breaking restores your stats. It's basically a religious CrossFit box. He admits it's efficient, but the vibe is questionable. Over in the corner, seniors are literally asking to be hit harder with maces to strengthen their faith. They aren't even using armor. They're just letting the impact harden their muscles and their belief simultaneously. Marco is impressed. He tells the other instructors that the new recruit is no joke. He's already becoming unrecognizably sturdy before even getting baptized. But for Seong-hyun, the hardest part of the training isn't the weight, it's the way these guys are looking at his muscles. 3 months in. His body and stamina have hit peak levels, but the muscle pervert energy is only getting worse. Every time he finishes a set, some shirtless senior is right there trying to invite him to smash some chest exercises or do a solid back workout together. Our guy is basically being haunted by gains. He steps outside to catch his breath hanging out with Max, the only normal trainee in this house of mirrors. Suddenly the atmosphere shifts. The heavy hitters have returned. Archbishop Latius and Sir Tuscan. Song Hyun recognizes Tuscan immediately. This is the guy who tried to turn Hans into a pile of bone meal. He wonders if they've been hunting him this whole time. The order calls an emergency assembly for the baptismal ceremony. It's happening earlier than usual because special circumstances have come up. The special circumstance is that they're losing the war against our guys' other bodies. The MC sees right through it. They need more meat for the grinder to keep chasing Hans, but this is a perfect opportunity for him to test out a theory. Max goes up first. He swears the oath, and the high priest begins the ritual. Here's the mechanic. Baptism sacrifices all your mana to the deity. In exchange, you get holy power. The amount you get is determined by your faith. The purer your faith, the stronger the holy night. It's a literal lie detector test for the soul. Now it's our guy's turn. He walks up with a smirk. This is exactly why he chose this path. Normally is for suppressing pain or stopping himself from losing it. But he realized the opposite works too. He uses to literally inject the emotion of faith into the avatar. And while the priest is extracting his mana, he uses to filter out every single trace of distrust or doubt. He's creating a 100% pure essence of mana and faith. He focuses the mental strength to this one moment. The result? The high priest nearly has a heart attack. The explosion of holy power is so massive it blinds the entire room. Even Tuscan is stunned. The light reaches the very head of the deity's statue. The instructors are already calling him Sir Heinrich. He's just been baptized and he's already at the level of a high-ranking priest. The priest is practically crying tears of joy. He's obtained the skill, Holy Baptism. Song Hyun is relieved. The fake faith hack worked like a charm. Or almost. He realizes the deity isn't really a person. It's more like a sentient system. And when he opened his mind to it, he felt something coming back from the other side. Curiosity. The deity is watching him now. Meanwhile, the pro-Holy Knights are having a terrible week. Latius is frustrated. They haven't found a single trace of Hans in months. The Thalia Kingdom is pulling support because a vampire organization is pulling their strings behind the scenes. It's a three-way political mess. Latius is under massive pressure to show results. He has to dismiss the extermination squad and send everyone back to the capital. Tuscan walks out, feeling the weight of the failure. He's surrounded by enemies and short on talented knights. Then, he hears a sound from the training yard. He stops to watch the new recruits sparring. Max goes for a strike, thinking he sees a gap. Heinrich takes the hit directly to his shoulder and uses that split second to deliver a brutal counterpunch. Match over. Heinrich wins. He's combining his super recovery with holy power to fight like a tank. The wound heals instantly. Max is impressed. He calls it giving up flesh to gain bone. Classic Heinrich style. But Seongyun knows it's still not enough. He needs a bigger change to truly grow. Max tries to congratulate him, but he's interrupted. Sir Tuscan has seen enough. He walks right up to the recruit and looks him in the eye. He tells Heinrich he's going to make him stronger. And the first step? Come with him to the Rosalia Temple. Pardon? Tuscan isn't asking, he's telling. Pack your bags? No time. We have a magic circle to catch. He tells Heinrich he'll explain everything when they arrive, and our guy just rolls with it. Fast travel initiated. Welcome to the Rosalia Grand Temple, the Vatican of this world. Sitting right in the center of the map. This is where the Pope and the Saintess live, the highest security zone in the land. They're greeted by the Saintess herself, looking like every waifu trope combined into one. Tuscan bows. Heinrich follows suit, but inside, Song Hyun is grinning. The church thinks they found a golden boy. Song Hyun just found a high-level XP farm. But while Heinrich plays the hero in the light, his other body is still handling the dirty work in the shadows. Haho Mask is officially MeTube famous. The traffickers are gone, but Seong-hyun noticed a detail. The Divine Retribution Society. A name the villains kept screaming before they died. It's connected to several underground organizations. He'll figure it out eventually, but for now, he has a more pressing issue. He's rich, but he's legally broke. If he starts buying Ferraris with stolen blood money, the police will be on him in 5 minutes. So he heads to a sketchy arcade called Deep Sea Gameland. Standard don't ask, don't tell vibes inside. He tells the clerk he wants to sell some stuff. The clerk tells him to get lost. He thinks it's a pawn shop. Then Song-hyun drops a bag of gold coins. Not just any gold, badges from the commerce syndicate he just wiped out. The clerk's attitude does a 180 and sends him to the back door. Down the hall we go. He meets a guy in a plague doctor mask behind bulletproof glass. Song-hyun doesn't want cash. He wants goods. Specifically, a first prize lottery ticket. Cash is useless if the tax office asks where it came from. But a lottery ticket? That's 100% legal, clean, and untraceable. The plague doctor says the commission is steep. He offers a 6.1 billion won ticket. Seong-hyun says, great, I'll take 3. The clerk thinks he's joking until Seong-hyun reaches into his subspace. 1 gold bar. 2. 3. The clerk is losing his mind. He realizes he's dealing with someone way above his pay grade. He asks who the hell this guy is. Seong-hyun just gives him the shut up and take my money look. The deal is done. But the clerk smells blood. He knows exactly what kind of monster just walked in. Seong-hyun leaves him with a, see you soon. Money laundered. First place lottery winner. He's officially the luckiest guy in Korea. He realizes running back and forth to these shady spots is a hassle. He needs subordinates. He sits down to enjoy the night air. The streets are alive again. It feels good knowing he's the reason people can walk here safely. Where are you from? Someone just snuck up behind a guy with 360-degree magical detection. A guy in a tracksuit with red hair. Song-hoon is annoyed. Sniffing people is weird, even for vampires. The guy asks if he's a vampire. Then he introduces himself. This is Gamma. Level 6 from the Dotmere dimension. Song-hoon pivots. He introduces himself as Heinz, a rookie who just returned to Earth. He realizes Gamma is using some kind of mind control aura to make him answer. Gamma buys the rookie act. He hands over a business card for Blood Pact, an organization where vampires gather to survive. Gamma's recruitment pitch is basically a pyramid scheme for bloodsuckers. He offers to show him the ropes. Unlocks a red convertible. Very subtle. Song-hyun decides to follow. But they aren't alone. A girl with long black hair is watching from the shadows. I'm tracking him. Gamma leads him to a base that looks more like a ritual site. Gamma starts explaining the vampiric factor, the level system on Earth. He's got shelves full of suspicious potions. Then he tells Song-hyun to step into a magic circle to assess his level. Our guy knows a trap when he sees one, but he's bored and he can always teleport out, so he steps in. He feels the dark magic immediately, but it's messy, a mix of sorcery, alchemy, and curses. Magitech on Earth is usually trash because energy principles don't transfer between dimensions. He's actually impressed these guys managed to build this. The test starts with a prick of the finger. Blood flows. 5 spheres. Level 5. Gamma's face says it all. Wait, I was worried for this weakling? He drops the nice guy act. Let's get started. The circle lights up. Song-hyun is pinned. The door is kicked off its hinges. Soran Jin and the Blood Alliance have arrived to make an arrest. Gamma isn't even bothered. He calls her Soran and tells her she's rude. Soran is disgusted. She's heard the reports of Gamma abducting other vampires. She tells him to give it up. Gamma goes on a standard villain rant. Why should vampires bow to rules? We're superior. Soran calls it nonsense. Radicals like him are why vampires are hunted. Sure, Gamma says, but does your friend agree? Soran's own subordinate, Min-yong, puts her face first into the concrete. Min-yong has flipped. His reason? In his dimension, he was a lord. On Earth, he's a club bouncer living in a basement. He's tired of being civilized, while Soran lives comfortably. Soran asks Gamma if he's building an army. Gamma laughs. He doesn't want an army of losers. He found a way to grow stronger without karma. Soran realizes he's broken the taboo. Cannibalism. The reason vampires were persecuted in the first place. Berserkers. Exposition. Seong-hyun is listening closely. If you eat a vampire from another dimension, your factors combine. But you go insane. You become a blood-hungry animal. Gamma says they solved that. They filter out the negative emotions. That magic circle? It's a blender. It turns vampires into pills with 0 side effects. Min-yong hands over Soran like a piece of meat. Gamma tosses him a pill in exchange. Min-yong pops it instantly. Transformation time. He's growing spikes. His muscles are tearing. He's feeling the rush. He wants more. He grabs Soran by the throat. Gamma tells him to chill. They have a guest who's been waiting. Song-hyun is still standing in the circle, watching this entire soap opera. Soran is begging him to stop. Seong-hyun is just doing math. 2 purebloods, 4 lowbloods. I can't wait to find out how much stronger I'll get after devouring all of you. Hans is summoned. The Arch-Lich is out, and the room is officially locked. Min-yong charges. He's a spiked mess of meat. Hans just stands there. Seong-hyun notes the transformation is unique. He wonders if all vampires are this weird. Hans pins Min-yong to the floor with his staff. Seong-hyun wanted to do this with little bloodshed, but it's fine. Organic farming has its challenges. He leans down and bites the traitor. Min-yong is screaming, but Seong-hyun doesn't care. The mental corruption is intense, but he's got hub to filter the garbage. He feels it. Hybrid evolution acquired. Song-hyun stands up, wiping the blood. He needed some people to handle his menial work, and he's decided the Blood Alliance will do just fine. Obey, or become a meal. Our guy just became the CEO of the local vampire scene. The meal is served. Hines is currently finishing off the leftovers, and the system notifications are finally popping off. He just unlocked Insight. He can now measure his opponent's stats like a pro gamer looking at a spreadsheet. Every vampire has a unique bloodline power, and with hybrid evolution, our guy isn't just killing them, he's stealing the entire source code. Gamma is absolutely losing his mind. He wants to know how a vampire can devour their own kind and still remain sane. Hines leans in, real close, like he's about to share a deep, dark secret. His advice for the voices in your head? Just don't listen to them. Gamma dies with a look that says, "Wow, thanks for the tutorial, it was useless." Hines picks up concealment. Now he's a stealth-build vampire. This is getting unfair for the villains. He takes a quick peek inside Gamma's head before the lights go out. He sees a man in a hood, someone named Beta. And there's that name again, the Divine Retribution Society. These guys are the ones who built the ritual. They're the ones bankrolling the vampire apocalypse. Pivot cut to Hines driving Gamma's red convertible, acting as the world's most dangerous Uber driver for Soren Jin. She's finally waking up after her forced nap. First thing she does? Starts choking him out because she thinks he's a hardliner goon. He has to explain that he's the guy who escaped the cage earlier. She flips back to nice girl mode instantly. Meet Soren Jin from Nocturnia. Hines asks the obvious question, why were the vampires fighting each other? Turns out the Blood Pact is split between the moderates and the hardliners. Soren went in with a crew to save a kidnapped member and got ganked. She thinks they can just report this to the higher-ups and it'll all be fine. Hines knows better. If the underlings are this bold, the upper management is definitely in on it. Soren is so grateful she asks if she can call him Appa. Our guy just rolls with it. He claims he's a solo player who just returned to Earth. She offers him a spot with the moderates. They have stable blood supplies through partnerships with blood banks. It sounds like the most boring lifestyle ever, but it's a perfect cover. They arrive at the Nocturnia base, which is basically a luxury villa. A little girl named Nahi runs out to greet her. It's a wholesome family moment in a house full of blood drinkers. Hines does the awkward hello to the kid. Soren heads off to show Hines his room, leaving Nahi to play. Hines notices Nahi doesn't feel like a standard returner. He's right. Nahi was born on Earth. She's a naturalized vampire. Her father was a returner who infected her to save her from a terminal illness. This hits Hines hard. He finally understands why the government is so obsessed with control. Vampirism on Earth is basically an infectious disease. Nahi's dad pushed himself to the limit to make sure she could still live under the sun. They reach his room. Soren tells him to rest up, and then she does a very specific goodbye gesture and says, "Bye off." Hines freezes. That voice, that catchphrase, he knows exactly who she is. This is BJ Orchid. She is absolutely mortified that he knows her streamer persona. She claims the line is just stuck in her head. Hines pretends he only saw her on the algorithm once or twice to save her the embarrassment. She admits she used to be an idle trainee before she awakened. She's 22. Hines realizes he's been treating her like a little sister this whole time. He slams the door in a panic. Soren is left standing there wondering what she said wrong. Hines is having a crisis because he realized he was being informal to someone older than him. Typical Korean hierarchy problems. He hops on his bed and looks her up. She's actually really famous. He finds a post about her hiatus due to responsibilities at her company. Basically, if he hadn't saved her, that would have been her retirement notice. The next morning, the house is in an uproar. Soren is screaming at someone on the phone. The crime scene from yesterday? Completely wiped. Hines walks down, acting like he just woke up. Soren explains that everything was burned to the ground. No evidence left. Hines knows it's because he let Hans loose to clean up. He asks her to mark the locations of the other hardliner bases on a map. She thinks he's just being cautious and wants to avoid them. Yeah, he says. Totally. He knows he's at the edge of the pure blood rank. To reach true blood, he needs a few more high-quality meals. Soren offers to cook him breakfast. Hines looks at the map she just filled with red target pins. No need, he says. I'm going out to explore some good eats. This is delicious. Cut to Hines in a literal bloodbath. He's currently dining on the local hardliner squad. One guy is begging for his life, asking how Hines even found them. Hines just points to the CCTV. He's using concealment to walk right past their security. He grabs the guy and asks for the location of the other comrades. He gets the info. All the Gamma level members are gathering at a villa tomorrow for a leadership meeting. Hines smiles. A buffet where the food comes to you? He's gotta move, but first, he needs to clean up the trash. He uses his new skill, Blood Bloom. It's a burning flower of blood that incinerates every trace of his presence, and for the magic, he uses concealment to mask the energy. It's the perfect crime. Suddenly, his heart starts hammering. His body is evolving again. Pure blood evolves into true blood. New skills acquired, blood flow amplification, and hyper-regeneration. Time to test the new build. He literally slashes his own wrist. Blood sprays, and then it just stops. The wound heals in less than a second. He realizes if he can absorb blood while fighting, he's practically invincible. He looks at a portrait on the wall. If true blood is this cracked, he can only imagine what holy blood looks like. Back at the villa, BJ Orchid is live. She's thanking a fan for a massive donation. She's happy because this covers the blood pack bill for the month. Hines walks in without knocking. He sees her doing the Appa, "You're a million points in my heart" pose. Silence. Soran screams at him to knock before coming in. The embarrassment is physical. Hines hands her a mail that just arrived under her name. It's an anonymous tip, full of detailed photos of the hardliners' crimes. She realizes this looks exactly like the work of Ha-Ho Mask. She starts connecting the dots. The tips started coming right after she told Hines the locations. She wonders if Hines is working with the masked vigilante. Switch to the villa raid. Nighttime. Hines is standing outside the hardliner meeting. They're meeting to come up with countermeasures against Ha-Ho Mask. He uses insight. There's an invisible blood barrier, and the energy inside is intense. These are the betas. He hides Hans in the shadows for a pincer attack. Hines storms in, crashes through the window like a boss. Wait, empty? Then the door opens. The betas walk in. Beta 1 and Beta Shin. They note his level is at least 7, but they don't recognize his face. They figure he's a returner from an unknown dimension. Hines recalls the hierarchy. First Alpha, 2 Betas, 13 Gammas. Both Betas are here. But there's a bigger issue. The masked humans from the Divine Retribution Society are with them. The lead human tells them to drag Hines out. And of course, the guy says, the one hiding in the shadow too. They can sense Hines. Hines doesn't wait for a signal. He activates blood flow amplification. He moves. Acceleration kicks in. One of the lackeys gets his arm ripped off before he can blink. Hans steps out of the shadow. The hardliners start panicking. They want to survive. Punishment be damned. One tries to run for the door. He hits a barrier and bounces back like he just hit a wall. A familiar voice comes from the darkness. Ha-Ho Mask steps forward. Surely you didn't think you were the only ones who set up a barrier? It's a deathmatch, and the exits are officially closed. Beta 1 is currently having a midlife crisis because our guy is treating his elite squad like level 1 slimes. He's looking at Hines and wondering if the server just glitched. He thinks there's a trick. There's no trick, buddy. You're just fighting a pro gamer who found the dev tools. He tries to get fancy with the claws, but Hines is already 3 steps ahead of his frame data. Beta 1 activates skin hardening, turning his body into literal rock. Hines just smiles. Oh, you're tanky? Cute. Let's see how much pressure it takes to make a diamond pop. 1 punch. That's all it takes. The unbreakable armor shatters like a cheap screen protector. Beta 1 hits the floor, and his dignity hits it even harder. The rest of the grunts realize they aren't getting paid enough for this and try to dogpile. Hines literally laughs. You guys have so much confidence for people who are about to become a juice box. He clears the room without even moving his feet. Beta 1 is leaking blood and common sense at this point. He tries a desperate lunge while Hines' hands are full, screaming about how he's going to win this for the blood pact. Here is the problem with fighting a true blood vampire. Every drop of blood you spill just makes him harder to kill. He's recovering and buffing in real time. It's like fighting a boss that has health regen and a permanent rage bar. And then he drops the new skill, invisibility. Beta 1 is swinging at shadows. Hines reappears right behind him like a sleep paralysis demon. Right here. Checkmate. New factor collected. Mystery of blood unlocked. Song Hyun can feel the power spike. It's not just about stats anymore, it's about absolute control. He is the architect, and blood is his clay. The survivors are horrified. They're calling him a monster for devouring his own kind. Hines' response? So what? Are you going to keep whining, or are you going to try and provide some actual entertainment? They charge again. They never learn. Hines activates Mystery of Blood, and the air in the room gets heavy. He isn't even touching them. He's just manipulating the blood inside their own veins. The remaining leader calls it a petty trick. Hines just steps into his personal space. Call it what you want. You're still dead. Outside the inner circle, the Divine Retribution guys realize the Vampire Mafia just got deleted. They decide to pull out the big guns. Literally. They charge up an orb of pure energy. It's a high-level magic attack designed to vaporize anything in its path. Interesting attack, a voice says from the shadows. Hans, Ha-Ho Mask, steps in and just tanks the blast like it's a light breeze. The society members are losing their minds. This isn't how the script is supposed to go. The leader decides it's time to bail and leave his subordinates to die. Standard villain behavior. He tries to use a self-destruction curse on his own men to cover his escape. Die for freedom, he yells, while running away as fast as his legs can carry him. He uses spatial manipulation to blink out of the building, but Hans is already in his head. An irresponsible leader, Hans notes. You think you can force me to retreat by blowing up your own guys? Too bad. Hans suppresses the explosion with pure mana. A curse like this is nothing to someone who rules over death. He rips the energy sources, the orbs, straight out of the grunt's body. I am the one who decides when you die. The leader, the arbiter, thinks he's safe because he made it to the courtyard. He's wrong. The The barrier Hans set up earlier is still active. He's trapped in the garden like a rat in a cage. Hans drops down behind him. "So you were here." The Arbiter's face is a masterpiece of pure terror. Hans grabs him. "I was going to play with you for a while, but I'm on a schedule, so we're doing this the hard way." Hans dives straight into the Arbiter's mind. He wants the memories, he wants the locations, he wants the names. But the Arbiter has a security mechanism. His mind is protected by a high-level mental realm. Hans finds himself standing in a void. A glowing green figure appears on a throne. "Impressive, Ha-Ho Mask. You've been watching from inside your own mind? Why not join us? We have cookies and world domination." Hans isn't interested in the pitch. "What is the purpose of your society? Freedom for returners. To create a world led by us, the superior ones." Hans tilts his head. "For an organization that just showed up, you're pretty ambitious. Recently, we've existed much longer than you think." Hans realizes what that means. These guys have been doing this for years. Every terrorist act, every unexplained accident, it was them. Back in his real body, Seong-Hyun's heart rate is spiking. The mind hub is flashing warnings. It's trying to regulate his emotions, but the rage is breaking through. Hans throws a punch in the mental realm. The green figure, the Arbiter's mental avatar, just laughs. "This is my realm. Here, mental strength is everything. You cannot defeat me." Hans looks at him through the porcelain mask. He thinks about the incident, the day his life was ruined, the day he lost his family and his future. He looks at the figure and sees the face of the people who stole everything from him. Mental strength determines superiority? Good. Then you're already dead. Meanwhile, in Auterica, our guy is living his best life as a gym rat. He's currently doing reps with a literal gargoyle statue. 1,022. Done. The system chimes in, skill, sturdy body acquired. Divine power reached the level of a high priest. He's literally grinding until the game has to give him legendary skills just to make him stop. He figures he's finally qualified to be a holy knight. He's humming as he walks through the temple gardens, feeling like $1,000,000. Then he spots her. Silver hair, divine aura, the saintess. She turns around with a smile that could probably heal a broken bone. Heinrich puts on his perfect hero face. "Greetings, saintess. Why are you here all alone?" he asks. She holds up a finger. She was watching a ladybug. Our guy is confused. This is the most powerful woman in the order, and she's spending her Tuesday morning bug watching. She looks him in the eye. "You've obtained the blessing. Congratulations," she realizes instantly. No ritual, no test, she just sees the power he's hiding. The bells start ringing. Time for the history service. She asks him to walk with her. As they walk, he starts putting the pieces together. He learns why this church is so obsessed with the immortal king. Flashback. Long ago, the first immortal king turned half the continent into a graveyard. When he died, his heart was saved by his ally, a dark sorcerer. He was reborn as the second immortal king. He destroyed empires. He brought the world to its knees. The order barely managed to destroy his heart again, but it didn't just break. It shattered into 3 pieces and vanished. Every time a crisis happens, it's because someone found a shard. The saintess cherishes her followers like family, so she hates the king with a burning passion. Heinrich is just nodding along like, wow, that sounds terrible, while thinking about the 2 shards he already has in his inventory. Back in the mental realm, the Arbiter is about to have a very bad time. Seong-Hyun focuses every ounce of his mind hub and persona skills into Hans. In the real world, miles away, a man in a penthouse coughs up blood. The Arbiter's actual body is taking internal damage from the mental strain. His subordinates are panicking. He shoves them away. He can't believe it. He's the master of the mental realm, and he's being pushed back. In the void, Hans lands a hit that cracks the Arbiter's green avatar like porcelain. The entire mental landscape starts to crumble. The Arbiter realizes he was at an advantage for about 5 seconds. Now, Hans is growing exponentially stronger. It's like fighting a virus that learns your firewall while it's deleting your files. He realizes this isn't just one person's strength, it's multiple minds combined into one. His mental form shatters completely. The Arbiter wakes up in his office, gasping for air and crying tears of blood. "No, we have to go dark." He issues a top priority directive: cease all operations, erase everything, go into hiding. Back at the villa, Hans is standing over the now empty mental shell of the Arbiter. He lost the connection, but he managed to snag a karma fragment before the line cut. The system pings. Dark magic has evolved into path of sorcery. Hans looks at the glowing fragment. It's a piece of the Arbiter's memory. "Let's see what you're hiding." He reads the data. He sees a location deep in the forest. The Korean branch of the Divine Retribution Society. Hans shifts into a cloud of dark smoke. "I won't give you a chance to escape." He hits the secret base like a meteor. The researchers inside are already trying to burn the documents. Hans catches one of them by the throat. "You think disposing of the material matters?" He rips a rolled-up document out of the researcher's hands. He unfurls it. It's a blueprint. A plan. High tension. Hans looks at the paper, and his hand starts to shake. The Seoul Station Attack Directive Plan. The date. The location. The method. This wasn't just a mission. This was the exact event that ruined Song-hyun's life. For a long time, our guy thought it was just bad luck, that the tragedy that ripped his family away was just a freak accident in a world going to hell. But looking at this paper, the Divine Retribution Society, it was them. Every bit of his pain was a line item on their to-do list. He's not just an angry gamer anymore. He's a man with a target. But the society is a global machine. To break them, he needs more than just a few high-level avatars. He needs an army, and he's starting with the blood. He uses a new skill to create a refined blood crystal. Think of it like a permanent stat booster that also acts as a leash. Accept it, and you get stronger. Resist it, and he'll just delete you. Simple math. Back at Soren's place, she's having a hard time processing the patch notes our guy just dropped on her. She's looking at him like he just told her he soloed a raid boss with a level 1 wooden sword. He wants to meet the moderate leader. He's already wiped the hardliners off the map, mostly, and he's ready to discuss the new management. Soren is panicking. She needs to verify the facts. Hines just lets his aura flare. Does this count as proof? She literally can't breathe. She knew he was a whale, but this power level is basically an admin command. She makes the call immediately. Next thing you know, we're in a high-end office with the moderate leader. She's pouring wine like they're old friends, but you can tell she's sweating through her expensive suit. Hines lays it out. He wants order. He wants peace, and he wants every single member of the Divine Retribution Society found and executed. The leader smiles. Peace and execution? Don't those goals kind of clash? Depends on who you're executing, Hines replies, cold. Internally, our guy is ready to flip the table if she says no. But she doesn't. She agrees so fast it actually catches him off guard. I trust myself, she says, and I trust a winner. She gives him Soren as a bridge between their factions. Soren is just happy to be included, honestly. Time for the business talk. How to absorb the stragglers, and the birth of a new centrist faction. Hines is becoming the CEO of the Vampire Underground. First step to taking over the whole Blood Pact. Cheers to that. Later that night, things get a bit more invasive. Soren is nervous. Our guy tells her to stay still. It's time for the crystal. He implants the refined blood crystal into her back. She feels the heat immediately. Her heart starts racing like she just chugged 5 monsters. Her muscles and bones are literally expanding and densifying. She looks at her hands. She feels like she's been reborn. Our guy is just checking the numbers. 30% enhancement? Not bad for a first try. Soren looks at him with literal stars in her eyes. So, what now, Lord? Lord, yeah. He's officially the head of a new lineage now. A new clan on Earth needs a name. Something that stands out. Something that reflects the fact that they're all mutated hybrids of his blood. Heterosis. Hybrid vigor. I see you with the biology degree, Song-hyun. The hardliners are cooked. He's raising an army of super vampires. Back in his room, our guy takes a breather. Hines is set, but the society is a global problem. He needs more karma. He needs more influence. How do you get massive karma fast? Usually through wars or terrorism. But he's not a villain. He doesn't want innocents to get hurt. He needs a controlled incident. He looks at a fantasy novel on his desk, and the light bulb goes off. Oh no, he's going to do it. The plan. Hans becomes the evil demon king threatening humanity, and Heinrich becomes the righteous hero who defeats him. It's a total win-win. But he needs one more piece on the board. Harley. Trait. Adaptation. He's not going to raise this one properly. He's going for a speedrun evolution. And he knows the perfect place to start. The ruins of the Divine Retribution Society's lab. Underneath the rubble, there's a secret research facility. They were making human-demon chimeras here. But Hans is looking for a very specific sample. The ultimate evolution fuel, dragon blood. He's got the samples. He's got the research data. You're going to be the ultimate biological weapon, Harley. Outerica. Rain is pouring. The Saintess is standing on the balcony, looking like she's lost in thought. Heinrich walks up. Why are you brooding in the rain, Saintess? She says the weather is gloomy, but her chest feels stifled. Like something is wrong with the world's flow nearby. He tells her to go inside before she catches a cold. As soon as she leaves, he lets out a breath. Despite double-layered barriers, she still vaguely sensed his hidden hideout. Fortunately, she hasn't pinpointed it yet. Hans and Heinz are currently in the lab, standing over Harley. Dragon blood acquires the traits of its prey. It's the ultimate evolutionary catalyst. And Harley is the perfect blank slate test subject. Let's get started. Our guy is really playing God in his spare time. Ceremony, Sir Heinrich. Do you swear to become the sword and shield of the righteous? Yes, your grace! Heinrich is kneeling, looking every bit the perfect paladin. He's officially appointed as a holy knight. And of course, the system rewards the acting performance. He receives Blessing Leap. The crowd thinks it's a miracle from the Divine One. Heinrich feels a weird sensation, like something is actually watching him. Not a fan. He checks the skill. Transcends space. Guys, he just got a teleport with no cooldown or distance limits. He's out here praying like a saint. The priests are crying because he's so devout. Now that he's a knight, he needs to pick an order to apprentice under. Every representative is trying to sell him on their specialty. Sky Shield, spears and fortresses. Sunwolf, frontline greatswords. Thunderclaw, sword and shield security. They're all looking at him expectantly. Heinrich smiles. I will train under all of them. He's literally speedrunning the entire skill tree. He wants every technique the church has. But then, he notices a knight standing in the corner. Stoic, silent. The others get nervous when he asks about her. She steps forward. Our order only selects the very best of the best. She looks him over. You're not bad. She says with his divine power, he might be able to take the test. Follow me. They walk into the depths of the temple. They're guarding the most important stronghold. They enter a library that looks like it belongs in a Dark Souls boss room. There's an inquisitor there. Plague Doctor mask. Heavy vibes. The test. Read the text on the desk out loud. Heinrich is sweating. Is this a spy detector? He acts offended that his faith is being questioned. The knight doesn't care. It's procedure. Low down, tense. He has to read it. I am the messenger, and the sword of the Divine One, I swear, to keep silent, to throw myself into the fire, and carve the mark of faith upon my own body. His mouth starts smoking. Literally. It's a blessing of silence. He can never reveal what he sees here, even if he wants to. The knight finally starts explaining. They are the Radiant Shield Order. This is the only time he'll see this place as an outsider. The giant vault doors open. Heinrich can feel the mana pressure. It's insane. The fragment of the immortal king. The final piece of the puzzle is sitting right under the church's nose. Seong-hyun realizes these guys aren't incompetent. They've been hoarding the pieces for centuries. He wants to grab it and run, but he's not a complete idiot. 4 different knight orders are guarding this one room. Even for a lich like Hans, a direct assault is just a quick way to get deleted. He has to play the long game. The Radiant Shield Knight tells him this secret stays in the room. Don't worry, he thinks. I'll make sure I alone know about this. All 4 of me. Back in the underground lab, Hans is feeling lucky. But luck only gets you so far in mad science. The Harley experiment is going south fast. The body is rejecting the dragon blood. Harley is coughing up half his lungs. Something is bubbling up inside, and it's not growth, it's a total system failure. The vitals are flatlining. Hans has to make a choice. Dial it back or go full throttle. Harley screams as the mana tears through his muscles. The hyper-recovery skill can't keep up. The body is literally being cooked from the inside. If he stops now, he loses everything. The avatar, the research, the dragon blood. So our guy chooses violence. He injects the entire remaining supply. It's all or nothing. Harley's eyes go red. The shockwave of mana blows Hans back against the wall. The monitors go black. The smoke settles. Hans looks at the table. I'm sorry, Harley. Then the system chimes. Unique skill growth unlocked. Hans is confused. Growth? All I see is a corpse. The corpse grabs the chains and snaps them like they're made of wet paper. Super recovery has evolved into regeneration. Adaptation has evolved into mutation. The gamble didn't just pay off, it hit the jackpot. Harley stands up. Except he's not Harley anymore. He looks like a whole new species. And the system has another gift. Because of this natural growth, the MC just unlocked a 6th avatar slot for free. Song-hyun is out here breaking the game's economy while everyone else is still playing the tutorial. Time to see what the new guy can actually do. We cut to a beautiful, sunny forest. The new avatar, let's call him Holly, is stretching his new muscles. The mutation skill is insane. His senses are so sharp he can hear the grass grow. He can even hear the breathing of a predator stalking him. A giant black panther lunges from the bushes. Holly just watches it. He recognizes the species from his first day in this world. Good to see you again, he says, with the energy of someone seeing an old friend they're about to eat. He catches the panther mid-air with one hand. The beast yelps. It realizes too late that it's the one at the bottom of the food chain now. Holly doesn't use a sword. This is Devour in action. If he wants to develop his mutation trait, eating the monster's core, the magic stone, is the fastest way to gain its data. It's basically an XP snack. He feels the enlightenment hit. His body is evolving in real time. He uses body mutation to buff his physique. He's 2 meters of pure muscle now. A larger physique is just basic combat math. He acquires the skill Devour. Problem is, using these skills makes him hungry. Like, eat an entire cow hungry. He looks at the raw meat and thinks it looks pretty sweet. He's losing his human common sense. The dragon blood is taking over. He's laughing while covered in blood. He realizes if people see him like this, they won't think he's a hero, they'll think he's a raid boss. He needs a cover story, a job change. We move to the harbor city of Tarak. The Sailor Guild is busy until a shadow falls over the doorway. Holly walks in looking like a southern barbarian. The entire room goes dead silent. Everyone is intimidated. Holly likes the vibe. His goal is to become a hero that the entire continent will remember. The guild clerk is literally shaking. Holly tells him he's here to exterminate the monsters in the northern mountains. The clerk is so happy he's practically crying. He points him to the nearest ship. Back at the temple, the rain is still falling. Heinrich is sparring. He wins. Again. The other knights are calling him relentless. He just unlocked comprehensive weapon mastery. He's basically a walking Swiss Army knife at this point. He realizes this training will help all his other avatars too. Shared brain, shared gains. Then he spots someone in the garden. The Saintess is out in her ceremonial robes. She looks busy. Heinrich asks what she's doing. She says she's sharing holy power with the earthworms. Our guy is genuinely worried she's going to create a giant sandworm apocalypse. But then her tone shifts. A very important guest is arriving soon. Someone capable of tracking the immortal king. Heinrich's heart skips a beat. Someone who can track Hans through barriers? He asks to be a guardian knight for the event. He needs to see this guy's face. The guest arrives in the main hall. It's a massive procession. Heinrich is watching from the sidelines, sweat on his brow. The guest steps forward and lowers his hood. Long ears, star-shaped pupils, rapery Granwood, a high elf. Meanwhile, downtown, an old shopkeeper is having the worst Tuesday of his life. This guy has been staring at a bronze plate for 2 hours. "Are you going to buy it or not?" the old man yells. Meet Hubert, Song-Hyun's 6th avatar. He's the intellectual of the group. His core skill is appraisal. He sees the weight, the material, and the hidden value of everything. If he levels this up, he'll be the merchant king of the continent. He realizes he needs to play it smart to avoid heat from the existing merchant guilds. But for Hubert to thrive, Hallie's hero reputation needs to grow first. Back to the frozen peaks of the northern mountains. Holly is out in the snow, shirtless, because barbarians don't do coats. He's looking for the biggest troublemaker in the area. A massive mountain bear drops from the cliffs. Holly smiles. Finally, a workout. The bear's claws meet Holly's bare forearms. The impact shakes the ground, but Holly doesn't budge. An opening! He jumps onto the bear's back. He's going for a high ground advantage. He tries to use his axe, but the bear's hide is like steel. He's actually struggling for a second. The bear shakes him off. The axe didn't work. Time to get primitive. The bear lunges for the kill. Holly activates body mutation. Scales start growing on his arms. He punches the bear straight in the face. The force of the impact literally blows the snow off the trees. The bear is done. Holly notes that his bare hands are officially more dangerous than weapons. He realizes if he keeps mutating, people will worship him as a god or hunt him as a monster. He needs to learn how to use the vitality without the freak show. He closes his eyes. He tries to focus, draw the energy, not the transformation. A golden flame starts flickering around his skin. Bio-aura acquired. It worked. Now he can fight at 100% while looking like a normal human, mostly. He hears a heavy footstep. Something much bigger than a bear is approaching. A giant ogre with glowing blue eyes. Holly cracks his knuckles. Let's test the new aura. The ogre swings. The shock travels up Holly's arm. The ogre is actually laughing. It thinks Holly is a snack. Holly looks up from under his hair. You think that's funny? Want to see what's really funny? He ignites the bio-aura. The ogre's smile disappears as Holly hits it with the force of a train. He's moving so fast the ogre can't even track him. Holly finishes it with one final strike. He stands over the body, blood dripping from his knuckles. He lifts his axe in victory. Low down, transition. He stops. He sniffs the air, a nostalgic and disgusting smell. Like a belly button. He realizes something is hidden in a nearby cave. He senses an oath of rebellion. Whoever is in there is scheming something dark. Time to root out the rotten sprouts. Back at the temple, the tea is excellent. Rapery, the high elf, is being perfectly polite to the Saintess, but the vibe in the room is tense. Heinrich is standing guard, watching the high elf closely. Rapery explains that the Elven Kingdom worships the World Tree. They serve different gods, but they share a common enemy, the Immortal King. They've maintained exchanges for years, but Rapery is here on urgent business. Heinrich wonders if they're going to use the World Tree to find Hans. He notices Rapery's star-shaped pupils. Fascinating. Budget must have been high for this guy. Rapery notices the staring. Heinrich apologizes, but Rapery says it's fine. Those eyes are the mark of a high elf. They serve as priests connecting the World Tree to the people. Very few are born with this aptitude. The birth of a new high elf is a miracle. The Saintess asks if the request for help involves this. Rapery's expression goes dark. A qualified child was born recently. But she was captured by slave hunters and sold to a dark sorcerer. They've tracked her to the northern mountains. The Saintess is horrified. The northern mountains? That's a dangerous place. Rapery asks if she has any leads. Back to the mountain cave. Holly kicks in the door. He sees a girl. Light green hair. Orange eyes. Chains on her neck. Back at the temple. Heinrich's eyes go wide. Holly kneels down in the cave. Kid, what's your name? The girl looks up. Tears in her eyes. It's Cecily. The cultists are having a very bad day. Their secret mountain base is currently being renovated by 2 meters of pure barbarian rage. "Don't let him get near the storage room," they yell. A bit late for that, boys. Holly is moving like a horror movie villain on a 2x speed multiplier. He isn't even using a weapon. He's just throwing bodies at other bodies until everyone stops moving. He finds the storage room and pauses. Cecily is there, looking like she just went through a blender. He spots the item the cultists were so worried about, a branch of the world tree. He hands it to her. "Hold on tight. We're about to leave the premises." She asks if they can go a little slower. Holly's version of slower involves jumping through the ceiling. Back at the temple, Heinrich is currently gaslighting the most powerful people on the continent. About Cecily, "I think I know where she is." Rapery, the high elf, stops mid-sip. He asks if Heinrich has a tracking blessing. Heinrich's buddy, the NPC knight, is having a breakdown. "Dude, have you met a protagonist before? Their hunches are more reliable than the laws of physics." The saintess steps in. She trusts Heinrich, and when the holy waifu says go, you go. Holly has found the exit, but the cultists aren't letting their prize walk away without a fight. One of them pulls out a flute. Holly stops. Something big is coming. It's an earthworm. "We've got Dune at home, guys. It's huge. It's angry, and it probably doesn't taste like chicken." Holly doesn't have time for a boss fight. He activates his aura. He hits the worm with a strike that should have its own zip code. But look at that. A magic seal inside the worm's mouth. These guys are controlling it with dark sorcery. Holly decides to save the worm by throwing it. "Go flying! Back to where you belong!" He literally tosses a multi-ton monster like a frisbee. Then he tells the worm to live a long life. What a humanitarian. He turns around and realizes he's surrounded. The cult is throwing every monster they have at him. Holly doesn't care. He's just farming now. The cult leaders are watching from the ridge, wondering if they accidentally summoned a raid boss. They needed Cecily for a sacrifice by tomorrow. Meet Elder Nurub of the Oath of Reverse Heaven. He thinks Holly is finished. A wolf beast lunges and bites Holly's arm. The beast's teeth shatter against Holly's dragon scales. "There's a lot of you," Holly smiles. "But that just means more snacks." He wrecks the wolf, and he picks up the mana stones. He's not even putting them in his pocket. He's eating them. Mid-fight. "My stamina is limitless as long as I keep snacking." Build up. He's letting his body move on instinct now. Auto-block. Auto-eat. Auto-delete. He acquires a new combat skill. His eyes go cold. The cultists are terrified. They're calling him a monster. Nurub realizes the encirclement is breaking. He's pulling out the experimental units. "Release those two!" Holly is actually enjoying this. "Beast-like fighting style? I love it!" He prepares to wrap this up. Then, something hits him from range. Crystal arrows? He looks up and sees 2 new challengers. A hand made of pure gemstone. The gemstone humanoid. The energy radiating from this thing is no joke. It's basically a walking battery of high-density mana. Then, from above, a red blur hits the ground. A demon. "You won't take another step, mongrel." Holly smiles. "Strength alone won't beat me." He lunges, but the demon is fast. Holly takes a hit. Blood sprays. The gemstone guy is charging a beam. Holly gets slapped into a cliffside. The demon stands over him. "Give up. You're finished." Holly just looks up and smirks. "Yeah, it's already over." The demon is confused. "What?" A massive blast of divine power hits the cultists from behind. Heinrich lands right between Holly and the demon. Just in time. Our guy just brought the whole Holy Crusade to his own secret fight. Backtrack for a second. The NPCs were really doubting Heinrich. The Saintess had to literally shout them down. "He has the favor of the Divine One. He must have received a revelation." Rappery doesn't care if it's a revelation or a lucky guess. He just wants the kid back. "Lead the way, Sir Heinrich." Combat Heinrich hits the ground like a meteor. He engages the red demon instantly. His divine power is flaring. The demon can't believe how strong he is. Meanwhile, the gemstone humanoid realizes it's being ignored. Holly taps it on the shoulder. "Where do you think you're looking?" The gemstone guy is fast, but Holly is faster. He catches the guy's head. "Not bad, huh? I'll take this eyeball. As your settlement money." He literally rips the mana gem out of the monster's face. The monster shatters like cheap glass. Holly lets out a breath. He's covered in wounds and crystal shards. "Damn it, my eye!" One of those arrows actually blinded him in his right eye. He looks at the gem he just ripped out. "Since you took mine, you'll replace it with yours." He literally just performs a field transplant on himself. Skill acquired. Jewel eye. "Now I can attack from a distance." He's basically becoming a cyborg barbarian. The cultists are panicking. Their elites just got deleted by a knight and a random caveman. Nureb tells everyone to withdraw, but the exit is blocked by a mace to the face. The rest of the Holy Knight Order has arrived. It's a total wipe. Nureb realizes there's no escape. Screw it. No turning back. He starts sacrificing his own soul. A massive summoning circle opens. The Archdevil. This thing is the size of a skyscraper and breathes literal hellfire. Nureb is laughing. Until he sees the light. The Saintess isn't just a mascot. She drops a payload of divine magic that makes the sun look like a flashlight. "Sorry," she says, "but the only one burning today is you, heretic. The archdevil gets vaporized in one shot. Holly looks at Heinrich. Looks like things are wrapped up here. He calls Cecily out from the shadows. She's crying. It was scary, it was gross, and she wants to go home. Holly pats her on the head. As long as you're not hurt, that's all that matters. Heinrich watches from the side, looking like the proudest brother ever. Sir Tuscan and Rappery walk up. Tuscan is impressed. Heinrich, you were absolutely right. Rappery sees Cecily. He kneels. Lady Cecily, I am Rappery of the Elven Kingdom. The kid is safe. Holly acts the part of the humble warrior. Glad you're safe with your kin. Rappery asks how he can repay him. Holly plays it cool. I didn't do this for a reward. Cecily pulls him aside. Mr. Harley, sit down for a second. She kisses him on the forehead. May the blessings of nature be with you. It's a high-level enchantment. Even though she hasn't awakened yet, it's powerful. Rappery hands Holly a golden vine, the elven token of promise. Holly accepts it, trying to hide the fact that he's basically just earned a master key to the Elven Kingdom. Heinrich and Tuscan watch them leave. Tuscan asks if they know each other. Heinrich says no, but he has a good feeling about that barbarian. We've earned the favor of both the elves and the church, Song-Hyun thinks. He's already planning how Holly can support Hubert to become a merchant god. Rappery turns back to the group. Now it's our turn to help you. Tuscan gets serious. We have only one request. Find the immortal king. Heinrich's heart drops. So this was the plan all along. Medium, Rappery explains. He can borrow the power of the world tree. He can sense energy anywhere trees exist. But he needs a trace. He needs to know the specific frequency of the target. Heinrich realizes what's coming. Follow me. Back to the Grand Temple. They enter the deepest vault. The sacred barriers are everywhere. Even Hans couldn't break through this maze. If someone tried to enter, the entire temple would swarm them in seconds. They reach the center. Heinrich clenches his fist. This is it. Rappery looks at the pedestal. I will track the trace of this fragment, and it will lead us to Hans. He starts the spell. The room is glowing. Everyone thinks they're about to catch the ultimate villain. But Heinrich is smiling in the dark. Because when Rappery's magic activates, it's going to create the perfect distraction for the MC to steal the very thing that's tracking him. The final fragment is within reach. We start in the Vow of Defiance executive meeting room. Standard villain stuff, dark room, fancy chairs, and people who definitely don't have healthcare. The Empire's representative is here, looking like a purple flame with a bad attitude. The Eastern representative is also present. And Nurabe? Yeah, he's not coming. Mostly because he's dead. The room is in a full-blown panic because the Order and the High Elves are actually getting results. First Marcos, now Nurabe. The villains are realizing they might be the side characters in someone else's power fantasy. They're convinced the Immortal King's heir has appeared. One guy suggests using this new heir to their advantage, which is a bold strategy when the heir is currently using your coworkers as XP farm. Look at that smile. That's the face of a man who hasn't realized he's in a manhwa and is about to get his life subscription cancelled. Meanwhile, back in the actual plot, our Saintess is feeling the pressure. Hans is hiding in a cave, realizing the Saintess is basically a heat-seeking missile for his mana. He tries to shove the shard into a subspace pocket. Standard inventory management, right? Except the shard is too high tier for basic storage. It just pops back out like a glitched item. Our guy is literally sitting there thinking about his Earth self while his skeleton body struggles with a bag of holding. Then he gets a pro-gamer idea. If it won't fit in a bag, he'll just merge it with his own skeleton. Success. It's not a bug, it's a feature. By shoving the shard into his ribs, he can mask the energy perfectly. Stealth 100. Now, time to clean up the crime scene. He burns the entire lab to ash. No evidence, no loot left behind. Then he decides to turn the aggro up to 11. He drops all his barriers. He's basically pinging the entire map and screaming, come and get it. In the forest, the mana starts to flare. The elf GPS picks up the signal instantly. Rappery points to the west. The hunt is on. The Archbishop starts barking orders. Summon the paladins, bring the archbishops, it's a full raid. And here comes Cardinal Puree, looking like he just walked out of a most heroic hair competition. He's from the Grand Temple of Jiran and he's very excited to be important. The Archbishop is relieved, thinking he's got the A-team. The Saintess wants to go too because she's a protagonist at heart. But the Archbishop shuts that down. She's the pillar of the Order. She stays. And who does he choose to guard her? Our boy Heinrich. The Archbishop tells him to keep her safe. Look at that intense close-up. Heinrich gives him the most trustworthy I'm definitely not the bad guy smile in history. The expedition departs. The temple is massive, white, and completely doomed. The Archbishop gives the big Divine One is watching us speech. Classic death flag behavior. Back at the temple, the Saintess is still worried. Heinrich tells her not to worry. He just has a feeling everything will be fine. Yeah, because he's the one writing the script. Switch to Hans. He's already inside the temple grounds. The holy barriers are everywhere, but he can feel them through his dark mana. Slipping through with a skill isn't enough. so he decides to create a massive distraction. Midnight fireworks show. The guards outside see explosions in the sky. Then they look down. A literal zombie apocalypse is spawning at their front door. Meanwhile, in the forest, the expedition finds nothing, just a cave and a lot of empty space. Rapery is losing his mind because the world tree doesn't lie. The archbishop realizes they've been played. He screams for everyone to return to the temple. Too late, the temple is already on fire. Hans walks through the chaos, and there it is, the fountain of holy light holding the final shard of the immortal king. He reaches out. The set is almost complete. Resurrection time starts now. The bells are ringing. Guards are sprinting. The undead are attacking. Panic has hit 100%. Heinrich is standing in the garden, watching the chaos with his arms crossed. He's been assigned to guard the garden, so he's just chilling. The plan is simple. Wait for the distraction to peak, then slip into the vault. Knights are rushing past him, screaming about the front gate. Heinrich notices some high-tier knights he's never seen before. He's not worried. They don't know Hans is already in the basement. Suddenly, a golden-cloaked figure appears. An inquisitor. He calls out the distraction instantly. Our boy is sweating. He didn't expect the inquisitors to have a brain. He has to move before this turns into a total disaster for his secret identity. Deep in the vault, the ground is shaking. The guards inside are confused. No external breach? They're guessing teleportation. Close, but no cigar. The Saintess is having a full breakdown, blaming herself for not being good enough. Then, Heinrich bursts in like a hero. Sorry I'm late. The road was congested. He offers to take the lead. The Saintess looks at him like he's her only hope. Switch back to Hans. He's surrounded by dead inquisitors. He admits they were tougher than he expected. He even gives a little respect to a guy named Malcolm. Rest well, you fought hard. Hans finally reaches the fountain. Come forth! The final legacy of the immortal king. The shard flares with massive purple energy. Low down, mystery beat. Hans merges it, but he doesn't feel the power jump immediately. He realizes it might take time to fully sync. And he doesn't have time. The hero party has arrived. The knights charge. Hans just bats them away like they're annoying flies. The impact shakes the room. A healer starts casting, trying to keep the knights in the fight. Hans is annoyed. Heinrich steps in to protect the Saintess. She grabs his arm. She wants to analyze the power first. Heinrich is internally screaming because his plan was to fake a fight with his other self to buy time, and she's ruining the choreography. Hans keeps up the evil overlord act, telling them the fragment is his. He considers blowing them all away, but he actually doesn't want to kill the innocents if he can help it. The Saintess launches a holy light attack. It's fast. Hans has to actually try for a second. He realizes the Saintess's incantations are high tier. If he hadn't boosted his regeneration, he'd be in trouble. He decides to take down the command tower first. He lunges for the senior knight. The knight blocks it instantly. Hans is confused. How are they reading his movements so perfectly? The knight mocks him for not being fully merged yet. The Saintess rallies the team. We can do this! They're trying to overwhelm his regen with a combo attack. Hans calls it an obvious trick. He prepares a counter, but then he sees something in the knight's eyes. Binding magic. The knight is stunned. How the hell? He doesn't understand how Hans read every single movement. Korthwall cut to Heinrich. I'm sorry, senior. I just heard the plan in my head. Yeah, because he is both people. He's literally stream sniping himself. Hans laughs. Too late! The shards finally merge into a single, pulsing heart. The mana explosion is absolute. The energy is so heavy the knights can barely breathe. The Saintess realizes they are far, far too late. The silhouette in the smoke isn't just a lich anymore. You dogs of the Order, tremble in fear. Achievement unlocked, Transcendence. Behold the calamity of Auterica. The immortal king has officially returned to the server. The church's elite guards are sprinting toward the sealing chamber like they actually stand a chance. They skid to a halt, and there he is. Hans, looking like a final boss that just hit the level cap. Sir Pion is trying to keep the Saintess's hopes up, claiming this sacred space suppresses the lich. He's ready to stake his life on it, which in this series is basically just volunteering to be a speed bump. Hans just laughs. He's been waiting for the audience to arrive before starting the show. He's looking at them through his UI, mocking the fact that they can't see how cooked they really are. The system pings. Achievement accomplished. He's got instant death immunity and his heart has evolved into the immortal heart. He invites them to witness the power of the immortal king, and he starts with the Eye of Darkness. It's basically a massive debuff aura. One look and these knights are drowning in fear and confusion. Plus, it turns any low-level demons nearby into his personal puppets. Pion screams for everyone to look away, but the damage is already done. Hans decides to raise the stakes. Rise, my legion! Every bone and corpse in the room starts vibrating. He stitches them together into a corpse golem. It's a massive, multi-skulled wrecking ball, and it flattens the front line in one swing. Hans calls them pathetic. He's really leaning into the roleplay now. The Saintess is trembling. She thinks this is the end of the world. She tries to pull herself together, realizing the entire continent is at risk. She turns to her last hope, our boy Heinrich. She hands him her token. She tells him to retreat and become stronger to stop the king later. It's a classic save-yourself moment, and Heinrich looks properly conflicted. She orders the remaining knights to clear a path for him. She's literally ready to sacrifice everyone just so her favorite knight can escape. The knights charge, and Hans treats them like buzzing flies. He prepares to wipe them all out in one go, but then he notices something. Payan tries a desperate move, and Hans catches him by the throat. Hans is confused. Why is this guy smiling while being choked out? Payan says he'd gladly die if it means saving the hope of the church. Hans shrugs. As you wish. He prepares to crush Payan's skull, but a fist comes flying out of nowhere and cracks Hans right in the mask. The impact sends the lich sliding across the floor. It's Heinrich. He used a leap blessing to enter the fray. The acting here is top tier. He's looking at his other self with pure heroic intensity. He charges again, swords clashing with his own skeletal hands. Hans mocks him. Your movements are good, but your sword is too dull to pierce me. He stabs Heinrich right through the chest. Heinrich is internally checking his HP. Okay, great, it only pierced the armor. That was a close one. The knights and the saintess are screaming. She doesn't understand why he didn't run. Heinrich unloads the most cliché hero speech in existence. He says he didn't join the church to save his own skin while his comrades die. The lighting, the blood, the conviction, he's basically asking for an Oscar. Did you say my sword is dull? The system pings. He's achieved enlightenment. He unlocks the third blessing, Sword of Light. His blade ignites with holy energy, and he lunges. He drives the sword right through Hans's chest. Hans is impressed. The emotional line was indeed top-notch. The saintess is in tears. She thinks she's witnessing a miracle. Hans asks for his name. Hans triggers his instant death immunity and starts to dissipate into smoke. He promises to remember that name before vanishing. Heinrich stands there, looking exhausted and cool. He lets himself collapse, just to sell the "I used all my mana" angle. He hits the floor hard. Payan catches him, calling it a resurrection of the Chosen One. The saintess is literally applauding. A heroic tale for the ages. Meanwhile, our guy Seong-hyun is back in his room, leaning back on the couch. He's satisfied. The play is over. Now it's time to collect the check. His karma just shot up by 1,000,000 points. He doesn't even hesitate. He buys the unique skill enhancement for 800k. He unlocks a new special skill, customizing. He's curious. He's always been more of a creative player. He opens the menu and starts looking at Hans's model. The customization skill opens up two major paths for Song-hyun: avatar creation and avatar modification. Modification lets him change the hair, horns, and stats of existing builds. Upgraded creation lets him set the base appearance once, and it's permanent. But the thing that really catches his eye is the gender selection option. He swears he has no weird intentions. He's just pressing it out of curiosity. Sure, buddy, we believe you. Turns out he can't select it yet. Feature locked. Then he sees medium selection. If he consumes a specific item, he can create a related race. He looks at the world tree branch Cecily gave him. It was a nice air purifier, but an elf avatar is worth more than fresh air. The branch is detected. The system starts cooking, and an elf clone is created instantly. Song-hyun dives into the facial sculpting. He makes him stunningly handsome. Long, slender limbs. The works. He dumps all the stat points into nature affinity, because that's the meta for spirit mages. He names him Harris, child of the world tree. Seong-hyun is feeling himself. But then Harris's expression goes sour. This is extremely unpleasant. He's coughing and clutching his throat. Seong-hyun realizes what's wrong. Hans is standing right next to him. Hans's dark mana is literally poisoning Harris's nature-based body. He unsummons Hans immediately. He almost lost a brand new avatar because of a mana clash. Note to self, don't let the lich and the elf share a room. He decides to save Harris for later. He reaches for another reference on his bookshelf. Conan the Baba. He wants to write the legend of a mercenary king. Transition to the city of Tarak. We open on some very fluffy gray ears. The barbarian avatar Holly is wiggling his wolf hood for a local girl. She loves it. He's currently the most popular guy in the city of artisans. He's walking through Tarak, checking out the local shops. He hears that some thugs have been causing trouble at Hubert's shop. He finds a guy at a bar, spitting on the floor and insulting southern people. Holly looms over him like a mountain of muscle. He asks who dares to disgrace the southerners. The thug tries to hit him with a wooden club, and Holly just breaks the weapon with his bare forearm. The thug is terrified. Holly looks at the rest of the bar. He realizes these guys are actual southern warriors. They're all staring at him. He realizes if he builds a reputation here, he can become the hero of the South. It's the perfect cover for his next major play. The local warriors tell him to put on some proper clothes. Apparently, wearing a wolf skin is only for festivals. The lead warrior gets heated. He's insulted by Holly's lack of tattoos. He challenges Holly to a traditional southern duel. Holly agrees, but with a condition. All three of you, come at me at once. They think he's insulting their honor. Holly corrects them. Actually, only two of you should attack. The third one needs to be ready to pick the other two up when they fall. They charge in a blind rage. Holly sends them flying across the square in one hit. It's not even a contest. The tattooed warrior is confused. With that much skill, why doesn't Holly have a warrior's mark? Holly puts on his best tragic hero face. He tells them there's a reason he has no mark. About 20 years ago, his tribe held a duel for the next chieftain. His father was the strongest warrior. He won with honor. The tribe offered him one wish. His father looked at the chieftain's daughter and said, "I will not marry her!" She was furious. She called him an insolent fool. His reason? "You and I are actually blood-related siblings." She turned to the chieftain, but the old man just covered his face in shame. "It's true. You aren't my real daughter." The drama is unreal. The chieftain ordered the guards to kill his father for exposing the family secret. His father told his pregnant mother to run. She couldn't fight because she was carrying Holly. His father died a heroic death alone against the entire tribe. His mother hid in a cave and raised him in secret. And she just passed away from illness, leaving him all alone. That's why he has no mark. No tribe to give him one. The southern warriors are absolutely bawling. They're hugging him, apologizing for their misunderstanding. "You are the truest southern warrior of all!" Holly just smiles into the wolf hood. That was some insane acting. Cheers. Nothing builds a bond faster than a few rounds of drinks. Our guy Holly is currently at a tavern in Tarak, surrounding himself with southern warriors who think he's the second coming of the war god. He's double-dipping on the tragic backstory, telling them how he had absolutely nothing left after his mother passed away. Then, he drops the "one person who helped me" line. Enter Hubert, or as the MC calls him, a young merchant who is now my closest friend. In reality, Hubert is just the MC's other alt account, but the southern warriors don't need to know that. He tells them Hubert is being threatened by thugs, and you can see the rage building in these meatheads. The bait is taken. An enemy of our brother is an enemy of us all. Look at those fake tears. This man belongs in Hollywood. Group hug. The MC has successfully recruited a squad of high-level bodyguards for the price of a few beers. Internally, he's just smirking. Using pushovers, I mean trustworthy subordinates, is the meta way to play. Now it's time for the creative economy project. The plan is genius. Import pepper from Earth where it's cheap, and sell it here as a luxury spice. Then take the Auterica Magi tools back to Earth to sell as miracles. It's basically interdimensional arbitrage. The southern warriors head off to Hubert's shop, ready to break some skulls. Holly is satisfied. One problem handled. Time for the next debut. Switching perspectives to the Roselia Grand Temple. Harris, our elf avatar, shows up at the gate. He introduces himself as a mercenary and a friend of Harley. He wants an audience with the elf envoys. He presents a letter of introduction. Look at this drawing. It's literally a stick figure barbarian with a wolf hat. Somehow, the guards think this is legitimate handwriting. The Harley brand is really doing heavy lifting here. He's guided to the VIP lodgings. And we meet a familiar face, Rappery Granwood. Rappery is the star pupil high elf we saw earlier. He's polite, but he's checking Harris out. Harris is internally sweating. It's tough pretending you don't recognize a guy you were tracking 2 chapters ago. But Harris notices something weird. Rappery's eyes are glowing. He's using his high elf vision to scan Harris's soul. They sit down for tea, and Rappery notices the bracelet. It's the one Rappery gave Harley earlier. Harris tries to play it cool, offering to return it if it's an issue. Rappery waves it off. He's more interested in why Harris is here. Harris plays the lonely orphan card again, asking to learn how to harness the power of nature. Rappery goes silent. He sees the mana aura around Harris. It's pure. Too pure. He asks Harris to step outside for some fresh air. The atmosphere shifts. Rappery says he can't teach Harris because he's leaving soon. But then he drops the invitation. Consider coming with us to the Elven Kingdom. Harris acts surprised, but this is exactly what he wanted. The Enamel Continent. The land of elves. The ultimate high-tier zone. Harris points out he doesn't have the qualifications. Rappery gets uncomfortably close. He says there's one exception, people who possess the qualities of a high elf. He stares into Harris's eyes, and the world starts to blur. Low down. Mystery beat. Harris feels a pull. It's not just mana, it's like his entire existence is being sucked into a vortex. He wakes up in a mental realm. It's purer than anything he's ever felt. He sees a leaf floating in the air. Then he looks up. A pink-haired woman is sitting on a massive branch. She looks like she's carved from the forest itself. Is she the goddess? No. Harris realizes this is the world tree. She floats down, her feet barely touching the mana water. She's looking at Harris with a smile that's both gentle and terrifying. Harris tries to speak, but she just puts a hand on his cheek. The contact sends a shockwave through his system. Why is the source of all elven life acting like a doting big sister? Harris is completely lost. My child, come. The spirit tells him to come to the Elven Kingdom. Harris snaps back to reality. The leaf is gone. The spirit is gone. He's reaching out to thin air, trying to process what just happened. The vision was too vivid to be a dream. He looks at his hand, still feeling the warmth of the contact. Rappery is standing there, smiling. He knows Harris felt it. Harris asks if that was the world tree. Rappery confirms it. The tree took a form most familiar to elves to greet him. He tells Harris that the world tree has taken a special interest in him. Harris is internally panicking. First the main god, now the world tree? The MC realized he's accidentally speedrunning the Chosen One questline on his side account. Fashion, fast gear shift. Back in Tarok, things are less mystical and more punchy. A group of thugs is surrounding a shop. Hubert is sitting there, calmly drinking tea, while a massive dude threatens to kill him. He offers the guy a cup. Pure, I'm in control energy. The thug smacks the cup out of his hand. He demands Hubert leave the city today or die. Hubert just smiles. My friends seem to enjoy the tea, though. Asked, combat start. A fist comes out of the shadows and buries itself in the thug's face. Holly has arrived. The thugs are losing their minds. Where did these giants come from? The southern warriors are having a blast, treating this like a light warm-up. It's not a fight, it's a cleaning service. Later that evening, the shop is safe. Hubert is hosting a dinner for the boys. Ruang stands up, looking at Holly with respect. He says that after today's fight, Holly definitely needs an imprint. He shows off his own warrior imprint. It's a magical tattoo that boosts stats. He mentions a southern shaman nearby who can do it. Holly's eyes light up. A permanent stat buff? Sign me up. He drags Ruang out the door before the guy can even finish his drink. He's sprinting through the streets, Ruang tucked under his arm like a football. They reach the shaman's place, but it's not a peaceful visit. The same thugs from earlier are harassing an old woman. They're demanding protection fees from a shaman who clearly has no money. The leader has her by the collar. He's complaining about having a rough day. He's about to hit her, but he hears a voice behind him. He turns around and sees Holly. The guy's soul basically leaves his body. Holly doesn't even use a weapon, just a straight punch to the gut. He greets the old woman casually. Hello there. I came for an imprint. The thugs are scattered on the floor. Holly says they'll go home once they wake up, probably with fewer teeth. The shaman is impressed, if a bit annoyed by the noise. They head inside. She warns him, an imprint gives power, but it consumes life force. She looks at Holly and her eyes narrow. Monster-like vitality. She mentions the Battle King imprint, the ultimate tattoo. But then she kills the mood. She doesn't know how to do it. It's been lost for centuries. Holly settles for the Great Warrior imprint Ruang mentioned. She says that's difficult too. She's short on materials, and she hasn't done it in years. More importantly, you need karma to engrave it. She smiles. At minimum, you'd need to defeat the ogre in the northern mountains. The Iron Fortress. The Ogre King. Ruang is panicking. An ogre? Are you trying to get him killed? He describes the monster. Its head is as big as a man. Holly just reaches into his inventory and pulls out a massive, bleached skull. The shaman nearly drops her pipe. Holly's ego is at peak level right now. The shaman is speechless. She tells him to come back in a few days. She claims she needs to eat well to regain her strength for the engraving. Holly's ears perk up. Food? Recovery is my specialty. He vanishes before she can even finish her sentence. She's left standing there, wondering if she just sent a kid to his doom, or if she's about to get a 5-star meal. We cut to an alleyway. The thug leader is sitting on the ground, crying, when a boot hits him in the face. Holly is back. I feel like I'm seeing you a lot today. The thug is terrified. He thinks Holly is some kind of vengeful spirit. Holly explains, you messed with our shaman. Bad move. The thug starts apologizing, claiming he didn't know the old lady was important. Holly delivers one final corrective punch. You better keep your promise about not doing it again. Ruang and the boys show up. What now, young? Holly kicks open a warehouse door. It's the thug's loot stash, packed with high-quality meat. We start with a very intense cleaning session. Grandma the shaman is just trying to sweep her porch when the muscle squad arrives. Holly shows up carrying enough booze and meat to supply a frat house for a month. He's all smiles, asking if this is enough recharge for her to stay healthy. Grandma is looking at him and seeing a ghost. She claims meat is too tough for her to chew at her age, but she agrees to try a little since he went through the trouble. A little was a lie. She is absolutely demolishing that meat and chugging wine like a pro athlete. Look at that stack of plates. She seriously finished the entire inventory. Now that her stamina bar is full, it's time to get to work on that engraving. She warns him, the process is painful. Like, don't scream in front of the boys, painful. Holly lies down on the bed, acting like he's just there for a spa day. He starts to say he's used to procedures on a bed, and she immediately shoves a stuffed doll into his mouth. My son used to bite this, she says. Charming. She tries to start the engraving, and we hit our first problem. Holly's skin is too tough. The needle literally won't go in. Grandma realized she needs to stop playing around. She goes full top-notch tribal head shaman mode. The mana flare is insane. The system pings. You have acquired the Chalco-style combat symbol. The Great Warrior crest is now permanent. Holly checks the stats. It's way more efficient than his bio aura. At this level, he could probably beat an ogre to death with a pool noodle. But the shaman collapses right after. She's worn out. She used everything she had to pierce that plot armor skin. She tells him she just needs a little rest, but our guy knows better. He turns to Ruwang with a dead serious face. "We need more meat!" If Grandma is going to finish the other crests, her protein intake needs to be legendary. Grandma is internally screaming. She just wants to sleep, and these meatheads are planning a second barbecue. Switching to Auterica, we see the hero Heinrich in bed. The Saintess is right there, praying for him with everything she's got. Cardinal Pion walks in and tells her to take it easy. She can't. Her heart won't let her rest after seeing what this man did. She's describing him like a literal god. The birth of a new hero. Then Heinrich wakes up and drops a smooth line. "You flatter me, Your Eminence." He credits the Saintess's care for his recovery. The riz is off the charts. The Saintess officially proclaims him the hero of Auterica. The hero and the Demon King have officially been cast in their lead roles. He's literally playing a co-op game with himself. Switching to Earth. Now, time for the Dark Hero to fulfill his duties. Haho Mask is standing on a skyscraper, looking down at Seoul. He's using contagious ministry magic to track the filthy stains of evildoers. He's not just a vigilante, he's a gardener weeding out the trash. He moves. And the streets of Seoul are about to get real quiet. We cut to a hospital. Sirens everywhere. The staff is panicking because the Haho Mask victims are piling up. These aren't just beaten-up criminals, they're cursed. Enter An Seongjin, the government's expert black mage. He's looking at a victim who's basically a vegetable. He calls the Haho Mask an utterly insane monster. The pure dark magic is beyond human comprehension. The guy's soul has been enslaved. His team leader is skeptical, but Seongjin is terrified. He says he's nowhere near that level. The team leader realizes they might have a world-ending threat on their hands. Seongjin decides to take a closer look at the curse. He touches the purple mana, history beat, low, and the connection goes both ways. He feels a presence. The Haho Mask is looking back at him through the mana. Seongjin falls back, gasping for air. "I feel like I have to die right now." That bastard. The Haho Mask. He saw him. Seongjin is having a full-blown existential crisis on the hospital floor. The team leader asks if he has a way to deal with the mask. Seongjin's plan? "If I just die now, I can peacefully pass on to the afterlife." The team leader has to remind him that the mask only goes after villains. Seongjin calms down instantly. "Oh, hearing it like that makes me feel better." He promptly faints. Switching to Haho Mask, he's watching from a distance, amused. He thinks the black mage is actually pretty capable. He wouldn't mind meeting him again. The morning after, we cut to Song-hyun's apartment. He's browsing the Haho Mask gallery on the internet. Netizens are going wild, calling him a dark hero. Our guy is not happy. Fame makes it harder to operate. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. "Your chicken delivery is here." Song-hyun opens the door and it's Kang Taesan. Taesan walks in like he owns the place, checking out the kitchen. It's been ages since he showed up, and he's annoyed by Song-hyun's reaction. This is the last person our guy wants to see, because Taesan is an agent for the Ability Management Bureau. But he's also his only childhood friend, the one who came looking for him when he was hiding. Taesan notices something different. "It's like you found a reason to live again?" Seongyun says you can't cling to the past forever. His parents wouldn't have wanted that. Taesan lights up. He's been worrying about him this whole time. Seongyun mentions he even goes out sometimes now. Yeah, mostly to collect souls. Taesan gets serious. He tells Seongyun he can finally tell him something. He cracks open a beer. "You know why I joined the Criminal Investigation Division?" Seongyun knows. It was the accident that killed his family. Everyone said it was a random attack by an awakened. Taesan reveals the truth, the Divine Retribution Society. They've been working in the shadows for a long time, and the Haho Mask just gave the Bureau their first lead. Seong-hyun is internally sweating. Giving hints to the Bureau, "Did I overdo it?" Taesan tells him to keep it a secret. He doesn't want to end up in jail. Seong-hyun asks why the Bureau is hunting Haho Mask if he's doing a good job. Taesan slams the table. Seong-hyun is relieved. Taesan is officially on the mask's side. They raise a toast to Han Seong-hyun's new beginning. Then Taesan finds Seong-hyun's notebook. He starts laughing at the story. A hero and a demon king? Way too cliché. He calls the name Hans seriously lame and cringe. He suggests making it an abbreviation for something like Hannibal Strauss. Seong-hyun actually likes it. That's actually kinda good. Taesan's phone rings. Duty calls. He's gotta head out. He heads for the door, but Seong-hyun stops him. "Your grandma is doing okay, right?" Taesan stops. His hand tightens on the doorknob. To be honest, her condition's gotten a lot worse. He tells Seong-hyun to start preparing himself emotionally. "Just focus on writing your stuff. I'll handle things." The door closes. Seong-hyun is left in the quiet. He remembers Taesan's grandma. She treated him like her own grandchild, feeding them, taking care of the little things when he was alone. She is one of the few warm memories he has left. And now she's dying while he's playing video games in his head. He feels useless. A friend who was there for him is suffering, and he's just sitting there. Taesan is going to owe him an apology for mocking his cringe characters. Because the hero of Auterica has something the modern medical world doesn't: holy healing. Alright, so the current quest is simple: save the grandma. But Seong-Hyun has a logistical nightmare. He can't just spawn Heinrich, the Holy Knight, in the middle of Seoul without the government asking some very annoying questions. While he waits for the right timing to bridge that gap, he decides to check in on his alt account projects. Specifically, the kids he rescued from the blood farm. Aaron is currently struggling with a bag of groceries until a very familiar boot stops his runaway apple. Look at that face. It's Uncle Heinz, the guy who owns the city and probably your soul. The kids notice he looks a little different since his True Blood evolution, but he's still the same guy who paid their tuition. Diana, being the sharp one, realizes this isn't just a social call. Heinz tries to play it off for a second, but these kids are basically his unofficial junior spies now. He reaches into his coat and pulls out the "I need a favor" gold coins. He wants their help with information gathering, and Diana is more than happy to get back into the game. Cut to the Heterosis clan headquarters. Heinz is dumping a mountain of loot on the table like he just finished a legendary raid. Jin Soran is losing her mind. She's looking at high-tier magical tools from Auterica that shouldn't even exist on Earth. Meanwhile, the pepper economy is still booming. He casually mentions that the purge is over. Every vampire who tried to hide or fake a surrender, deleted. He tells Soran she's in charge of the administration now. She's terrified, wondering if she can actually manage a whole clan, but Heinz hits her with the "I trust you" buff. It's super effective. She's ready to run through a brick wall for him. Our guy realizes he's using drama tropes to manage his employees, and honestly, if it works, it works. Now, it's time to go on the offensive. Based on Diana's intel, he tracks down a local vampire hideout, the Brokoslack clan base. He walks in like he owns the place. The guards don't even see him before they're kissing the floor. Inside, we find Rosilica. She is currently mid-glass of blood, complaining about being a lonely drunk. Heinz deactivates his stealth and calls her out immediately. She's confused, asking who this random guy is, and even offers him a drink. Except the drink is her own blood, which she's using as a medium for a sneak attack. The blood turns into a binding spell mid-air, but Heinz just stares at it like it's a mildly annoying fly. She lunges for a punch, but Heinz just reverses the magic. Her own blood binds her instead. She realizes she's dealing with a True Blood. She starts screaming about treaty violations, so Heinz decides to just lie and say he's from a distant branch family. She actually falls for it because she's already half drunk. He tells her to cooperate, and when she talks back, he reminds her who the Alpha is. Consent is not an option here. He forces her into submission and starts the interrogation. She spills everything about Lady Frisia, the True Blood, who actually runs this district. Frisia is known for her demonic eyes. We see her now, having tea like a refined lady while looking down on the humans she calls lowly bodies. Her butler mentions the church is gaining influence, but she isn't worried. This city already belongs to her clan. Then, her butler starts coughing up something that isn't tea. Heinz is already in the room. He's standing behind her before she can even blink. She looks at him and realizes he's powerful, but assumes he's just another branch blood looking for a fight. She tells him he's out of his league, and activates her demonic eyes. Red light fills the room, but Heinz just smiles. The eyes don't work. And in the vampire world, if your eyes don't work on someone, you're officially in the find-out stage of mess around. Frisia is panicking. She wants to know what his objective is. Heinz, being the capitalist king he is, tells her he's here to take everything. She laughs it off, reminding him that she's also a True Blood. She moves. Fast. Heinz barely has time to react before she's on him. He expected a mage, but she hits him with a physical combo that sends him flying. Turns out the lady with the parasol is a secret martial artist. She doesn't give him room to breathe. The parasol hides a blade, and she's carving him up. She builds up a massive blood wave to finish him off. Heinz realizes he needs to stop playing around. The wave hits, shattering everything in its path, but Heinz is already gone. He takes the hit and lands on the ground, looking defeated. She walks up to finish the job, but he's smiling again. This man's neck was literally broken a second ago. She stares in horror as his body just snaps back into place. Welcome to hybrid evolution. She realizes she's dealing with a monster. Heinz gives her a backhanded compliment on her skills, then offers her a job. Follow me, and I'll make you stronger. She finds that insulting, lunging for one last desperate strike, but her body stops mid-air. A massive magic circle appears beneath her feet. He used the blood from his own wounds to set a trap. He's not a fighter, he's a mage. He snaps his fingers, and blood spikes erupt. Then comes the Rafalashi. He injects her with a concentrated dose of vampire-enhancing drug. It's enough to make even a True Blood scream. The power surge is violent. She collapses, swearing she'll never forgive him. But then she feels it. Her stats are hitting the ceiling. She's never felt this powerful in her life. She thinks she can finally take him out now, so she swings, and her fist stops an inch from his face. She can't move. It's like she's being held by invisible chains. This is blood domination. By injecting her with his blood and magic, he has effectively become her administrator. Now the real question, where is your clan lord? Her mouth moves against her will. The Duke Bright household. She's crying from the humiliation of being a good servant, while Heinz is already planning the next heist. Cut to a massive castle on a cliffside. Inside, Duke Bright is reading in the dark. Frisia walks in to give her report. She tries to act natural, but the Duke is sharp. He doesn't even look up from his book before asking about the uninvited guest standing in her shadow. Heinz drops his concealment. The Duke closes his book, looking deeply disappointed. He looks at Frisia with eyes that could freeze fire. So, you've turned traitor. Duke Mullo is currently in his disappointed parent phase. He's looking at Frisia like she just came home with a failing grade, but more importantly, he smells the betrayal. Literally. He lunges at her with the intent to delete her character file, but Heinz steps in and catches the attack like it's a delivery package. Mullo's internal monologue just hit a 404 error. Deflecting a lord's strike with one hand? Heinz just sighs. He really wanted to settle this with a handshake and a contract, but since Mullo wants to be a classic villain, he's going to get treated like one. Mullo activates his domain, the Brokoslak Blood Mist. He starts summoning his children, essentially calling for backup from every vassal in the house. He's screaming for them to feast, expecting a literal army to swarm the room. Frisia is ready to scrap, but Mullo stops mid-monologue. Something is definitely wrong with the head count. Only a dozen people show up. The rest of the castle? Silent. He looks at Frisia like she's a magician who just made his entire staff disappear. She just shrugs and drops the umbrella. Sorry, my lord. Your staff has been scouted by a better CEO. Mullo is losing it. He can't comprehend his subordinates choosing a new bloodline without a fight. To him, this is cannibalism. This is a violation of every vampire law in the book. He's literally vibrating with rage. Heinz just gives him that smug, I'm the protagonist look. He tells him it's possible because he's collateral bloodline, which Mullo finds insulting. The Duke doubles down on his blood mist, trying to suffocate the room. He's going full bear witness mode. Heinz feels the weight. His body is twice as heavy and his head is spinning. It's a legit debuff, but Mullo isn't done. He calls for his ace in the hole. A red portal opens, and we get a name, Obor. This kid wakes up looking like he just finished a 12-hour sleep and is very annoyed about the alarm. He's holding a scythe that's twice his size and standing in a pool of blood. He takes one look at the situation and realizes the Lord is getting bullied. Mullo screams for him to wipe everyone out. Obor just sighs. Fine, give me a second. He blurs. He's behind them before the frame even updates. Heinz realizes this kid is an assassin type. Obor swings the scythe at Frisia, but Heinz pops acceleration to close the gap. He catches the kid with a binding spell mid-swing. Obor is genuinely shocked. Using blood magic inside Mullo's domain? That's like hacking the server you're playing on. Obor breaks free and resets. He goes for Mullo's flank, but Heinz is already there, blocking the path. Our guy is actually struggling a bit here. Obor is fast, even for an MC. Heinz decides he needs to handle the kid before he can touch the Duke. Acceleration again. They start trading blows at speeds the human eye would just see as a loading screen. Mullo is watching this like a spectator at an esports final. Obor gets a clean opening and slices through Heinz's arm. Mullo steps in, pinning Obor's head to the ground for some discipline. Frisia jumps in to take Obor's attention. Mullo is confused. Frisia is matching Obor's speed? While everyone is distracted by the flashy combat, Heinz walks right into Mullo's personal barrier. The Duke thinks he's won. Heinz just grins, but he uses the opening to grab Mullo. Mullo is horrified. You threw away your arm just to grab me? Heinz just looks at his stump and scoffs. As if, do you know how frugal I am with my assets? The arm grows back instantly. Pure flex. Heinz leans in, whispering like a debt collector. I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to inherit your title. Meanwhile, deep in the basement of the estate, there is a coffin surrounded by ritual flames. The lid creaks open. Meet Phrygia. Long black hair, thorny crown, looks like she's the original owner of the castle. She's tired. She just wants 5 more minutes of sleep, but she realizes something. Her children are currently getting restructured by a new boss. She wakes up. And when she wakes up, the vibe of the entire castle shifts. Back in the Duke's office, the takeover is in full swing. Heinz is literally patching the clan members. He's injecting them with refined blood crystals. It's like he's running an assembly line for upgrades. He's exhausted. Grinding is always the hardest part of the game. Mullo, who is now his very reluctant subordinate, asks if he's done with the capital vassals. Heinz slips into casual gamer speak for a second before remembering he has to maintain the Lord persona. Watching Mullo seethe while having to say yes my lord is pure satisfaction. Heinz's hypothesis was correct. Draining their blood lowered their level, making them safe to re-spec with his crystals. Finally, he's claimed Brokoslak. He reflects for a moment. He went from getting bitten by accident in a basement to ruling the most powerful clan in the region. It's a different era now. He calls Mullo over. New mission, gather every remaining Brokoslack member from across the land. And one more thing, he wants a full intel network on the continent. He tells Mullo to build it or buy it, he doesn't care about the method, just the results. The stakes are high, and he needs to know where the DRS is hiding. Mullo mentions Phrygia. He tells Hines that he's already proven himself, and that he'll support the Vampire King goal. Hines just smirks. Good, don't make me fire you. As soon as he leaves the room, our guy cringes. Did I really just say that? I'm getting too into the roleplay, but hey, becoming a Vampire King? It's a solid career path for an alt account. Cut back to the real world. Seoul, South Korea. Song-hyun is at his PC, tweaking his Archlich avatar. He's obsessing over the brow ridge intensity in the jawline. He wants the Immortal King to look like the final boss he actually is. He rolls back in his chair. Vampire stage clear. He's got his 3-star rating and a loyal clan. Now, for the best part of any game, payout time. He opens the Karma shop. Current balance? 1,393,934 points. He's basically a whale in his own reality. He ignores the stat boosts and goes straight for unique skill enhancement. A blinding light fills his apartment. 2 status windows pop up. He's expecting an avatar limit increase, but the screen says, choose a medium. He's panicked for a second. 900,000 karma for a choice? But then he reads the skill name, Entity Projection. This is the game breaker. Usable once per day, he can project one of his avatar's powers into his own human body. Every skill from the Lich, the Knight, the Barbarian, and the Vampire, Song-hyun swallows hard. The grandma just got a literal 100% survival rate guarantee. So, Seong-hyun is looking at his character select screen like it's a pre-game lobby. He's got the Lich, the Knight, the Vampire, the Barbarian, and the Elf all lined up. The new skill, Entity Projection, is the ultimate bring your work home tool. He realizes that if he uses this right, he could technically have 2 Immortal Kings existing at once. But since that would probably trigger a world-ending event or a server-wide patch, he decides to keep Hans on the bench for now. The first test subject is the Holy Knight Heinrich. He clicks confirm, and the transformation is instant. He's standing in his bedroom in full silver armor. The divine power is only at 50% because of the Earth server lag, and he's only got 10 minutes on the clock. Standard dungeon timer logic. Let's move. He arrives at the hospital under the cover of night. He's wearing a hoodie and a mask over his gear, looking like a suspicious cosplayer. He enters the room where Taeson's grandmother is sleeping. She looks frail, barely hanging on with modern medicine. Song-hyun hasn't visited in a while because he didn't have a solution. Now, he does. He activates the projection. The room fills with a warm golden glow as he casts the Auterica Divine technique. He pours every drop of divine energy into recovery, stamina, and detoxification. The visual indicators show it's working. Her breathing steadies. He collapses onto a stool, exhausted. Even with god-tier magic, you can't completely delete old age, but he's given her a fighting chance. Quest updated, stay healthy, Grandma. Meanwhile, in the fantasy world, Harris is deep in the woods. He's hanging out with Rapori and Cecily, acting like he's just a normal elf. Rapori mentions he smells familiar, which triggers Song-hyun's identity leak alarm. Fortunately, it's just the scent of the world tree branch his body is made of. Crisis averted. They decide to take a break, but being an elf isn't just about looking pretty in a forest. Rapori wants to see Harris's spirit magic. Cecily is excited to show off, and she summons a water spirit instantly. Look at that little blue blob. Pure aesthetic. Cecily is a natural, but when Harris tries, nothing. Just a gentle breeze and total embarrassment. He's got maxed out stats, so he starts wondering if he's a fake elf defect. Rapori steps in with the tutorial dialogue. Don't just summon them, you have to form a bond first. Essentially, don't treat them like a tool, treat them like a teammate. Seong-hyun realizes he got the order wrong. Typical pro-gamer mistake, skipping the tutorial. He focuses, unleashing his nature affinity, and boom, new skill acquired, spirit magic. He summons a lightning spirit that looks like a very angry sun. He names it Watt. Creative. I hope he summons a Kilo next. Break time is over. Rapori is opening the path. In this world, every forest is connected to the world tree. High elves can basically use the trees as a fast travel network. It's like teleportation but with more leaves. Cecily is going through it too. Harris is impressed. This is way better than the church's expensive teleport gates. They step through the light and arrive at the real world tree. It's massive. But before they can even admire the view, Cecily starts glowing. Welcome to the Elven Kingdom. Drasha. Cecily is currently center stage for a high elf awakening ceremony. Overwhelming natural energy is swarming her like a storm. A fruit from the world tree appears, the literal XP candy of this race. She's becoming a true high elf right in front of Harris. Harris realizes he can't just watch. He's a gamer. He sees free energy on the floor and he starts vacuuming it up. Conditions met. New skill, nature affinity. Now he can grow stronger just by breathing forest air. Rapori catches him and laughs. The World Tree actually likes Harris and gives him a holy relic, a small plant accessory. Harris asks if Rapery got one during his ceremony too. Rapery gets this nostalgic, rom-com look on his face. He turned his relic into a ring and used it to propose to his wife. Smooth move, old man. The ceremony ends, and Cecily goes into a stabilization nap. Rapery is relieved. He's looking to retire soon, which shocks Harris. How old is this guy? Elven retirement ages must be insane. Time jump. Harris is now enrolled in the Elven Academy. He expected a peaceful forest village. He got a high-end private school full of gossipy teenagers. They're all asking him about the savage continent and the evil humans. He tries to act cool, mentioning he was a mercenary, until a blue-haired girl tells them all to shut up. Meet Lady Chaperon. She's the class president type who definitely reminds the teacher about homework. Harris is relieved she stopped the interrogation, until she looks at him with pure disgust and calls him mercenary trash. Classic school setting. There's always one. Cut to the royal castle. Rapery is reporting to the queen about the immortal King Hans. The elves are worried about a spatial traveling skeleton king invading their continent. The queen changes the subject to the impressive guy who came with Cecily. Rapery is basically Harris's biggest hype man right now. He's unusually excited about training him. The queen realizes Harris is at the academy, and Rapery hopes a certain sweet girl will be a good help to him. Back at the academy, Harris is vibing on a bench, soaking in the peace. He's genuinely considering quitting the save the world business just to be a full-time elf, until a book hits him in the face at Mach speed. Thud, it's Chaperon again. She's fuming. She tells him that elves with high nature sensitivity get lazy and soaked in the tree's peace. She's basically calling him a stoner for enjoying the weather. She throws a simplified book at him so he can understand the basics. She threatens to never forgive him if he drops the class average. Harris thinks she might not be a bad person, just intense, until he looks at her hand. She's wearing a ring that looks exactly like the holy relic Rapery described. Harris puts the pieces together. Rapery's daughter, the sweet girl. So, Harris is having a moment. He just realized that the girl calling him mercenary trash is the daughter of the guy who's been hyping him up. But hey, she gave him a textbook. It's basically a private tutoring session from the class topper. He decides to put his own spin on elven magic. He starts summoning spirits like he's filling out a Pokedex. Kali the fire spirit, Pascal the wind spirit, even Watt, his lightning spirit, is getting a rank up. Our guy realizes elven life is actually a breeze when you have maxed out affinity stats. His goal is simple: stay low profile and don't get tangled up with Chaperon. Naturally, the plot forces him into a group project with her. 10 minutes earlier, the teacher explains Elven Culture 101. Spirits love music and dancing. The academy is throwing a festival for Lady Cecily, and the students have to perform. Harris thinks about his cool side. He's a gamer. He knows how to farm aggro for attention. The teacher pairs them up, and the groups are evaluated based on how well they bond with spirits through performance. The team dynamic is awkward. The two other teammates, Timer Coffin and Curie, are just happy to be working with celebrities. Chaperon looks like she'd rather be anywhere else, challenging Harris to contribute anything useful. They're being dismissive, so Harris decides it's time to show them what a soul native can do. He realizes the bonding doesn't have to be traditional elven music. He offers a hometown song. He says his parents loved it, and he could never forget it. Chaperon tells him to prove himself. Little do they know, our guy used to be a karaoke legend with a 90+ average score. Chaperon is staring him down, convinced a mercenary doesn't know elven music, wondering why the World Tree acknowledged this guy. She warns him that if he messes up, he's accountable. Harris sets a condition: if they win, she has to teach him elven culture properly. She agrees, mostly just to shut him up. Then, Harris starts singing. He pulls out a lute and suddenly, new skill, melody of harmony. It's like the auto-tune of nature magic. The power of nature is literally stabilizing his vocal cords. The other students are stunned. They've never heard a beat like this. Chaperon's own spirits start reacting to this rootless music. She's blushing and shimmying her shoulders, even though she won't admit it. The song is so fire that his fire and wind spirits evolve in sync with the melody. They're ranking up mid-song. Then, the ground starts vibrating. Chaperon realizes it's a spirit of sound. A massive ripple of energy manifests in the physical realm. This is something elves almost never get to see. A phenomenon spirit. Harris just grins. Your name is Decibel. Decibel is a rare phenomenal realm spirit. According to Chaperon's book, these spirits are basically the special ops of the spirit world. The teammates are absolutely floored that a song could move a spirit's heart this much. They realize they have a guaranteed hit for the festival. Harris gives Chaperon a smug look, and she can't even argue. She just gives him a fine. They start the grind. Schedule, production, practice. Harris is ready to secure that elven W. Chaperon eventually pulls him aside, blushing, asking him to teach her the interesting instrument. Festival day. The VIP section is packed. Rapery is shaking like a leaf because his daughter is performing. The band takes the stage. The drumsticks click. The guitar, or elven lute, rips through the air. Harris is front and center, leading the charge. The crowd is silent for a split second, then the music hits. It's making people's hearts race. Chaperon is singing her heart out, looking like she's actually having fun for once. Even the background students are wondering if this is the same girl. The vibes are immaculate. They're using spirits for stage pyrotechnics and light shows. Rapery is so overwhelmed that he stands up and starts screaming, "That's my daughter!" to everyone in the audience. Harris is impressed with Chaperon's talent. She handled the instrument tuning like a pro. She's smiling. The Ice Queen has finally melted. The performance hits the climax. The whole group is in sync, and they end on a massive chord. The audience erupts. It's an encore-level performance. Chaperon is panting, totally immersed in the moment. Harris notes that his influence works well on other people too. Chaperon catches her dad cheering like a fanboy in the crowd. Harris asks her how it was. She bows and apologizes. "I misunderstood you. I lost the bet." Harris just won the most intense tutor in the kingdom. Rapery thinks Harris is going to have a huge impact on the kingdom. The Knight Avatar, Heinrich, arrives at the Saintess's office. He walks in, but the Saintess is preoccupied. She's reading a romance novel titled The Hero and the Saintess's Adventure. Our guy decides to pretend he didn't see her self-insert fanfiction. She gets serious and asks if he's heard of the Holy Sword. She reveals a church decree that was unanimously approved. "Sir Heinrich, please challenge the trial of the Holy Sword." Song Hyun's internal reaction? Jackpot. The church is desperate because of the immortal king's resurrection, which is just the MC's other account. The trial is at the Pikal Grand Temple. 300 years ago, the second immortal king destroyed the Salb Empire. The alliance of 4 kingdoms was founded on the ruins. Pikal was built on the exact spot where that immortal king was subdued. The previous hero defeated him, but couldn't destroy his heart. The Holy Sword is currently thrust into that heart to keep the abyss from spreading. But it's been 300 years, and the church thinks it's time to inherit the weapon. Seong Hyun realizes the irony. He's the new immortal king. He's going to trial for a sword that's currently stabbing one of his predecessors. He asks when he should leave. The Saintess has zero chill. Right now. Heinrich touches down at the Pikal Grand Temple. It's massive, it's white, it's glowing, it's basically the Apple Store of churches. And right on cue, the welcoming committee arrives. Meet Cardinal Donovan. He looks like a kind, grandfatherly figure, but he's currently gripping Heinrich's shoulder with the strength of a hydraulic press. Turns out, the cardinal is a bit of a Saintess simp. He's grieving the fact that his new job keeps him away from her. The grip gets tighter. He's not so subtly threatening to take care of anyone who messes with his favorite Saintess. The ground literally cracks under his feet. This guy is a high-level paladin, and he is very, very unstable. Anyway, back to business. Donovan pulls out a ceremonial blade and explains the rules. The trial can only be taken once a year. Most people fail. Most people die. Heinrich just puts on his best "I'm a humble hero" face and prays to a god he's currently catfishing. They head down into the basement, which looks more like a dungeon than a chapel. The cardinal warns him. The trial is different for everyone. Some people stay in there for weeks. Some never come out. They reach the trial gate. It's the point of no return. Heinrich gives a little smirk. "I'll be back with the sword," he says, with the confidence of a guy who already read the walkthrough. The doors open, the light blurs, and he steps into the void. First trial. Reach the goal within the time limit. Simple enough, right? Except the door is gone, and the hallway is infinitely long. Heinrich doesn't hesitate. He activates his leap blessing and starts moving. He's flying through this hallway like a speedrunner. 10 minutes pass, then an hour, then a day. Still no end. The time limit is a lie. He stops and thinks. The Saintess mentioned the trial fits the Lord's nature, and the scriptures say God always gives trials you can overcome on your own. In other words, it's not a race. It's a stamina check. It's about reaching your absolute, physical, true limit. If he needs to drain his stamina as fast as possible, running is too efficient. So he decides to spend the next several weeks doing bunny hops. 40 days later, the gate finally appears. Heinrich is looking like he just finished a 40-day gym session without a water break. But here is the exploit. He realized halfway through that time flows differently here. It's 10-1 compared to Auterica, and 100-1 compared to Earth. Most paladins would go insane from the isolation and the grind, but our guy has the mind hub. He was literally tabbed out, managing his other accounts while his body was on autopilot. As he passes the gate, the trial heals him completely. He feels stronger. His stats just got a permanent training arc buff. He actually thinks about staying and doing more bunny hops for another 10 days just to min-max. Elsewhere, things are getting dark. A group of cultists is busy sacrificing people to jumpstart the return of the immortal king. They want to open the abyss. They want to watch the world burn. They're playing with forces they don't understand, and they have no idea the guy they're summoning is currently bunny hopping through a basement for stat points. Second trial begins. Heinrich enters a massive glowing chapel. No enemies, no endless hallways, just silence and a cross. He knows the drill. If the first trial was the body, this one is the soul. Trial prompt. Pray to the Divine One. He kneels. Normally this is where a paladin proves their faith by pouring out their divine power until they collapse. Heinrich thinks he's got this in the bag. He's already got high-tier divine power. He starts filling the room with light, but the divine symbol doesn't react. It's asking for more. A lot more. Okay, time for the multi-account meta. He activates Mind Hub and Persona. He's not just praying as Heinrich anymore. He pulls the mental energy and faith from every single one of his avatars, and then, for the final touch, he dumps his main human body's power into the mix. The system breaks. He earns blessing amplification. His maximum divine power capacity just exploded. He's now sitting at a power level that would make an archbishop look like an intern. Trial 2. Cleared. Next stage. He's feeling good. Everything is going smoothly, he says. He walks through the next door, and the vibe changes instantly. Third trial. Eliminate the enemy. A shadow drops from the sky. Heinrich looks up and recognizes the silhouette immediately. It's tall. It's skeletal. It's wearing the robes of a king. Meet the Arch-Lich. Specifically, a subordinate of the former immortal king. The Lich starts monologuing. A hunter of the church? How did you get this far? Heinrich isn't scared. He's actually nostalgic. This thing looks exactly like his own Hans account before he upgraded it. The Lich raises his staff. The ground starts to heave. An army of undead crawls out of the dirt, screaming for blood. Now I have to face an undead army too? Heinrich asks. He's smiling. He's actually laughing at the trial creator. The Lich is confused. Why is this human muttering to himself? Your fussing ends here, the Lich shouts. The undead swarm. It's a literal wave of bone and rot. Heinrich doesn't even draw his sword. He's weaving through the crowd like he's playing a rhythm game on easy mode. The Lich is losing its mind. He can't land a single hit. Heinrich finally draws steel. A single flash of golden light, and half the army is purified instantly. The Lich stumbles back. This divine power? Are you an archbishop? The Lich tries one last desperate move. He unleashes a massive wave of dark skulls. Heinrich just watches them come. One clean vertical slash. The entire attack is deleted. The Lich is on his knees. Did you predict all my tactics? It's not a cheat code, Heinrich says. I just have a very talented tutor. He's talking about himself. He's talking about Hans. The Arch-Lich is still yapping. He thinks Heinrich's tutor talk is just a bluff to hide his fear. He's tired of the talking. He charges up a massive purple magic circle. Heinrich locks in. Death Bolt Rain. It's an AoE spam that should, logically, turn anything in that room into Swiss cheese. The Lich is already celebrating. He's doing the classic hey hey he villain laugh in the smoke. He bids farewell to the arrogant paladin, thinking the trial is over. Oh, was that your trump card? The smoke clears, and Heinrich is just standing there, stretching his neck like he just finished a light jog. He didn't block it. He didn't tank it. It just didn't hit him. The Lich is having a mechanical breakdown. This is a mere paladin. The math doesn't add up. Heinrich moves. He admits it's a bad matchup for the Lich. See, with the knowledge from his Hans account, every dark magic spell has a glowing "hit me here" sign on it. He closes the gap in a blink. One horizontal slash, clean, bright, and absolutely devastating. The Lich's physical form is torn apart by divine light. The skeleton falls into pieces. You have to destroy the core. He thinks he can just respawn and keep the cycle going. Heinrich just looks bored. The Lich's core is hidden in a small purple orb on a pedestal nearby. Peekaboo! The Lich realizes he's cooked. He's leaking dark mana everywhere, and Heinrich was already standing over the respawn point. Goodbye. The core is shattered. Third trial complete. The doors to the final room swing open. Heinrich walks in. No more monsters, no more tricks. Just a long hall filled with statues and one very important item at the end. The sacred sword. It's stabbed directly into the ground, the exact spot where the abyss was first opened. The prompt is simple. Pull the sword, become the master. He grabs the hilt. Immediately, a massive surge of data hits his brain. It's the battle records. Centuries of memories from every hero who ever held this blade. Every technique, every strategy, every monster weakness. It's the ultimate DLC. Usually this is where a normal human would go brain dead from the trauma, but Heinrich has the Mind Hub. He tells the sword to pipe down and just be drawn peacefully. He pulls. The room explodes in golden light. New skill acquired, Blessing of the Sacred Sword. He gets a glowing tattoo on his palm. The sword itself is beautiful, but the tattoo is the real prize. It's a subspace mark. He can summon the sword instantly from thin air. All his combat skills merge into the Rosia Sacred Combat Technique. He tests a few swings. He's faster, sharper. He just jumped about 20 levels in 5 seconds. Finally, the mission is done. Switch to Hans, meanwhile, in a snowy valley between Talia and Lesk. A dark mage named Victor Nolan is currently reconsidering all his life choices. He's kneeling in front of Hans, who is introducing himself as Hannibal Strauss. Hans is trying to be kind while recruiting him, but his Eye of the Abyss skill makes him look like a demon from your worst nightmares. Hans notices something, a spark of dark mana in the distance. A sacrificial ritual just happened. 2 of them, actually, simultaneously. Victor is terrified, because these cultists didn't consult the Immortal King before acting. They're using his name to start a war without asking for his permission. Hans is not happy about people messing with his branding. He's going to go ask them personally why they're being so stupid. Inside the cultist hideout, the magic circle is hummed with power. One of the cultist leaders is gloating. 30 years of prep. 30 years of being losers in the shadows. He's coughing up blood, but he doesn't care. He thinks he's about to win. Suddenly, the circle starts to flicker. It's fading. The grand spell is failing because the mana isn't stable. He refuses to stop. He offers himself as the final sacrifice. Total commitment to the bit. He plunges into the dark mana. A pillar of purple light erupts, tearing through the ceiling. He's smiling as his body dissolves. He's embraced the seed of madness. The other cultists watch in awe. They think he's the greatest of them. Lore Drope. Hans is standing on a cliffside, watching the purple flare in the distance. He realizes something unbelievable is happening. The abyss, the dimensional rift that's been closed for 1,000 years, is opening. Even Seong Hyun didn't plan for this variable. He realizes the vow of defiance bastards were much further along than he thought. A voice echoes in Hans' mind. Voices of the former immortal kings. Lingering thoughts. Remnants of pure malice that slept in the abyss. A ghostly knight in glowing purple armor appears behind Hans. He tells Hans to become one with him and blanket the world in death. Hans just looks at him like he's a bug. He has no intention of obeying a loser. The ghost starts laughing, a deep, hollow cackle. He's impressed. Most people would have their soul crushed by the will of death, but Hans has kept his sense of self. The ghost's voice shifts. He's filled with rage and jealousy. Shackled, he says. Hans realizes that the impurity he felt in his heart this whole time, it was just the annoying ghosts of his predecessors. They want liberation from their own resentment. They're basically just being very loud, dead Karens. Song Yoon realizes that even in death, these kings are still trapped by human emotions. Why don't you shut up already? He offers them eternal death. In exchange, the ghost promises a gift, something Hans should have had, but never could. Hans activates Persona. He targets the lingering thoughts in his heart and literally ejects them like a bad USB drive. The ghost knight starts to scatter. Farewell, pathetic seniors. The ghost dissolves into glowing runes. Hans catches them. It's the immortal king's legacy. The first king destroyed half a continent. The second brought down an empire. They did it with an undying army. When the kings died, the commanders hid. They sealed themselves at the edge of the abyss, waiting for a new master. And now, the first of those legacies is crawling back out. Heinrich is still in the sword room. He hears a noise. The floor cracks open and a massive skeleton crawls out. This is Dwell McCain, Arklik and royal guard of the immortal king. He starts screaming about filthy bastards from the order. Heinrich just stands there, sword on his shoulder. We've met before, haven't we? Dwell is confused for exactly 1 second before Heinrich unloads a divine attack. That stings! Dwell realizes he has the worst timing in the world. He just woke up and ran into the one guy holding the sacred sword. Heinrich notices a blue crystal source on the floor. He picks it up. Normally, he'd destroy it, but he decides to be merciful. He's going to hand it over to his Hans account. He looks at Dwell and tells him to serve your new master well. Hans drops into the center of the abyss ritual site. Empty. The cultist bastards did their work and dipped, but they left the door wide open. He spots something on the ground, a scrap of metal. Energy is too scrambled to trace, but he'll file it away for later. The abyss is vibrating. The madness is leaking into the continent. Time to use the Eye of the Abyss. He can see the origin of the black magic held in the king's heart, and if he's lucky, he can take the steering wheel. He focuses the power. He literally starts drinking the abyss energy like it's a protein shake. The aura clings to his bones. He feels intensified. He actually starts thinking the cultists are adorable for doing his chores for him. Then the floor decides it's done being solid. Something massive is crawling out. The true dragon, Entrasio. Hans isn't even flinching. He thinks it looks magnificent. The dragon roars, and Hans just asks if it recognizes its master. A few seconds of staring, and the dragon goes from world ender to tamed pet. Hans is literally petting its skull. Our guy just got a legendary mount for 0 gold. He realizes the legacy wasn't just troops, it was this. Then he feels it. Guests are arriving. The church's elite forces. Hans thinks it's the perfect time for a test drive. You don't get a new car and not show it to your friends. This is a perfect chance to farm massive karma. He mounts the dragon and tells it to fly. Show them who you are! Below, Archbishop Ladius is leading the charge with Heinrich right behind him. They're outnumbered and outgunned, but they're in too much of a hurry to care. The sky turns black. Ladius looks up. He calls for battle formation. The true dragon looms over them with the immortal king on its back. Hans asks what the church's lackeys want. Ladius tries to act tough, claiming they know the abyss has opened. Hans just says, "I see." And so? Ladius unloads. He mentions the tens of thousands sacrificed in rituals across the continent. Hans is actually surprised. Tens of thousands? The cultists are way more unhinged than he thought. Ladius keeps going about unimaginable damage. He blames Hans for all of it. Hans is internally like, "I literally just got here though?" But as the villain, he has a role to play. He takes credit for the whole thing because it sounds more cool. The other knights are losing it. They want judgment now. Hans gives them a warning. A young knight tries to shut his mouth. Ladius stops him. He realizes Hans has been keeping a calculated distance this whole time. He thinks the immortal king would never just talk peacefully. He assumes it's a trap. Hans is internally sweating because Ladius is overthinking his laziness. Ladius demands to know what kind of warning a master of the abyss could possibly give. Hans name drops the holy knight, Heinrich. The room, or the desert, goes silent. He's internally cringing at how easy it is to get into the mood when people already believe you're evil. Ladius looks genuinely shaken. Hans declares that next time they meet, he'll take Heinrich's life and make him a subordinate. The knights call it blasphemy. Hans decides it's time for the big climax. He tells Intrasio to show them some strength. Ladius yells for the knights to focus their faith. Bone Dragon's unique skill, Death Breath. A massive purple blast hits the divine shield. Ladius is struggling. The impact is insane. The breath stops. The knights are cheering because they're alive, but the smoke clears and the dragon is gone. The young knight thinks they won. He thinks Hans underestimated them. Ladius knows better. Hans is flying away, laughing. The death breath was actually just a harmless smoke bomb. Intrasio's breath was so perfect it looked lethal while preserving innocent lives. Our guy is basically a special effects director. The stage play was a success. He's farmed the karma and built the hype. But then, he feels it. Another legacy has awakened. Deep in the woods, the ground is literally vomiting skeletons. A voice says it can feel the aura of its comrades across the continent. Meet the Dullahan Knight. We shift to the Charlotte Kingdom. An abyss gate has opened right in the middle of a peaceful viscounty. The local soldiers realize they're in way over their heads. They're surrounded. The captain is confused. Undead shouldn't have this much tactical intelligence. A massive knight in dark, horned armor appears behind a soldier. One clean hit. The soldiers realize the worst-case scenario is happening. The Death Knight has resurrected in their kingdom. We cut to Heinz in his office on Earth. His subordinate is giving him the report. Auterica is in emergency mode. The abyss is opening everywhere. Fortunately, the MC's base in Thalia is safe because Hans is personally cleaning the neighborhood. But Heinz looks troubled. He asks about the madness from the abyss. The subordinate mentions trivial disputes turning into violent fights. Heinz thinks that's too much of an assumption. But then he gets the real data. It's not just humans. Even the monsters are moving unusually. Heinz is back in the office, looking at reports of monsters losing their minds. The madness isn't a suggestion, it's a total personality rewrite for every living thing on the continent. Hans is busy playing Pokemon with undead commanders, so Heinz needs a different angle. The best place for intel is the Grand Divine Order, which means it's time for our guy Heinrich to get his promotion. He shows up to meet the Saintess, and she's already vibrating with excitement. She knew he'd pull the sword. To her, he's not just a knight, he's the main character of her favorite story. Heinrich plays it cool, acting like he's been out of the loop while he was literally the one causing the chaos. She explains that the madness is unstable, unknown, and making everyone very, very nervous. Heinrich offers to look into it personally. He's basically asking for admin access to the church's database. He tells her he wants to fulfill his duty now that he has the sword's blessing. He's doing the shining hero pose so hard it's actually blinding the poor woman. She sighs. She can't stop him because he's being too much of a good boy. She gives him the green light to uncover the truth. But wait, there's one more thing. There's a ritual for people who pull the sword. Heinrich's what now face is all of us. They head to the main altar. The Saintess calls for the sword to reveal its true form. Heinrich draws the blade and the room basically turns into a flashbang. The other paladins are losing their minds over the divine power density. The Saintess pulls out a necklace. She officially appoints him as a high paladin of the order. But then, the necklace reacts. Seong-hyun realizes that even a 1-second pause in his mind hub and the divine power almost fries his brain. His body starts undergoing a literal reconstruction. This isn't a standard promotion. This is a great blessing. New skill acquired. Great blessing, Knight of Light. He looks in the mirror and realized his hair just turned full Targaryen. The Saintess bows to him. Formally, she doesn't call him a paladin anymore. She calls him Holy One. Congratulations, our guy just got promoted to saint status. He's now technically equal in rank to the Saintess herself, and since he's now a VIP, it's time for the legendary loot drop. The Guardian of Glory armor set. Forged from mithril and orichalcum, it's not armor, it's a moving fortress with high-level holy enchantments. He puts it on and feels the raw power surge. Holy sword? Check. Moving fortress armor? Check. He's officially the most geared player on the server. He tells the Saintess they'll be working together from now on. She starts laughing. She's been working until dawn every day and is thrilled to finally have someone to dump half the paperwork on. Heinrich realizes he didn't just get a promotion, he just got a lifetime of overtime with no extra pay. She mentions the Continental Summit is coming to discuss wiping out the undead. He gives her a confident, "I'll give it my all." The light fades, and he prepares to give it his all for both sides of the war. Grim. We open on a burning city. Karam, the Death Knight Lord, is standing over a pile of corpses. He knows that if the humans unite, the undead are in trouble, so he's trying to build power fast. He orders the survivors to become subjects of the new kingdom. He raises his sword, purple energy swirling, and the dead start standing back up. Suddenly, a figure drops from the sky. It's Hans. He calls out to Karam like an old friend. Karam feels the aura. He recognizes the weight of that power. He drops to one knee immediately. The new immortal king has arrived. Karam is shaking. He's been waiting centuries for this. Hans assesses him. Swordmaster skills, leadership, necromancy. Karam is a tier 0 unit. Hans officially acknowledges him as a commander. Karam apologizes for the mess, saying he just happened to wake up next to a human settlement and chose violence. Hans tells him what's done is done, but they need to gather the rest of the crew. He orders a fallback. Karam follows without question. Hans looks at the destruction. The damage is severe. The area is completely devastated. He realizes he can't leave things like this if he wants to win the long game. The summit is coming, and his forces are too scattered to defend against a united continent. Time for the global ping. He uses a high-level dark magic method that usually has heavy side effects. He slams his hand into the ground. The message echoes across the entire world. The church will notice this, but he doesn't care. They'll be too busy analyzing the mana to react in time. He demands an answer from his commanders. The ghostly projections start appearing around him. We obey the command of the Absolute One. The armies are marching from the southwest and the south. The gang is getting back together. Hans does the classic villain laugh. He's leading them to a new future. Elsewhere, two delivery guys are walking through the woods at night. A fireball clips one of them out of nowhere. The other one tries to play it cool, saying it's probably just a wild animal. His friend is pointing behind him, vibrating with fear. Is there actually something behind? An ogre just casually deletes the guy's head. The survivor stares up at the monster. But it's not just one ogre. It's an entire raid group of different species. Goblins, orcs, ogres, they're all standing together with glowing purple eyes. Monsters are joining forces. This is literally unheard of. We open up at the Hubert Trading Company, where our resident business class avatar, Hubert, is currently looking at the morning news and realizing the economy is in the gutter. Monsters from the northern mountains are coordinated, aggressive, and currently destroying supply lines. Usually this is where a merchant panics, but Song Yun sees a different kind of green. He's not here for pennies, he's here for hearts. It's time to pivot the business model from trade to humanitarian aid. He's zeroing in on Aonaya County and the Fortress of Steel. Why? Because they're recruiting mercenaries on a massive scale. And if there is one thing Seong-Hyun has in surplus, it is specialized combat units. Cut to a tavern in Tarak, where the rumors of the northern mountain monsters are scaring the locals. Apparently these aren't your standard RPG mobs anymore, they're rabid. The mercenaries at the table are debating whether the pay is worth the risk, and they turn to the biggest guy in the room to break the tie. He slams his drink down, meet Holly. Our guy's barbarian alt. He's all in for the fight. No thoughts, just vibes and violence. The crew asks when they're moving out, and Holly is already out the door, laughing like a maniac. One problem, he forgot to pay the tab. Typical barbarian gameplay. Next stop, the Tarak Mercenary Guild. Holly walks in looking like he just finished a 3-day bender, but the receptionist recognizes him instantly. Apparently, if you don't know Harry in this business, you're a tourist. Holly tries to sign his squad up for the general recruitment, but the receptionist has a different quest log for him. A special nomination request, straight from the top. Holly tries to play it cool and decline, but you don't say no to this client. It's Lord Talmine Aonia. Holly's brain takes a second to buffer the name, and suddenly we're at the Aonia Lord's office. Holly's expecting a stuffy noble, barging in with zero respect for the decor, only to find someone else waiting for him. It's not the Lord, it's a knight. And this guy clearly isn't a fan of Holly's unique fashion choices. Meet Knight Robin. He's the mission lead. He's surprised Holly is so large. Holly just takes it as a compliment and asks what's the play. The play is a suicide mission, lead an assault on the northern mountains. You know, the place currently crawling with madness monsters. The goal is a VIP rescue. Name, Jaunic Steelstone. a master blacksmith who went mining and forgot the world was ending. And he's a dwarf. You know the rules. If there's a dwarf in a cave, he's probably found something he shouldn't have. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, life is looking a lot more domestic. Taeson's grandma is basically doing cardio in her hospital bed. The doctors are calling it a miracle, but Taeson is starting to suspect something is up. The medical report says it's like a high-ranking priest dumped an entire mana bar into her for 3 days straight. Song-hyun's just standing there like, yeah, crazy, imagine having connections like that. He lets Taeson believe it's just good karma for a life of service. Then they pivot to the real news. Song-hyun is moving. He's getting a big private house in the suburbs. Taeson thinks he's just successful, but we know the truth. With his projection duration increasing, Song-hyun can travel long distances in seconds. He's not moving for the view. He's building a server room for his souls. The more clones he makes, the more space he needs to keep the player safe. The next day, back in the snow, Holly is leading the mercenary squad through the northern mountains. He's actually impressed with Knight Robin. The guy isn't just a desk warrior, he's actually out here in the cold. Robin explains that they have a signal from Jaunich. The dwarf had enough presence of mind to hide in a cave and use a magic radio. The other mercenaries are complaining about the dwarf's hobby. Dwarves chasing minerals is like gamers chasing rare drops. They'll go anywhere. Holly realizes the squad isn't just randoms. These are the elites of Terrak. Robin didn't bring help. He brought a raiding party. Action. Then the aggro hits. Blue ogres. Buffed by the madness, the mercenaries open up with fire arrows and magic, but the impact barely scratches them. The vitality and defense stats on these things are through the roof. Holly sees the squad struggling and decides it's time to show why he's the MVP. He activates his barbarian skills. His tattoos start to glow. He charges in, dodging the clubs, and gets right in their faces. The ogre's club hits the ground, and Holly uses the momentum to tear through their front line. Robin yells a warning. 3 more are flanking. Holly realizes his bare fists might take too long to clear the mob. He could use his wild instinct, but that might look a bit too monster-ish for his human allies, so he goes for a high-speed maneuver instead. A blur of motion. He's striking vital points at speeds a human shouldn't be able to hit. He's clearing the air before he even lands. Operation Invisible Hand. Robin and the mercenaries are just staring. They've seen a lot, but a guy punching 3 ogres into orbit simultaneously is a new one. Holly isn't done. He's standing over the corpses, and then he does something truly disturbing. He starts snacking on the magic stones. Robin is losing his mind. "What are you doing?" Holly just shrugs and says it's a tribal secret magic, and then he coughs up a pint of blood. Low down, internal conflict. Inside the mind hub, Song-hyun is feeling the feedback. The madness inside those stones is toxic. It's pure abyss energy. His muscles are screaming, his senses are overclocking, and for a second, the urge to just kill everyone in the room becomes overwhelming. The madness is spreading through the entire forest, and Holly just ate the concentrated version of it. Perspective shift. While Holly is fighting for his sanity, we shift to the villain account. Hans, the immortal king, is overlooking his new recruits. Meet Banshee Queen Olivia. She's a top-tier officer of the undead army, a catch on par with Entrazio or Karam. She's been busy gathering the children, a massive ghost unit that doesn't trigger human alarms. Hans doesn't want her for a frontline war yet. He has a specific target, the Oath of Reversing Heaven. The cultists who have been messing with his world. He wants information. He wants their secrets. And he wants Olivia to drain every last soul they have until there is nothing left. Night falls over the estate, and Lord Hines is currently deep in his paperwork. Thanks to the Banshee Queen, his Hans account is funneling him intel faster than a fiber optic connection. He's got the Brokaslak clan for nationwide news, Banshees for the underworld, and Holly for the front lines of the madness. But even with all this data, our guy has a bad feeling. One of his True Blood subordinates walks in with a status report. 2 vampires were sent to the Forest of Fiends, but the situation has escalated. The subordinate looks like he's seen a ghost, reporting that the monsters from the northern mountains have finally started their full descent south. Pivot to Holly. Back on the mountain, the madness is literally in the air. Low-level monsters are being tainted just by breathing. The effect is lighter on humans, but Holly's mercenary squad is starting to feel the pressure. Holly, on the other hand, is feeling a bit too much. His physical stats are hitting the ceiling, but he's fighting his own body for control. If he didn't have the body mutation skill, he'd be a mob boss for the other side by now. Knight Robin signals a halt. The squad is on high alert, but Holly is just vibing in his wolf pelt, joking about looking like a monster himself. Then, out of the bushes, we find our VIP, Zaonic Steelstone, the dwarf blacksmith. Holly's first impression? The guy is a master of camouflage. No time for a proper intro, because the horde is here. Robin orders a retreat down the mountain, but the ogres are fast. Zaonic nearly gets turned into a dwarf pancake by a massive club, but Holly moves in. He's not even stressed. He's laughing. Robin tries to play it safe, reminding him they're about to be overrun, so Holly just scoops up the dwarf and prepares to move. At this rate, we'll all be wiped out, Holly says. then adds, "Except me." Our guy is such a team player. He tells Robin he's running low on mana. Robin, assuming he's going to use some holy art, hands over his bag of magic stones. Holly takes the loot, hands the dwarf back to the knight, and walks straight back toward the horde. Robin thinks he's suicidal, but Holly is just looking for a snack. He pulls out a high-tier stone, crunches down, and feels the madness hit him like a truck. His theory is simple. If he can control the toxicity with his skills, he can farm madness for infinite strength. High risk, high reward. He lets out a roar as the system triggers. Wildness evolves into frenzied beast. His skin turns red, his tattoos flare, and the look in his eyes says he's done with the tutorial. He lets out a maniacal laugh that scares the monsters more than the humans. He dual wields his axes, looks at the wall of ogres, and decides it's time for a speedrun. Holly's whole body is boiling. Fast. He lunges. 1 strike, 3 kills. He's moving so fast the ogres don't even have time to register their health bars, hitting 0. This is the peak of the frenzied beast. The mercenaries can barely track his movements. Robin is rethinking his entire worldview, realizing that Tarek's strongest was a massive understatement. Holly dives back into the red, clearing the entire mountain path in a blur of steel and blood. He stands over the pile of corpses, shaking off the blood. A new skill unlocks Jewel Eye, Severe Winter. Our guy just keeps collecting Ws. The squad catches up, Robin checking if he's even human anymore. Zaonic is hyped, calling him a brave dwarf brother, even though he spent the whole fight hiding behind a tree. But the celebration is cut short. Holly feels a spike in the air. Something massive is approaching, and if they stick around, it's a total wipeout. Zaonic panics, begging his muscle friend to do something. Holly asks if the dwarf can dig another tunnel for the group to hide in. He gives him 10 minutes. Zaonic says 5 is plenty. He pulls out a glowing pickaxe. Name, Elin. Holly recognizes the glow instantly. It's a magic tool. Zaonic tells everyone to brace themselves, swings once, and the entire mountain shakes. The dwarf is literally terraforming the terrain in real time. In seconds, he's carved out a bunker for the whole squad. Holly is impressed, not just by the tunnel, but by the tool. The system pings. This pickaxe is a medium, the same level of legendary artifact as the branch that created Harris. It carries 20 years of a master craftsman's soul. Holly looks at the dwarf like he's a walking treasure chest. Suddenly, the ceiling rattles. The boss has arrived, and it just sat down right on top of their hideout. It's likely eating the corpses Holly just left behind. Slipping out isn't an option. It'll catch them in seconds. Holly lets out a laugh. He suggests a bait and switch. He'll lure the monster away while the others escape. Robin is shocked. He knows Holly is strong, but luring that thing is a suicide mission. The mercenaries are genuinely worried for him, but Holly has a condition. He wants the pickaxe. Zaonic hesitates. It's his life's work. But he's a dwarf. He knows his life is worth more than a tool. He offers it up, but then tries to pull back at the last second. They literally play tug of war with a legendary artifact while a monster is breathing down their necks. Holly wins, obviously. He promises to probably give it back later and sprints out into the snow. He tells Zaonic to consider it an even trade for his life. Holly looks at the glowing pickaxe and smiles. He didn't just get a new weapon, he just secured a permanent master blacksmith for the account. The mountain is shaking, the snow is vertical, and Holly bursts out into the open air like he just finished a 24-hour stream. He's looking for the monster that's been camping their exit, and what he finds is way above his pay grade. It's a double-head ogre, high-ranking species. Devoured so many magic stones its stomach looks like a loot bag. The ogre starts roaring, probably smelling the madness magic stones Holly has been snacking on. But Holly isn't here to play fair, he's here to play tag. He bails, leading the ogre away from the dwarf's tunnel. He finds a nice, secluded spot where no one can see him break the game, and it's time for a monster versus monster showdown. He strikes. Holly dives headfirst into the ogre's defense. He's tearing through a high-ranking species with his bare hands. He tells the ogre that its power isn't its own, it's just a madness buff, and Holly is the one who knows how to actually spend those points. The ogre starts retreating, realizing it just picked a fight with the wrong NPC. Holly lunges, pins it down, and decides the ogre doesn't really need 2 heads for the afterlife. 1 head down. The ogre screams for reinforcements, thinking its subordinates will save it. It looks back, expecting a horde, and finds its entire squad has been wiped out while it was busy blinking. Standing over the bodies is Heinz. Our guy is literally playing a co-op raid by himself. Heinz finishes off the ogre with a casual flick of blood. The mountain goes quiet for a second, and Holly finally stops his overclocked frenzy. He thanks Heinz for the assist, though we all know it's just the same brain behind both bodies. Heinz was actually here on another errand, but since he's in the neighborhood, Holly hands over the dwarf's pickaxe. He wants to see how much stronger he can get by devouring the madness before it evaporates. Holly starts eating the ogre's aura, while Heinz watches like a disappointed older brother. Heinz wonders if he should also taste the blood, but then the mountain truly awakens, a sensation he hasn't felt since he met Entracio. The ground splits. Red Dragon Heratos. This isn't a mob, this is a legendary boss completely possessed by madness. Holly's hyped. The dragon looks at the barbarian and the vampire like they're artisanal snacks. It decides to eat them both at once. Holly and Heinz dodge the initial snap. They're moving in perfect sync because, well, they are the same person. The dragon laughs. It's got a massive regenerative factor. Every scratch Holly lands is gone in seconds. The dragon brags that it's only ever been defeated once in its eternal life, by the King of Death, the Undying King. The dragon thinks that King is long gone, and its curse is lifted. Holly and Heinz just share a look and start laughing. Apologies in advance for the trauma, Heinz says. A shadow falls over the dragon. Meet Hans, the third Undying King. Hans stares down the dragon. He's not looking at a threat, he's looking at fine test material. Heratos is losing his mind. The legend has returned, and it's currently triple-teaming him. Hans looks through the memories of the previous king. He remembers this dragon as a pathetic heap of scales. Heratos tries to snap out of his fear, preparing to fly away. Hans isn't about to let good loot walk out. He drops a barrier. No flying allowed. The madness in the air starts whispering to the dragon. Heratos roars, his aura turning into a purple flame. Holly is impressed. The dragon is absorbing all the madness in the air. The dragon thinks this surge of power is nature's will. Hans is just annoyed that it's throwing off his clean analysis. The dragon lunges at Hans, who just floats backward, mocking its lack of control. Heratos is seething, but Hans has seen enough. Come forth, he summons Intrasio. Bone Dragon versus Red Dragon. The scale of the fight just tripled. Hans tells Intrasio to keep the flesh intact. He wants to rot the curses off before he carves it up. Intrasio lets out a roar that shakes the atmosphere, and the two dragons collide. Hans starts stacking debuffs. Ometational chains. The red dragon is being weighed down by the laws of physics themselves. It struggles against the chains, but that's the opening for the other two. Heinz and Holly move in like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Holly's eyes are glowing. Endless refills of dragon meat? Heinz is definitely getting a glass of that blood, but it realizes something. The madness in its blood is bothering Heinz. It's not pure energy. The dragon tries to break free with a roar, ready to use its ultimate. Holly warns that a breath attack at this range is unavoidable. Hans just laughs. You're not the only one with a breath attack. Intrasio charges up a blue flare of soulfire. The dragon is pestered, grounded, and then the two beams of energy meet in the middle. The explosion clears the snow for miles. In the chaos, Heinz sees his moment. He focuses every drop of blood in his body, manifesting the Great Sword of Blood. He uses Celeration and cleaves through the dragon's wing. It worked. The dragon thinks an injury like this is futile because it can regenerate. Sorry, Heinz says. That wasn't my goal. The dragon looks down at its own body. Something is wrong. Holly has climbed onto its back and is acting as a madness parasite. He's slipped himself into the dragon's system like a virus that dewormers can't touch. Our guy is literally gutting the restaurant from the inside. Holly is currently living every gamer's dream. He is inside the boss, and the boss is made of high-tier XP. Heratos is screaming in agony, trying to use his internal muscles to crush our guy like a grape. Holly can feel his bones and organs hitting their durability limit. He didn't come here to be a snack. He came here to eat. He keeps devouring the dragon's flesh until his jaw muscles literally refuse to move. The struggle pays off, evolves into ultra regeneration. He can feel his HP bar filling back up in real time. The dragon's own survival traits are being copied and pasted into Holly's code. Heratos is still calling him a pathetic insect, completely unaware that the insect just stole his cheat codes. Another evolution hits. Holly looks down and sees red dragon scales growing out of his own arm. He finally realizes the meta. He doesn't need to find magic stones anymore. From now on, he just eats the traits he wants. It's not just a buff, it's a total overhaul. Outside, the dragon is seething, trying to force Holly out, but Hans and Heinz aren't just spectating. They're keeping the chains tight while Intrasio handles the heavy lifting. Heinz notes that Holly is suppressing the madness so effectively that the dragon's bloodline is actually calming down. And for a vampire, calm dragon blood is basically a vintage wine. Heinz advances his Rue blood skill. To get to sacred blood, you have to drink from the best. Suddenly, Holly sends a signal through the mind hub. Heinz looks up at the massive, chained beast. Holly has reached the center of the maze. Checkmate. They've found the dragon heart. Holly calls it the ultimate magic stone, and he takes a massive bite. Bon appetit, king. Fast. The dragon lets out one final world-shaking scream. His eyes go dark, and the legendary Heratos hits the snow for the last time. Hans dismisses Intrasio. The raid is officially over. All cleared. Our guy just successfully triple-boxed a dragon raid. The dragon's soul is fading, staring at the immortal king in disbelief. Hans tells him to rest in peace. This version of the king isn't here to destroy the world. He's just here for the loot. He starts harvesting bones while Holly and Heinz fight over the blood and horns. The mountain is quiet now, but the inventory is overflowing with prime sorcery ingredients. A dragon's corpse really is just a glorified treasure vault. Heinz starts bottling the blood like he's prepping for a long winter. But the biggest glow-up of the day is Holly. He's struggling to control the concentrated madness from the heart. It feels like his insides are being torn apart, so he decides to weave it into his own soul. The feeling of ascension hits him. Race changed to... Holly opens his eyes, and he isn't quite human anymore. To change an entire race through a single meal? That's some high-level gluttony. Holly's stats are now merged with the Dragon Eye. He's a living radar for madness. He tests out his new claws. He can pull them out whenever he needs to cut something. He takes one step, and the ground shatters. His body density has increased so much that he's basically walking around with a permanent weight debuff. He needs to practice before he meets up with the mercenaries again, or he'll accidentally sink into the mountain. Behind him, a massive presence rises. It's the raid closing ceremony Hans prepared. He isn't leaving the bones behind. Dark mana floods the ribcage, and the dragon stands up. Hans grants him a second life. He is the Lord of Death after all. Heratos is now a bone dragon, and he has a new master. Earthside. Cut to Seoul, where Song Hyun is finally done moving. He's built himself an otaku heaven, indoor gym, arcade, comic cafe. He says staying home is comfier, but we know he's just building a high-tech bunker for his main body. Now, time for some chores. The yard is a mess, so he triggers entity projection. He brings out Harris the High Elf. Time to show Earth some natural power. With a flick of his wrist, the grass grows, the trees bloom, and the landscaping is done in about 10 seconds. Detached houses are hard to maintain, they say. Clearly, they don't have an elven alt. Next, security. He uses Heinz to set up a primary blood barrier around the entire estate. Once the cooldown is up, he'll stack Hans and Heinlich's barriers on top. This isn't a house, it's a fortress. Chores done. Time to check the bank account. He's already over 1,000,000 points. It hasn't even been a week in Earth time. Turns out, triple boxing dragons is great for the wallet. He checks for an avatar quantity increase and finds exactly what he's looking for. He hits the upgrade button. The unique skill grows. He can now possess even more clones. But the system isn't done giving. Avatar cognitive ability increases drastically. Seong-yoon wonders if the main body is going to end up being the stupidest one in the room. Then, he unlocks the real game changer, a subspace for sharing items across dimensions. He tests it out with the dwarf's pickaxe, Elin. Heinz puts it in the cloud, and Seong-yoon pulls it out on Earth. No more physical fetching. This changes everything for his merchant account, Hubert. Now for the main event. He uses on the pickaxe. The soul of the artisan inside the tool starts to manifest. He's expecting a legendary craftsman like Zaonic to maintain his gear. A pair of feet step out of the light. Song-hyun and Heinz just stare. It's a toddler, a bearded, muscular chibi version of Song-hyun. The meta just got adorable? Our guy is currently in full-blown character creator mode. He's tweaking the sliders on his new dwarf avatar like he's trying to win a beauty pageant for gym rats. Maximize the height, sharpen the face, and give the beard that "I've spent 40 years in a volcano" aesthetic. He steps back to admire the work. Proper dwarf energy. Absolute unit. He names the new alt Howard, because every legendary blacksmith needs a name that sounds like a retired accountant. Howard comes pre-packaged with the artisan's spirit trait. It's a massive buff for crafting, which is exactly what he needs to keep the gear grind going. But there's a slight issue. Just like his elf avatar Harris, Howard is a blank slate. No memories, no general knowledge, just vibes and muscles. Usually he'd use his barbarian alt Holly to bridge the gap, but the north is currently a mess. So, time to swap tabs. He logs into Heinz, the vampire lord, to handle some administrative work. Heinz pulls out a phone. He calls up his contact on Earth. The girl on the other end sounds like she just won the lottery because her lord finally called. She's basically ready to commit federal crimes if he asks. Heinz just wants homework. He tells her to prep everything they have on materials engineering and metallurgy. The plan is to feed Howard Earth's scientific data and then let him practice in Auterica. He's literally trying to bring the Industrial Revolution to a fantasy world via a PDF file. Now switch over to the boss account. Hans is standing in a forest, making use of the avatar cloud. It's honestly unfair. He can just pull gifts from his other characters out of thin air. He takes an Immortal King shard and starts the summoning process. The ground cracks, the purple energy flares, and out pops a skeleton. This is Dwell McCain. He's supposed to be a legendary strategist. Currently, he's just a pile of bones having an emotional breakdown because he thought he was permanently deleted. Look at those eye sockets. This man is sobbing in 4K. He immediately swears fealty. Hans likes it. The more capable employees he can resurrect, the less work he has to do personally. Then, the Banshee Queen Olivia arrives. She's here to drop a report on the current mission. They've been hunting the Oath of Reversal, the cult that's been trying to mess with his army. Hans tells Dwell that his new job is to squeeze every bit of intel out of these guys. Olivia pulls up the map. They've tracked the cult across the continent. She found a key stronghold, and Hans is actually impressed. Dwell, meanwhile, is having a mid-death crisis, trying to figure out how a ghost devotes her body to the king when she doesn't have one. Olivia gives him a look that suggests he's about to become a very quiet pile of calcium if he keeps talking. Hans ignores the internal drama. He orders Dwell to assist Olivia in the takeover. The skeleton strategist looks like he'd rather go back to being dead than work with her. But one look at her glowing eyes, and he realizes he doesn't have a choice. He bows. He's a professional, even if he's terrified. Hans gives the final order: force them into submission. Everything is moving according to the script. The trail is finally warm. Our guy is coming for them, and he's bringing the entire graveyard. Cut to Tabeshi, the capital of the Central Empire. A very high-end mansion. A woman is standing by the window. She says she can smell Olivia's energy in the air. She thinks it's her imagination, but we know better. This is Sienna, the current leader of the Oath of Reversal. She's a former succubus from the original Undying Army, and she is very clear about one thing. She is never going back to being a slave to the immortal king. Sienna is having a moment. She's done with the whole undead loyalty thing. She wants her own empire. She walks through her lavish room, looking like a character that would cost you $300 in a gacha game. A guest arrives at the door. It's Andrew Weaver. He's a representative of the cult, and he's clearly been celebrating something a bit too hard. He tries to compliment her, but Sienna isn't here for the small talk. She asks about the new head of the Brokosla clan. Andrew confirms the target is a true-blood vampire named Heinz. When he admits he doesn't know how Heinz took over, Sienna's horns literally pop out from irritation. Andrew just laughs it off. He explains his trajectory observation skill. It's basically budget clairvoyance. Sienna cuts him off. She's heard enough excuses. The skill is useless without actual data, and right now, they're flying blind. She decides they need to eliminate Heinz before he becomes a real problem. She pulls out a golden pocket watch. The plan is to involve the Yapersia clan, the strongest vampires on the continent, in a war of conquest. Meanwhile, back at the workshop, the hammer is falling. Heinz is studying the metallurgy data from Earth. It's dense stuff. Practical application is always harder than the theory. But Howard is a dwarf. Crafting is literally in his DNA. Once the teleportation circle cools down, Heinz plans to send him to a specialized workshop. His assistant walks in with more news. The cultists are making moves and contacting other factions. Heinz isn't worried. He's the type of player who waits for the enemies to gather in one spot so he can AoE them. He knows time is on his side. 10 months of training for his avatars only equals 1 month of time on Earth. Back in Auterica, at the Brokosla mansion, a hooded figure arrives. The butler goes out to greet them, expecting a child or a minor noble. The girl under the hood asks to see Mullo. She's talking to the high-ranking vampires like they're her personal servants. The butler is about to kick her out for being impertinent. Then the door opens, and a man literally drops to his knees. It's Mullo. He looks like he just saw a ghost. He calls her Master Brokosla. The butler's soul basically leaves his body. This is Briki, the sacred blood, the actual founder of the clan. She sits down in the office like she owns the place, which to be fair she does. She tells them to call her Briki because her full name is too stiff. Mullo is sweating buckets. She wasn't supposed to wake up for another 20 years. She takes a sip of tea and notes that something is very strange. She mentions the child at the door. His essence hasn't changed, but there are incomprehensible shifts. She looks Mullo dead in the eyes. She knows he's hiding something. Mullo realizes he can't fight her. He doesn't even want to. The timing is terrible. Heinz is away, and the founder is currently auditing the house. Briki is fascinated. She can feel her bloodline in the clan, but it's evolving into something new. She asks the million-dollar question, who is the one that made them like this? She knew everything from the start. She was just testing them to see who'd fold first. She decides to stay and wait for Heinz to return. The atmosphere is heavy enough to crush a normal human. Briki has always dreamed of this, the strengthening of a bloodline through evolution. She thought it was a myth until she woke up and felt the change in her descendants. She calls Heinz her praiseworthy descendant, unaware that he's actually a gamer from Seoul who hacked her entire lineage. We open on a massive explosion of snow and ice. Our guy Holly finishes the subjugation and tells the squad they can come out of hiding now. The dwarfs are shaking in their boots, but they're relieved. Holly is looking way too energetic for someone who just fought a boss-level monster. One of the knights notices weird scales on his body, but Holly just plays it off with a "who me" look. He tells them to pack it up and head back to the Iron Fortress before things get weird. They start moving fast across the snowy ridge. But then, Zayanik grabs Holly's arm. He's looking at Holly like he just realized his best friend didn't return his lawnmower. He realizes he can't feel the presence of the legendary pickaxe, Eileen. Holly's face goes dark. This is the moment. Songyun knows he needs Zayanik to train his new blacksmith alt, Howard. So, he decides to go full Shakespeare. He tells them there's a tear-jerking story involved. Welcome to Harley's Great Adventure 2, my comrade forever. He starts weaving a total lie about how the battle was going smoothly at first. But then, he claims he was surrounded by layers of monsters. Even for a beast like him, it was too much. He says he was slaughtering them left and right, but getting overwhelmed. A surprise attack came from the blind spot. He tells them he closed his eyes and prepared to meet his ancestors. The sound of steel clashing against steel rings out. He looks back and screams, Eliini! He's literally acting out a scene where the pickaxe gained sentience and sacrificed itself to save him. He tells the dwarfs that Aline's final act of bravery gave him a second wind. He starts screaming about revenge, claiming he shredded the monsters as a tribute to the pickaxe's soul. Zaonic is actually crying. He's fully bought into the gaslighting. Holly adds the final touch. He only discovered his dragon blood because of Aline's sacrifice. The party's mage jumps in to provide lore-accurate support for his lie. Songhyun is literally taking notes on the NPC's headcanon to use for later. The squad is fully convinced they're walking with a legendary hero of a tragic tale. But the vibes shift immediately. The Iron Fortress is just over the ridge. The party stops dead. Massive thuds shake the ground. The fortress gates are being absolutely demolished by something massive. A mutant minotaur. And this isn't your average gym bro cow. The knights realize if that thing gets inside, it's a total wipe. Holly tells them to hurry up and eat. He means save them. Definitely save them. Not farm them for XP. The Minotaur is roaring, looking for its next victim. The Holy Order and the mages have already been swatted aside like flies. The survivors look up and see a shadow falling from the sky. Holly drops in like an orbital strike. He hits the Minotaur's horn with a force that cracks the pavement. The local mercenaries call him the Monster of Tarak. Holly just smiles. He tells the beast he's going to show it what a real monster looks like. The dragonkin's scales flare up on his arms. One punch. The Minotaur's face meets the floor at high velocity. The beast tries to charge back. Holly meets it head on. No dodging, just pure, unadulterated strength. The impact sends a shockwave through the entire fortress. The Minotaur is looking confused. Holly slams it into the crater. He spits on the ground. You were pretty impressive, but you're beneath me. The knights are cheering like their team just won the Super Bowl. Holly loots the horn instantly and sends it to the Avatar Cloud. Howard is going to love this. He consumes the madness energy, and his system notifies him that he's controlling the corruption perfectly. His body starts morphing. He just unlocked the Minotaur's lower body genes. The Minotaur is officially cooked. Holly is standing over the body, acting like he didn't just commit a felony against biology. The Knight Captain informs him that Lord Tarman Ionia wants an audience. Songhyun's gamer brain pings. This is the quest turn-in moment. The captain tells him to rest, but Holly is already gone. He literally leaves a dust cloud behind. The man does not miss a reward window. He's practically vibrating with excitement. Cut to the Aonia County Castle. Holly walks in like he owns the joint. The captain has to grab his arm and tell him to wait. He warns Holly to be careful. The Lord is a big deal. He begs Holly to be as polite as possible. Holly says he's the best at manners, which is the most alarming thing anyone has ever said. He peeks into the office. There he is. Lord Tarman Aonia. Holly screams, "Hello, Sayar," so loud the captain's ears are probably bleeding. The Lord is surprisingly chill. He says seeing Holly in person is a different experience. Holly starts doing the humble hero act, which involves a lot of fake sweat and loud laughing. The Lord is sweating too, but for different reasons. The captain is in the back wondering if Holly thinks shouting informal speech is the same thing as being polite. The Lord gets to the point. Rewards are coming. Holly does the "aw, you shouldn't have" routine while his eyes are practically turning into dollar signs. The Lord folds his hands. He offers Holly a position as an official knight of the county. Deadpan anticlimax. Holly refuses instantly. The room goes silent. The guards are ready to throw hands for the disrespect. Holly tells them he's good on the grand stuff. He just wants a cool axe. The Lord agrees to have one custom made by Zaonic. The Lord is smiling, but his internal monologue is pure, "I will own you eventually." Meanwhile, Holly's internal monologue is, "I'm going to milk this guy for everything he's worth." They're both laughing, and it's the most untrustworthy room on the continent. The captain is the only one feeling the chill of two psychopaths bonding. Switch over to the capital at sunset. Hubert, the merchant lord, is walking through the streets with his escorts. They've finished Howard's state-of-the-art workshop. Hubert is laying down the law. Howard gets whatever he wants, no questions asked. A hooded figure is tailing them. Hubert stops. His user instincts are screaming. He realizes there's one more escort than usual. Build, then accelerate. He turns around. Why is there one more? The assassin drops the hood. You have good instincts, but you're too late. One clean strike. Hubert is spitting blood. He falls. He's lying in a pool of blood while the escorts scream in panic. Hubert is fading. He recognizes the energy. It's a vampire. The system confirms it. Fatal injury. He gasps for air. The escorts try to move him, but he's already dead. Instant death immunity activates. The fatal injury is reduced to critical. Hubert analyzes the attacker. A pureblood at least. He realizes if they find out he's alive, they'll finish the job. He decides to delegate. He'll let Hans handle the investigation. He tells the escorts he has a personal way of contacting Howard. He needs treatment immediately. But instead of a doctor, Hubert just unsummons from the dimension. Elsewhere, in a dark hall, a battalion of vampires is standing at attention. Meet Clan Lord Visk Yapersia. He looks like he's about to win a Best-Dressed Villain award. Theodore Yapersia reports that the job in Tarak is finished. They killed the merchant to divert the Brokosla clan's attention. Visk is smiling. He welcomes Klein back. The assassin smiles. They haven't just killed a merchant, they've just opened the gates of war. Lord Visk Yapersia is currently feeling himself. He's praising Klein for killing the merchant, completely unaware that the man he assassinated is currently in a soul mansion eating snacks. Klein is playing it cool, claiming it was a simple task. Visk reveals the real plan. They've cross-referenced info with the Pledge of Defiance cult. They've opened a Bloodgate, a high-tier teleportation circle, aimed straight at Rapella City. Visk is obsessed with this unknown vampire who took over Brokosla. He thinks he's walking into a rivalry. He's actually walking into a world boss encounter. He orders his elites to move out. Talaria, the home of the Brokosla clan, to Olivia medium pace. Meanwhile, Olivia is having a rough day at the office. She's scouring the continent with her banshees, trying to find a trace of the assassin. She reaches Rapella City and stops cold. A massive red portal is tearing open the sky. Vampires are literally falling out of the air like a gotcha pull gone wrong. She realizes these aren't just any vampires. These are the Yapersia elites. To Hans. Olivia reports back to the boss account. Hans puts the pieces together. Hitting Hubert was just a way to split their forces. He drops some lore for us. Of the three major clans, Yapersia is the strongest. He realizes Brokosla is cooked if he doesn't send reinforcements. Back at the Brokosla mansion, Mullo is doing paperwork when the founder, Briki, kicks the door in. She's looking particularly sharp today. She tells Mullo to prepare for battle immediately. He's confused because his scanners are clear. She tells him to shut up and listen to his elders. Mullo realizes Heinz isn't here to save them. The fortress goes into full lockdown. Outside, the Yapersia force is staggering. 4 true bloods, 44 pure bloods. That's enough to wipe a small country. Visk stops. He feels something unpleasant in the air. He stares at the moon. He tries to convince himself he's just dealing with small fry. He lands in front of the fortress like he's about to drop the most mid-album of the century. He's promising to wipe the clan clean by sunrise. High above, Hans is spectating the raid. He activates Eye of the Abyss to get the 4K view. He watches the Yapersia army move. He can't use Hans or Heinrich without breaking the immersion for the NPCs. It's too conspicuous. So, he decides to use the mercenary with a grudge. He sends the signal to Harley, who is currently being detained by city guards. They think he's an ogre in a human costume. He's trying to show his ID, but let's be honest. Look at him. Visk feels the vibe change again. Theodore asks if something is wrong. Visk realizes the ghost has returned from the dead. Theodore realizes he means Briki. Visk snaps out of his edgelord phase. He orders the assault. The Yapersia vampires blitz the castle. Talaria Brokosla Fortress. Inside, Briki is calmly drinking tea while her clan screams in the background. Mullo reports the numbers are far from enough. She just smiles. She knows exactly where the uninvited guests are. Combat. The windows shatter. Visk Yapersia enters the room, immediately talking trash like he's in a Call of Duty lobby. Briki calls him a rude kid. He starts monologuing about his own greatness, and Briki is genuinely bored. Mullo is panicking. He knows the power difference is hopeless. The 4 high bloods are standing right behind Visk. Mullo realizes their only hope is the blood barrier. He activates the territory buff. A massive red dome covers the fortress. He summons Pritia, the silver-haired combat specialist. She's their last line of defense. Visk just smirks. He blitzes Mullo, pinning him to the ground before he can even blink. The floor explodes. Visk is annoyed that Mullo didn't die instantly. Briki steps in, telling Visk he's underestimating them way too much. The room is a mess of red and blue energy. Visk decides to kill Briki first. She tells him he really needs a beating. The 2 sacred bloods face off. They move so fast the background turns into a blur. It's a battle of bloodlines. Pritia is busy getting stomped by the high blood elites. Suddenly, the barrier cracks. Something is tearing through the red dome with its bare hands. Harley is here, and he's looking directly at Klein. He lands with the weight of a meteor. Theodore is confused. Why does this human know about Hubert? Theodore looks at Klein, demanding to know what kind of clean job he did. Pritia takes advantage of the distraction. She catches Theodore off guard. Theodore screams for the other high bloods. Harley just smiles. He's been wanting to test his new mutations anyway. Epic beat, bio aura, and madness ignite. The vampires are backing away. They can tell this isn't a human. Harley screams that they're going to regret touching his merchant. He swings. Vampires are being punted across the room like footballs. Bricky watches from the sidelines, admitting she has no idea who this guy is either. Visk tries to maintain his cool, claiming his subordinates are still competent. The fight between Bricky and Visk is purely causal. They're basically rewriting the laws of physics with every trade. Red flashes, blue strikes. Bricky slips up. Visk catches her. She admits to herself she's getting old. Harley notices she's in trouble. The mad dragon heart in his chest starts redlining. He realizes waiting for the Heinz ult will be too slow. So, he decides to use every exploit in the book. Mutation, Beast of Frenzy, Combat Engraving, Bio Aura, Gem Eye. He stacks every buff he has and forces a forced evolution. Theodore looks like he's about to cry. He's looking at Harley like he just saw a glitch in the Matrix. And honestly, he kind of did. The Yapersia underlings are calling him a chimera, but Harley is just vibing with the power of the Mad Dragon redlining in his chest. He decides it's time to test out the new physics engine. The vampires try to open up with support fire, but trying to hit this man is like trying to target lock a laggy player in a shooter. He rushes straight at Visk. The domain sparks and crackles as he makes contact. Even with dragon scales, the domain of causality is trying to delete him for existing. But our guy has a plan. He combines the Mad Dragon's heart with the Jewel Eye. It's basically an exploit that lets him ignore the boss's defensive aura. He lets out a roar that probably has the neighbors in Seoul calling the cops, and literally tears the space apart with his hands. He ends up right behind Visk like a horror movie villain. Visk is losing his mind. He asks who this crazy bastard is. Harley tells him he's the victim's representative. Visk is confused because he's killed so many people he can't remember which victim this belongs to. Harley doesn't give him time to check his logs. He delivers a serious punch that sends Visk flying through the masonry. The lord of the strongest clan just got punted like a footstool. Harley is feeling himself. But Visk stands up, claiming it was just an illusion. He's trying to gaslight Harley into thinking the punch didn't land. Harley just tells him, yeah, but so what? That was the distraction. Bricky steps in and opens a massive gash across Visk's chest. She's not playing around. Visk is bleeding out and wondering why the 3v1 is so one-sided. Bricky thanks the strapping young man for restoring the balance. Harley decides he's done with the main boss and heads for the ads. The other High Bloods try to block him, but he just smiles. He knows someone else is coming to finish the job. Elsewhere in the mansion, the floor is covered in Yapersia bodies. Klein, the red-haired assassin, realizes the numbers are being turned against them. He tries to find a breakthrough, but the air starts to shimmer. Space has been isolated. He's in a separate server now. A voice from behind asks, "Who are you?" Klein spins around, but he's already too late. Meet Heinz. He's looking for the person who touched his merchant ult. Klein is terrified. He realizes this guy is on a completely different level. One strike. Klein is spitting blood while Heinz holds him up by the throat. The assassin realizes he should have stayed in bed today. Heinz's eyes glow purple. He's analyzing his meal. Klein is dying, wondering just what kind of person the merchant Hubert actually was. Heinz finishes him off. He stands there, covered in shadows and blood. He licks his lips. He calls himself a tycoon of commerce. Talk about a killer business model. The system pings. New vampire factor collected. He activates concealment and invisibility. He's going to solidify the victory. Back in the main hall, Theodore gets hit so hard his glasses are probably in another zip code. Bricky is having the time of her life watching the Yapersia clan fall apart. Theodore realizes the Brokosla clan shouldn't have been this strong. Heinz arrives on the scene, looking like he just finished a light jog. Theodore recognizes him. This is the new lord everyone was talking about. The three of them stand in the ruins of the hall. Heinz stares at Theodore quietly. He's comparing him to Mullo. Theodore feels the pressure. Heinz decides that Theodore is a talent he absolutely must recruit. Theodore is weirded out by the perverted grin Heinz is giving him. Heinz formally introduces himself and announces that he'll soon be Theodore's lord. Theodore calls it nonsense, but he's shaking. Theodore is witnessing his ancestral founder treat this new guy like a favorite pet. Heinz leans into Theodore's personal space. Bricky is smiling because she knows what's coming next. Visk is in the background wondering how Earth things ended up like this. He is absolutely fuming. He's wondering where his reinforcements from the Oath of Reversal are. Switch to Hans. Hans is watching the cultists. He's laughing because the cultists tried to send high-quality reinforcements. Those reinforcements are currently dead piles on the ground. Hans is literally a one-man anti-cheat system. Back in the hall, Heinz is tasting Visk's blood. Bricky asks if he's Heinz. She's impressed. She tells him to call her Bricky. They're basically besties now. Harley interrupts, reminding them that they're leaving one person out. Visk is tired of being treated like an NPC in his own raid. He promises he won't let them get away. Fast. Visk lunges with everything he has left. Heinz pulls out a blood-red greatsword. The sound of the impact is deafening. They exchange blows in a blur of motion. Heinz asks Visk if he's forgotten him already. Harley comes in for a side tackle that sends Visk into a wall. Visk is coughing up blood. The hybrid monster and the vampire lord are playing ping-pong with him. Visk starts screaming about how they're worms who are nothing on their own. Brikey just mocks him, asking if his cowardly reinforcements went home. Visk tries one last desperate move, but it's countered instantly. He realizes he's going to die here. The dream of being king is over. Heinz bites down on Visk's neck. Visk is horrified. This is cannibalism between clans. Heinz doesn't care about the curse. He's a player, he just sees it as an XP buff. Visk realizes that Heinz is actually inheriting the holy blood. Heinz tells him not to worry about his clan. He'll take care of them. Under his new management. The narrator reflects on the dream of unifying all vampire clans, binding them into one to lead them into the light. Visk smiles as he dies. He actually sees a worthy king in the man killing him. He fades into ash. A massive explosion of red energy rocks the fortress. Brikey and Harley watch as a new holy blood is born. The system notifications are going off like crazy. Concealment and invisibility merge into existence negation. That sounds like a ban-worthy skill. Heinz II. Holy blood. He can now manipulate the strands of causality. He feels time and space approaching like they can be grasped. He's looking at his hands like he just found a developer console. Bricky is staring at him with a mix of awe and what have I created. Harley laughs, saying he saw something rare today. He says his revenge is done, and he needs to get back to his day job. He's heading back to Tarek. He leaps into the air and flies off, leaving the vampires behind. Brikey watches him go with a suspicious look. She asks Heinz if it's okay to let him go, since he's suspicious as hell. Heinz just laughs. He's already verified him. He stands among the corpses of the Yapersia elite. He's just got some new family members. We start with a bang. Literally. The Pledge of Defiance thought they were safe in their little hole in the Tulku Kingdom. Then, a Legion commander of the undead walks through the front door and starts the unliving process for everyone inside. The cultists are panicking because they thought the Holy Order was their only problem. Wrong. Hans is currently running a delete script on every cult branch he can find. He tells his commanders to leave no survivors. Meanwhile, the big boss himself is just vibing in the shadows. Olivia shows up, looking like she's ready to win a Best Intelligence Officer award. Hans hands over the cultist trash they caught trying to sneak into Teleria. He spots an executive in the mix and tells Olivia to do her thing. Interrogation in this world doesn't involve a bright light and a bad cop. It involves a banshee queen who can see into your soul. The guy starts screaming. It's a bit late for that, buddy. Auterica blacksmithing. Switch perspectives. The sound of a hammer hitting steel. Howard is in the zone. He's feeling that artisan pride, which is just a fancy way of saying he's addicted to the grind. Our guy Seong Yoon is basically the ultimate remote worker. He's got Howard smithing in the fantasy world while he's browsing the internet on Earth. Howard is aiming for that greatest artisan title, because why settle for anything less than a W? Back on Earth, Seong Yoon is checking on Hubert. The recovery is going well, but our guy has a realization. If he sends Hubert back to work, he has to do all the boring research himself. He stares at his recovering alt for a second and decides, nah, stay in bed. I'm not doing homework today. Instead, he opens the karma shop. Thanks to Heinz eating well recently, he's sitting on over 1 million points. He decides to drop the full million on a unique skill enhancement. The system confirms the upgrade. Avatar potential has increased. Now he gets to pick initial traits for a brand new character. It's basically a high-stakes gacha role, but he's the house. He sees Bond of Connection. Great for a spirit elementalist. Then he sees the option for a summoner. Done. He locks it in. The mana swirls, the UI glows, and Hesperon is born. He looks like a standard protagonist, but in Song Hyun's hands, he's basically a walking cheat code. Now, move to the temple. The Saintess is watching the world's leaders gather. She notes that everyone was passive until the madness started hitting their own borders. Typical side character behavior. The Continental Summit is officially opening. Portals are popping up left and right. This is the gathering of heroes, but we know it's just a room full of people Song Hyun is about to exploit. The Central Azerian Empire and the Rohan Duchy are especially desperate. High-level energy is flooding the courtyard. Heinrich flashes a welcome to my house smile. The Elven Kingdom delegation has arrived. Low down, humor beat meet Harris. Our guy's Elven alt is currently healing his soul, which is just Elven code for taking a nap in the grass. He's hugging his bow like it's a body pillow. This bow is called Themis. It's a branch of the world tree. High performance, sophisticated visuals, basically the iPhone of Elven weaponry. The rest of the summit is tense, but the elves are treated like they're from a different dimension. Heinrich looks nervous to the observers, but he's probably just checking his other tabs. The Order of the Main God is playing host. The Saintess welcomes everyone, but the vibe is, we're all doomed if we don't fix this. Cuts of the leaders. We see a lion man, an elf, a prince. The summit begins. Back to Harris. Harris is still hugging that bow, and because he's a main character, even his naps are productive. His nature affinity skill just evolved into nature assimilation. He hears someone coming. He tells his sound spirit, Decibel, to drop the barrier. It's Chaperon. She's looking at him like she's seeing a different person. She's all dressed up for the delegation. She mentions she prepared everything based on the stories Harris told her. Harris is starting to realize he might have accidentally completed a romance questline here. She's checking on him, greeting him politely. Harris is just confused. She packed 2 of everything. He tells her they don't need this much, but she's just happy to be included. She's practically glowing. Harris just rolls with it. Free inventory space, right? The elves enter the main temple grounds. The saintess greets the elven rep. Standard, regrettable, heavy matter small talk. Then, Cecily Greenwood steps forward. She's a high elf, and she's trying to be professional, but the saintess just treats her like a little sister. More portals. The VIPs keep coming. The Magic Tower Alliance shows up with the Gandalf drip. The Azerian Empire arrives looking like they own the place. Even the Mercenary Guild is here. Song Hyun looks at the room and sees nothing but dollar signs, or, in this case, karma points. If he makes a deep enough impression on this room, the payoff will be astronomical. The elven rep chats with Heinrich. They're acting like old friends, which is easy because Seong Hyun is basically talking to himself. He shows them to their accommodations. He tells Harris and the others to be on time. Chaperon looks at Harris as he walks away. She's trying to act like she's not disappointed he's so busy. Transition to the round table. This is where it gets real. The heavy hitters are seated. Meet Crown Prince Dennis of the Rohan Duchy. He's looking around the room and realizing that nobody else cares about his country dying. Monsters are pouring out of the mountains. His people are cooked, and he's desperate. The Continental Summit is officially in session, and the mood is about as friendly as a ranked league lobby after a 3-game losing streak. The church's rep is laying out the state of the world, and it is looking like a total L. She's listing off the casualties from the Grand Temple invasion and the vile biological experiments in the forest. The world leaders just sit there in silence. Meanwhile, Heinrich is standing there thinking about how much of a menace his own alt, Hans, actually is. But the undead invasion isn't even the main quest anymore. The real problem is the abyssal madness spreading across the map like a viral glitch. The church's investigation concluded that they need to find and seal the core of this madness. Prince Dennis of Rohan points out the obvious: the immortal king probably has the core in his inventory. And that's when the arrogance starts. Meet Simon Carte Azerion, Crown Prince of the Azerion Empire and professional hater. He starts griefing the church, saying if they hadn't lost the immortal king's fragments in the first place, none of this would be happening. Simon isn't just venting. He's playing the political meta. He wants to nerf the church's influence so nobody stands above his head when he becomes emperor. He looks at Heinrich and basically tells the saint to stay in his lane. Heinrich doesn't take the bait. He steps forward and reminds the room that the church has been shedding blood for this continent for 1,000 years. They didn't run then, and they aren't running now. He looks Simon dead in the eye and gives his word he will stand at the very front of the battle against the immortal king. The main character aura is so strong it's practically blinding the NPCs. The other leaders immediately flip their stance. If the saint is going to carry the raid, they're all in. Simon realizes he just lost the argument and tries to play it off. Heinrich just smiles, because the karma jackpot is finally triggering. Look at those numbers climb. The saintess is practically swooning. She tells him he was magnificent, which is a nice ego boost for our guy Song Hyun. But the meeting isn't over. The tension breaks, and suddenly everyone starts shouting for their own interests. Dennis is begging for help in the Rohan Duchy, while the elves and the barbarians argue about being surrounded by the northern desert. The church rep shuts them up. They actually have a plan for once. A very specific, very dangerous plan. She turns to the room and proposes the creation of a hero's death squad to oppose the immortal king. Everyone goes silent. The idea is a special mobile strike unit that rallies around the saint to gank the boss directly. However, the leaders realize that Death Squad is just a fancy name for a suicide mission. Each nation will be forced to send their best players. The elven rep looks like he's regretting his life choices. Then, the political snakes start moving. Simon raises his hand with a recommendation. He recommends Viscount Isia Priston, a young archmage and a treasure of the Empire. Heinrich recognizes the name, an elite among elites, but he sees right through it. Simon isn't sending a hero, he's trying to get rid of a political rival. Suddenly, everyone is recommending people from other kingdoms. They are literally trying to use the Death Squad to assassinate each other's talents. Heinrich watches them turn his party into a potential mass grave. He catches Simon's eye. Our guy is just curious to see how they'll react when the real threat shows up. The meeting breaks for the day. The leaders leave the room exhausted, probably planning who else they can recommend to die tomorrow. Meanwhile, Harris is in the back, literally eating a bucket of popcorn. Chaperon wants to know what it is, and Harris just offers her some. He's complaining that they called it a day right when the drama was getting good. He even prepped the popcorn through the avatar cloud. That is peak utility. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The windows shatter. Panic hits the lobby instantly. A figure floats down, wearing a mask fitting for the end of the world. The undead king has officially crashed the summit. Heinrich immediately tabs back into hero mode and tells everyone to prepare for battle. The paladins and holy knights charge in, and Heinrich shouts to activate the barrier. A massive pillar of light erupts around the summit table. The Saintess tells everyone to get inside for protection. Hans, or Hannibal Strauss as he's calling himself today, just watches the light. He laughs, saying they must be quite terrified of him. He tells Heinrich the stage is set perfectly. Now the world leaders have no choice but to feel the crisis. This is the official start of the Great War. Hans starts trash-talking, saying his power has already surpassed what it used to be. Heinrich asks where all that confidence is coming from. Hans just gestures behind him. He brought the whole squad. This is getting interesting, he says, sounding exactly like a guy about to grief a lower-level zone. Heinrich isn't laughing. Hans tells him he wants to correct his little delusion. The floor starts erupting. Hans is tabbing into his new subordinate skills, Ghoul Lord Fiona, Dread Phantom Pagos, and Death Knight Karam. He gives the order charge. Karam hits the line like a freight train. The elven rep Lapori tries to purge the evil with spirits, but Pagos just absorbs the attack and counters. The Holy Knight army is getting shredded. Karam is standing over the bodies, calling them amusing little scarecrows. Hans gives the command to slaughter the enemies. Fiona moves with unnatural speed, tearing through the guards. Lapori notices something. The enemy's movements are weirdly specific. They aren't just killing everyone. Hans is intentionally picking off the scum he found through background checks. Heinrich charges at the boss, shouting that he's his opponent. The Saintess and the church rep start channeling support magic. It is the ultimate final boss face-off. The impact of their blades shakes the entire temple. The explosion of light and dark energy is massive. Hans thinks to himself that he's stoked the sense of crisis enough. Back to Harris. Our guy puts down the popcorn and stands up. If Heinrich was the star last time, it's Harris's turn now. The elven girls are telling him to stay back because his dad, the MC's other alt, said so, but Harris is already tabbing into his combat skills. He tells them he's just loosening up by firing legendary arrows at a world boss. Sure, normally the power gap here is a canyon, but our guy has been min-maxing his items. He tells the worried NPCs he's not the type to sit around and watch. He channels the mana, the bow glows, and Harris gets that main character look in his eyes. Spirits of fire, water, and lightning all swarm the arrow. The air starts to scream as he draws back the string. He releases. The arrow turns into a pillar of pure elemental destruction. It hits Hans right in the face. The impact shatters the Hannibal Strauss mask instantly. Prince Dennis is in the back losing his mind. The system pings. Harris is evolving. He just hit Successor of the World Tree status. Our guy just pulled a loan from a god and he's probably not paying it back. Hans's generals are furious. Karam charges, but Hans, the MC, stops him. The acting here is a 10 out of 10. Hans calls them interesting and decides to withdraw for the day. Heinrich tries to stop him, playing the role of the frustrated hero perfectly. Hans fades into the shadows, leaving the room in shambles. He drops a classic villain line, "True despair hasn't even begun yet." Heinrich stands there in the silence. He wonders if his acting is getting too natural. He's basically gaslighting an entire continent at this point. The Saintess is terrified, convinced Hans is planning something world-ending. Meanwhile, the elves are treating Harris like a celebrity. But the church rep shuts down the party. She reminds everyone they failed to stop the intrusion. But the aggro worked. The leaders who were fighting 5 minutes ago are now begging to form an alliance. Heinrich watches them. He knows some are faking it, but the crisis is finally real enough for them to cooperate. Then, a messenger breaks in. Every border defense line in the Duchy of Rohan has collapsed. Simultaneous attacks. Key facilities hit. Everyone assumes it's the undead king. But our guy knows better. The Covenant of Rebel Heavens, the real cult villains, are finally making their move. Prince Dennis is about to have a mental breakdown. The Saintess steps up to rally the troops. She gives a speech about not giving up, looking like a total beacon of hope. Song Hyun is smiling. Since everyone suspects Hans, the real villains just gave him the perfect cover to play along while he hunts them. Hans's new lair. Hans is out in the sticks with Olivia. He's found a fertile land with heavy, eerie energy. He's about to use some forbidden knowledge. He raises his hands, mana floods the area, and a massive, gothic castle erupts from the ground. He laughs. The southern Ion continent. A hooded figure is watching the news about Rohan. He calls the environment damnable. He's getting ready to step in. Another player? Maybe. He disappears into the dust. He's aiming for the seed of madness. Back to Hans in his new crib. He's looking at a holographic map of Rohan. He knows the casualty count is going to be high. Heinrich is stuck in the temple until the party is formed, so he can't move yet. Olivia enters the throne room. She's got the report from the cult executive they captured earlier. Hans wants the names. They've cross-referenced the capture with their monitoring list. The executive was the Tulku branch chief, a guy named Oldman, and he gave up a location. Tovea City inside the Azarian Empire. It's a city directly governed by the Emperor. And there sits a high-ranking executive of the Covenant. She's the one who mobilized the vampire clans against Song-Hyun earlier. Tovea City. The pink-haired noblewoman is packing her bags. She's Sienna, and she's panicking. She mentions re-enlisting and ugly armor. She realizes she should have run when Holly showed up to wreck her vampire minions. Her vision went dark, her agents were cut off. Holly was an absolute beast in that fight. Sienna realizes there's a force targeting her specifically. She knows if the intel gets extracted, she's cooked. Her brother Andrew says they secured the contracts. They just need to grab the loot and flee. The mansion is fortified. She thinks they have a chance. Hans walks through the dust like he owns the place. He mocks Sienna for living quite comfortably. She tries to lie, saying she's been counting the days until his return. She puts on a show, calling him Your Majesty. Hans isn't buying it. He uses Eye of the Abyss. Sienna. Succubus. Top 10 ranking under the previous king. The perfect asset for schemes. Hans grabs her by the chin and tells her it's time to honor her 300-year-old contract. The dark mana swarms her. Sienna is forced to her knees. She pledges eternal loyalty with a look that says, I hate my life. Olivia is in the back smiling. Sienna is crying because she's been conscripted again and the armor is ugly. Andrew tries to comfort her, and she lies through her teeth, saying they are tears of joy. She claims she's overjoyed to be back in the army. Hans sees right through the cap. But then, he looks at Andrew. Andrew Weaver, plenty of mana, but zero training. Sienna says he's a talent for the great undertaking. And then she drops the bomb. He's an otherworlder. Not from the spirit or demon realms. He's from a place called Earth. Our guy just found his first neighbor.